damage? Look at that. There's nothing raised. We better call. We're going back. We're veering back into a medical
back.
field.
It's all right. Do you get checked for stuff like that?
Yeah, I go every year.
Every year?
Yeah.
Have you ever run into anything?
No. My wife had one cut out of her head, though.
Oh, you were telling me about that.
Yeah.
But she's still beautiful.
Oh, God, she's the best in the world.
You do well.
I married up, fell up.
There you go.
Isn't that nice?
When can something good happen to me? Matt, can we help somebody
If
else?
you stop running at people and then veering at the last minute, I think things will happen.
No, that's my MO. You kidding me?
Fantastic.
Yeah, we got a video question.
Yeah, we do hot video.
Hey,
Hold on,
we didn't say
here's the theme
load.
song for here's the theme song for the video. Ready? Hot video tonight.
Yeah. All right. Well, after that intro, let's hear from Casey.
Hey guys, this is Casey from Portland. Ray, real quick, last time you were in Portland for the Portland Bar Crawl, I was the guy who challenged you to an arm wrestling competition. If you remember, yes, you did beat me, but I've been working on it a little bit, so I'm ready for a rematch. If you
I'll
ever
still
want.
F
So,
you up,
anyways, here's
Junior.
my question. Thanks, guys. Hey, Ray, Stromer, get it on. Yeah, we're here in my girlfriend's kitchen, and we want to redo the cabinets. So here's my plan. I want to know what you think. I was going to take off one of these faces because they're just that cheap plastic veneer stuff, but it looks like this is like a white oak. So what I wanted to do is take this off, bring it to a cabinet store, get some faces that would match it. Then once we do that, I was going to sand it all down, and we're going to paint it. Not sure, we might sand it, but probably paint it. And then my final question would be the side there. Like, what do we do? Can we get like a sheet of oak that would go there and go well? Or I was thinking we could just paint it the color of this wall since we have some extra paint there. So that's our thoughts. The color we were going to go was probably a white with a touch of gray since these are so dark. Maybe it'd go well with the fridge and everything. So let me know what you think. Thanks, guys.
So he's got suspended cabinet.
I wouldn't get any door. If he's going to paint it, just paint what he has
Whole
now.
thing.
Paint everything now.
Yeah, I'm with you.
You don't have to get new oak on there.
No.
It's a waste of money.
Yeah.
And it's going to look the same.
And they're like period cabinets from, what, 72, something like that,
Yeah.
75. They're actually not that bad.
No.
And you'd either have to go all new cabinets, or you can go all new doors because there's a face frame.
You could replace the doors, and then put a
slab door on.
and then iron on the, you know how they got the
veneers.
The veneers.
Yeah.
Just iron on the end if you want to have that look. But if you're going to paint it, you're wasting your money. If you want different shaped doors, then get new doors.
And you can get only new doors because you have a face frame, and then get new hinges, get new hardware. Because that's the old hardware. Yeah, new pulls and handles. That'd be the better way to go. And you can make them out of MDF then, the lightweight one.
And the MDF paints way better
and looks better. And you just mimic what you have. Keep what you have and just have a guy, cut it out for you. That'd be the better way to go.
Don't do applied anything on the doors. Either paint what you have and test out one and see how it looks, and spray it. Don't brush it. Spray it with a compressor. If you don't like that look, then replace the doors with hinges like Ray said.
Yeah, and don't worry. I'd even try and paint the existing what they have.
I would too. That's what I think
the absorption rate from that. I don't know.
The Millimeter's going to paint shitty unless you grind the hell out of it,
Yeah,
and it sticks like crazy, and you have to rough it up slightly. Score it a little with
sandpaper or something. But then
it'll hold.
And also, I don't remember Portland. Right now, were you there?
Did you black out in Portland? Right?
I was there.
Yeah, no, we didn't black out. No, I never black out.
You don't?
No, I don't.
Can't damn close though. Drink a lot.
I can come close.
Have you ever gotten into a drunk fight?
No.
Really?
Hell no.
Really?
No. I mean, in my youth, but of late, no fucking way. No, I don't want to. Fighting when you're drunk's not good.
Bad.
Because you lose.
Yeah.
It's not. You're like just a bag. Come on.
You're a bag with a
Go
bone.
ahead, hit me.
Yeah.
What? No, don't do that. No, but I don't like the like people like to arm wrestle and drunk and stuff like that.
But you're really good at arm wrestling.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Genetics.
But is it just pure forearm and bicep strength, you think?
Hand strength and
hand
stuff
strength.
like that. Yeah. It's not.
Do you think you could actually compete in it?
I did.
Really?
Yeah, I got second.
In what?
Some competition like a long time ago.
And
But I was under 200.
And if you trained?
The guy who beat me didn't beat me. He killed me. He was a pro.
Like, is a whole another level?
Oh yeah.
Why?
Because they do polls. You get recruited. That guys ask you like, hey, come and join our thing. You could be good.
Oh, they thought that you had the stuff.
Yeah. But I'm not.
You don't.
I mean, but I like watch.
Wasn't there a Stallone movie where it was like
top?
Over the top, of course.
But that guy, those guys were some of like I saw this guy Virgil. He was a huge dude, like 6'4", and he had his right arm was always cocked. I think he broke his arm one time.
Yeah.
He was amazing. But the other guy, Chuck Panarin, he's the best ever.
But there are weight classes.
Yeah.
So you would be.
Yeah, but the really good guys will go jump around.
And they can beat anybody.
Like the one guy weighs like 220.
And what are the rules? You have to keep your elbow on the table.
There's a bunch of them. I don't even know. Then they'll strap you and all that kind of stuff.
And what can you do with? Does the other arm?
Your left arm, you masturbate. I don't know.
That's right.
No, you're allowed to hold. These other guys, they like hook the table. There's a lot of technique to it. There's more technique and strength.
You really think it's strength or leverage? Is it strength and both?
Technique, leverage, and strength. But you gotta beat those guys. Come on.
Yeah.
The guy beat me. He was a rod buster. The guy who beat me.
What does that mean? Oh yeah.
Guy steals.
Oh, gotcha.
He was about 5'8", 200 pounds. Just smoked. I was like, wow.
Really?
It scared me.
Yeah?
And then you see why I like these break their arms.
Oh, they really do. Here, like the forearm snaps.
Yeah.
Come on.
Oh yeah. Matt, you've seen that, right?
Over the top.
No. Dude's arms that just go. Don't look it up or anything. It's too brutal.
I'm not gonna look it up. That's
don't.
fantastic news. I had no idea.
Yeah. They break arms. That's not good.
Jeez, what else you got, man?
Well, I think we're actually getting a phone call here.
Yeah,
In
telephone.
the meantime, here's like an electrical question. I'm sure if you guys can handle this one. Frank Canfield wants to know. Worker over at my house plugged in an old power tool. Now the outlet is dead. Reset the GFIs, check breakers. Help.
Check that. Pull the cap off. Pull everything out. You might have a loose wire. Or did it smoke? Did it burn? Depending on what he plugged in, it might have smoked out the wire. Don't know.
So what you got to do is turn off the circuit breaker. Find the circuit breaker in your house. Turn off.
I said the GFI.
Oh, there's GFI. But you got to turn off the power at the panel.
Yeah.
Pull that switch out. Examine it. See if there's a flap on it somehow that it just
Yeah,
blew up in the box in the dark. And then replace it. Right.
Yeah.
Start over.
You know what? I hate electrical.
I do too.
How many times have you shot?
so many times with tile because, you know, grouting around outlets when you have the wet sponge and then you accidentally hit, you know.
You pulled out the box,
exactly,
right? To do it all.
right? And then I go, and then my head hits the cabinet above. And I go, fuck, can I do that?
I've done the same exact thing.
I've done it many times.
That's such a kinship.
Many times.
It really
have you
is.
ever been struck by lightning?
No.
I have.
Serious?
Indirect hit.
Where?
I was standing in a driveway in a garage, and it was raining out in the you know, the dirt road area in front of the garage. I was up in a cabin in Wisconsin. Lightning struck and hit the ground, and I saw it travel up the water to the garage. And my mom and I were standing in the garage and dropped us both, like our legs gave out.
Wow, awesome.
And that's when I got my superpower.
That's super scary.
Yeah.
I understand there can be like ill effects from a lightning strike for the rest of your life. Like get afraid.
I used to be really smart and stuff.
Huh?
What?
It was right before I took my SAT.
That's right.
I got 7.
I got 980. I got a 980, yeah.
What was the high score then? Like 14?
So much higher.
1600 or something. 980.
980.
Got me right to community
I still
college.
got in though somehow. I got in. I made it.
There you go.
The first in my family to graduate from college.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, right.
None of us have. 4 boys.
See?
And you did.
I did from the lightning
Proud of
strike.
you.
I think that's when it all shifted.
Proud of you. Gotta say, proud of you. Proud of you. Hey, let's
Hey, that's Jeff in Michigan. Jeffrey.
Jeff, you ever been struck by lightning?
No, I haven't. I'd like to love to get a superpower.
Yeah, it's awesome. Superpowers rule. So where are you in
Eric's
Michigan?
superpower is that he has his wife's hair hanging off his chin hair. That I sit there, that one.
That's right.
That's a,
That's
okay,
called
just got rid of his superpower.
Where are you in Michigan?
I'm in West Michigan. I'm really right on Lake Michigan.
Oh, nice.
Holland, Michigan.
Oh, Holland,
yeah. Oh, cool. Yeah, it's a nice town.
My son's at University of Michigan in Ann Arbor, and he has mono right now.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, that sucks. But I'm gonna let him
My
know
son's
that.
at school too, and he's got bed bugs. So I'd rather have mono than bed bugs.
You should get these two together.
Yeah, maybe they could start a band. It's mono and the bed bugs. It's the new band.
That'd be great.
Awesome. So what's going on, man?
Well, I got this house I bought at a repo a few years back, and I'm finally starting to fix it up. And essentially what it is, I've got a living room and a kitchen, and they're, you know, it's separated by a small opening. And I want to blow the whole wall out, so it's like kind of a bigger room, a bigger great room or whatever. And I was going to get this expensive beam put in, you know. It's expensive, probably about $3,500 to get it done. But then I had this guy, he's a builder, a friend of mine. He's not a licensed builder, much like you guys. I don't know, you guys might be licensed, I don't know. But anyway, he looked at the joists and he said, those joists are one-piece unit. You don't need to do a support wall.
Well, if it's not, if that wall's not bearing, he's right. I mean, if the wall's bearing, you're going to see it when you go up in the attic. You'll see because they're going to be
The
laying
load
on
transfers
top of
all the way up to the very top.
Right. So if you're saying your joists up in the attic are running the whole way, right?
Yeah.
They're going past that wall. Take it out. It's not doing anything. It's not load bearing.
All right.
And then, wait a minute. Why did the other guy give you? Hold on, Jeff. Why did the other guy give you this bid for $3,500 if you don't need it? I don't get that.
He likes to make money, I guess. You know, honestly, he said the beam itself was going to be about $1,800.
Right, then he was going to tie it to both sides and put it up in the attic and then hang joist hangers all the way across and connect the two?
No, he was going to put it, he's going to, where the wall was going to be blown out,
Yeah.
he's going to create like a header, essentially, running the whole thing across the span of the opening.
What,
So,
underneath
like,
or above the ceiling?
Above. Like above. Not above, below the ceiling.
Yeah, no, that's a
Above the
horrible
floor,
look. Get it above, so your eye line's just straight ahead. You don't want to do that. That still leaves it like broken up, you know what I mean?
So he was
It does.
So he was going to almost create like the look of a header below the ceiling by 12 inches, basically, right?
Exactly.
Now, do you think it's going to sag when you take the wall out?
Well, that's what I worry about. I mean, I thought so because I don't know any better.
Well, what's the span?
What's the span? What's one room and the other? What?
The span of the opening I'm going to make is going to be 16 feet.
Okay, I know, but you're not
Right now,
answering.
the opening's
Wait,
like
Jeff.
6 feet.
Jeff.
What?
Okay, how big is the one room butted up next to the next?
Oh, okay. You mean like dimensions of the room?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I'll say 20 by. It's 22 by 20.
That's both
That's the
rooms.
bigger room, and then the kitchen actually kind of broke up a little bit, but it's not quite the same size.
All right, take out half the wall first, and then see if it starts to sag. And if it starts to sag, you can't see it.
Wait, I got a question. So was this guy going to make the beam and then have posts coming down to the floor? And then
No, he was going to leave. No, because there's a wall there now. He was going to leave in a portion of the wall of 2 feet on each side, 2 or 3 feet on each side of this big opening.
Oh, and have that
and
pick it
he was
up.
going to put the beam on top of those 2x4s.
But does that load of the wall that he's going to leave in transfer down below, or is it a slab on grade? What is the foundation?
No, it transfers down below. I've got this regular floor joist in the basement.
So it does transfer down below if the 2x4s that would support this beam are there. Well, I don't know, man. I might put the beam in.
Yeah, but then why would you put it? I put it above, not below.
Well, that's too much roof work. You got to get up in the ceiling and blow it out. This way you can just literally shove it up on the joist.
Underneath,
Yeah,
and have it.
and if the load transfers down below, then you get two things. You get something to drywall to, and then you also actually get something to hold
you
the
could just
wall.
put a Simpson hanger and put the hanger up there and nail it all
That's
off.
a good point about the drywall too, because I think it's easier and better to drywall the wall.
Okay, let's say you put a stem wall at each, or a return on each side of the beam. They're going to be 2 foot each. How big's your opening going to be then?
16 feet.
Yeah.
And do it that way, because that sounds a lot safer.
I would do it that way because
I'd use it what, 4 by 8?
Well,
I wouldn't use a 4 by 12.
it's supposed to be an engineered beam, is what this guy was saying. I mean, that's probably to me if you do that, then all of us are out of liability land for advising you because I don't want to have this guy. I don't want you to take the wall out then the ceiling does sag, because that is a very long span of 16
Eric,
feet.
you guys killed my
It's a
dog.
big span.
Yeah, so I would put the beam in. I would do it.
As far as the beam goes, I mean, I kind of thought that was overkill, but he wants to do an $1,800 beam. Can't I just like tie together a couple of, I don't know, 2x12s or whatever?
No, it's got to be a continuous beam unless you have a post. And if you have a post that's holding up both beams that are meeting together, then I would do the full length.
Yeah, and use the engineered stuff.
And
It's
also
great.
the other,
it's not that much.
here's the other thing you can do if you want to be really smart about this. You can actually bring an engineer into your house to look at everything, and that may end up being cheaper than the beam. If you don't need the beam, then you can actually just have him pull the whole thing out and be done, and you're fine. If you do need the beam, then you'll know that we're not going to crush the dog.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I've taken out many a non-bearing wall and bearing wall. No worse for wear.
Yeah.
Either or time. I mean, granted, you take out a bearing wall, it's a lot more work as far as like structural, you know.
You just have to make sure everything transfers from the very top of the roof down to the basement where the foundation is, and they're all connecting somehow. If it's not doing
Yeah,
that,
I was gonna have him reinforce the joist on where the load ends up on that.
You might have to put a pier block down there or something like that, or pour a little footing and then have it going up to catch that.
it just sounds to me like you should get an engineer to just really tell you for sure what the deal is. That's where I'm
All right,
at.
that's what it sounds like. All right, hey, last question, material on that. What do you think about doing like a steel I-beam? It's actually cheaper. I kind of looked it up online. What do you think about that?
What's it rated for? Again, to Eric's bequest.
The rating is it exceeds what I need.
Then use it. You can box it out.
Okay.
It's just as easy.
Or again, get an engineer to really tell you, because then you might not need it. You might not need any of this, or you might need all
I am
of
going
it.
to do the engineer. I will. I'll
I
do
would
the
do
engineer.
that.
And look online, get a cheap guy.
Because I'm not sure the guy who told you to get the beam is not just trying to get a gig, but I'm also not sure that he doesn't know that you definitely need a beam because the load isn't transferring all the way down into the foundation. You know what I mean? So
Well,
And we're
you make a
also
good
not sure
point.
about the other guy who said you don't need anything.
yeah, we don't know about him either. So without us, Ray and I actually being there to know, we have to look at the attic, we have to look at the crawl space or where everything meets the foundation, and then we could tell you. Do you know what I mean?
All right, I'll get the engineer.
I wish I get an engineer and
get us some pictures.
And get us pictures and then tell us, because I'd love to know what ultimately the reality is. Because I love people in Michigan. I don't want you to crush your dog with a ceiling that caves in.
Okay,
I
good luck,
appreciate
man.
that too very much. All right, hey, thanks a lot. I'll let you know how it goes.
All right,
thank you.
Take care. Bye.
Eric, you know what? I have effed up before where I've jacked something up substantially,
Yeah.
right? And then the load was transferred, and it should have been, my points were off.
Yes.
And so 2 foot in,
Yeah.
and you could see the floor start
I know.
collapsing.
I know.
And it's like, okay, stop with this. We got to go from here now.
Yeah.
Get up, and then we got to shore this up here.
Right.
Or else I'm losing this whole.
Right.
This is going to be a catastrophe.
And you and I,
And I know what I'm doing.
we can look at it and see it.
Yeah.
But like the explanation from this gentleman, I'm a little concerned because we don't want to advise somebody to do something that's not right. Honestly, and if we can't see it, then I get a little nervous. And
True.
I do think people are trying to get money and gigs so that they can have money. Get the beam, get the upcharge on the beam,
job, yeah.
get the job, all that stuff, and that's fine. Better safe than sorry for him. But maybe the homeowner's paying a little extra.
Yeah, it's a tough call.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen guys doing jobs where it's like, whoa.
And to do that right, we didn't even ask him. You're supposed to build a couple of walls on either side of where this thing is going to come out.
Yeah, shore it up.
So you got to shore it up with fake walls that are in there temporarily, where you're bashing a plate into the ceiling and then hammering in your
hardware and whatever else
all
you're
that stuff to
doing.
hold it
Your
while
4x4
you're pulling everything out.
whatever
Right?
you're doing.
It's
Yeah.
complicated, right?
No, not for, well, yeah. For somebody who has never done it, absolutely.
Yeah. For us, we could do it. I do it all the time. But again, talking to a guy on the phone, it's like
Hey, my buddy's father had a place out in like Palm Springs. Rich guy. He's a rich guy. My buddy's not. He's like a construction dude. He's
Yeah.
also in local 44 prop maker guy.
Yeah.
So anyway, his dad, who thinks he knows everything, starts tearing apart the house, portion of the house anyway. Takes the fucking ridge beam out of a certain section, and his whole roof starts caving in. He calls his son. Gotta go out there. Dad, are you out of your mind? Here's what we got to do now to even salvage this.
Yeah.
How to jack everything off, kick everything off, because the thing was coming down.
You could hear it like.
Oh, it was. He called him because it was emergency.
Right.
Believe me, I know this guy. He'll do anything. He thinks he knows what he's talking.
Right.
Then you go there and look at it and go like, dude.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Wrong move.
Yeah.
And you can see it in like the earthquake in Mexico that just happened. The masonry that was not reinforced and engineered for earthquake, the slightest little thing that happens, it all crumbles down, right? California is very specific to the way you're supposed to engineer things. So I think you and I have very acute awareness of doing it right.
And there's a whole new seismic code out here now.
Yeah, it's all changed again.
Recently.
Because I think they know the big one's coming.
Hey, and then also, this URM I was dealing with for a while. URM means unreinforced masonry. So those 6x6 plates are supposed to tie into the framing, but they're not designed to, withhold. They're just designed so it won't collapse. It won't do the
right.
thing.
But that doesn't mean they're not going to fall over.
They're going to fail at a level.
Right.
They're going to fail. But now they want you to have internal shotcrete walls,
right.
6 inches, running top to bottom.
Right.
So you got to shore everything up now.
Right.
Cut.
Basically, what they're saying is that the old structure and exterior wall is just now a facade. And you have to rebuild everything within.
For within, yeah.
Correct. That's basically what it is.
It still goes 24 inches up to 12 inches as far as width.
Right.
And what's the brick? But now you got shotcrete and steel.
Right.
Tie steel on the whole thing.
Yeah.
And that's number 5. 2 foot on center or whatever it is.
Right.
That's crazy.
Sure, but it won't come down.
No.
Right.
No. So it's like a moment frame. You're throwing a moment frame across the whole thing.
Right.
Which might make it more. I don't know. I'm not an engineer.
Right.
I would defer to an engineer.
Yeah, and I guess it depends too. Where you are in the world, right? If you live in California, you got to adhere to these seismic codes.
Sure.
It's crazy. If you're in a place like Florida where the hurricanes can come with 150 winds, you better put the roof on.
And use the hurricane clips.
Exactly.
Hurricane clips are
Right.
mandatory.
Yeah.
I was dealing with an engineer a couple of different times, but I have one engineer that I really dig. His name's Rashid. Anyway, he'd look at you. He'd sit across the table like we're sitting in front of each other. He'd go, everything I'm going to draw from your perspective, you'll be seeing it right side up. So everything
Oh, he can draw upside down?
Upside down.
Wow.
And
That's
quickly, everything he does. He goes, so he looks at you and explains it to you.
So he's at the
and
counter.
Then,
Yeah.
no, you're sitting across the
Just
table, right? And he starts drawing these things, and you're looking at the detail because you got to get a picture of what you got to do as far as the building.
Right.
And he does it, and then you just stare at him and go, "You're amazing!" You don't even care about the detail. Look what you can do.
Well, it's like all those architects too, the way they write. Have you ever seen that? It's sort of like a unified text that they can write in. It's amazing.
Oh, I know. It is. It's great stuff. What else we got, fellas?
Well, let's wrap things up with one more Twitter question.
Yeah, Twitter.
It's from Hello Neumann. What do you think about end grain flooring in a small, really small kitchen, like 10 by 10 foot, put it together, no ground beams?
Wait, end grain flooring? You mean that's ripped?
Yeah, cutting like a 2x4
It's a hardwood application?
and then laying it down, so it's all the end grain shell.
Like masking?
And then like pressure fitting it.
Oh, I think it sounds cool.
Yeah,
All right, that's our show.
No, it's a lot
It's a
of work, man.
a ton of work.
So what are you doing? You're getting you would get a beam, like a 4x12 beam.
Yeah, and then just put a stop on your chops.
Cut
Wah, 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 wah,
everything
yeah.
the same thing. That sounds great.
I've seen it done. It's kind
How's
of
it
cool.
look?
It's cool, but for a kitchen and just let it float, I don't like.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen where they take the glue and the sawdust and they make a.
Oh, that's a grout.
grout.
Oh, that's interesting.
You know, I don't know about, and then I glue it down at some level.
But you probably can't nail it because it'll blow apart, right? It would have to be more like an 3/4 of an inch thick and hard, like an oak, right?
Yeah, but then you'd still nail it, right? You'd have to pin nail it, maybe, and then if it did break, it's like how do you get that?
Because you know it'll break.
Yeah, I
if you
think
blow
it
through
will.
with a nail gun, right?
Or even a Brex gun, those little tiny needles.
Yeah.
Yeah, I glue it.
I would glue it only like I'd have installed like iron,
Yeah.
right?
Or you could even thin sand.
No, that's true.
Yeah.
Would you have to seal it before you adhered it with thin sand? Because wouldn't the moisture penetrate into the?
I'd let it dry.
Yeah.
And then probably expand a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And just let it dry out and then seal the whole top in like a week.
Yeah. And what's
Seal everything.
And he said it was pretty small, right? The square footage.
Yeah, he said 10 by 10.
10 by 10. Yeah, that doesn't sound.
I think it's cool.
Sounds cool to me. I like it.
Yeah.
I give it a shot.
And then you have wear patterns.
Yeah.
You know, from the wood.
And you know the best cutting blocks for chefs are the end grain because it's the hardest part of the wood and very durable.
So
Right?
I know this.
Yeah. So
that's why they make all
That's
the
why they make them butcher block under the end grain. Yeah. Because it doesn't scratch and cut as easy. It's not as soft. So I mean, theoretically, it would be a great flooring.
Yeah, I think it would look very cool
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. Yeah, I like it. Let's
Hey,
do it.
with that said, we'd like to thank you. And we want to thank you for supporting us. We want to thank you for going to PayPal. Go aceontheRoof.com, click on the button. You guys know what to do. We appreciate that. Twitter us on Ace on the House, Facebook.com, Ace on the House. Also go through our Amazon link. You guys know how to do it. Eric, where can we find you?
EricStormer.com.
And where can we find me?
Ray Oldhofer on the Twitter.
What can they rate us?
5 stars.
And what else can they do?
Just stand there solid when you run out of it and then veer it at the last minute. Don't be afraid because you're not going to.
That's right. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Dave. Good day, everyone.
Subscribe on iTunes or visit aceontheroof.com.
Surprise, motherfucker.
This is Corolla Digital.
Evacuations ordered ahead of Storm Nate. I'm Jackie Quinn with an AP News Minute. All along the Gulf Coast, emergency managers are warning people to get ready for what's expected to become Hurricane Nate this weekend. It's expected to bring a massive storm surge. Parts of New Orleans are under evacuation. Alabama's emergency manager is warning people to prepare.
You'll have surge, flooding, storm, wind events in the south, and down trees, widespread power outages with some tornadic activity.
Las Vegas police say, unlike many other mass killers, Stephen Paddock didn't leave a note to explain his motives. Detectives are now talking to prostitutes in Las Vegas. It's believed that he hired one in the days before the shooting. Security is tight at the Austin City Limits Music Festival in Texas. The chief of police tells KXAN they stepped up their presence.
High ground exists around this event, and so that does play in our planning and in our response capabilities.
I'm Jackie Quinn.
Land.com/download now and get Negan for free. Available right now.
Hey, my name is James Petrogallo. I'm Jimmy Wisman. Please join us every single Tuesday for Crime in Sports. So fun. You like sports? You don't have to. Let's just set up a context and find out what an idiot did wrong. What do you say? I'm in. We're going to do that each and every week. We take an athlete, we break him down, we make fun of everything he's ever done.
Yeah. But in order to do that, we have to build up and tell you all about their career and get you to what, James?
To grace. And then watch them fall from grace, as they inevitably do. Join us. Big criminals, small criminals, sports you've never heard of. Doesn't matter. It's the crime, it's the comedy. It's such a good time. Join us every Tuesday for Crime in Sports.
You can join us every Tuesday at podcast1.com, the Podcast One app, or subscribe on all Apple products.
Find us every Tuesday and laugh at people.
This is Corolla Digital.
Taking calls, home improvement tips, from the Ace Man's lips to those in need. They cover it all.
A to Z, roof to basement, and in between. Ray's on the ladder and he's got the hammer. Fixing your trouble with hilarious banter. So send your emails to the postal hit Punisher with his old buddy Ray. It's Ace on the house.
Yeah, get it on. Got to get it on. No choice but get on, man. Get on. And welcome to Ace on the House. Pop Squirrel knows it is Ace on the Roof. My man, Pearl's Ray Oldhofer over there, man.
Hello, Adam.
What's going on, man?
I'm good, man.
Driving a Prius?
Yeah.
Street clothes? What's gotten into you?
I'm a changed man.
Are you working on any projects?
Few. Working on, oh my God, leaking window. Leaking window, tough one. Yeah. Because fixed window. And 2 foot by 12 feet.
Hold on. Fixed? No slide, no open, no anything.
No,
in a way, that's better because you can throw everything at it and not worry about having to have the action.
A little bit better, but then you have to figure out why it's effing leaking. And
2 foot by 12 foot.
Yeah. 2 foot wide, 12 foot high.
And outside is stucco?
Stucco and then all aluminum frame.
And so no stucco molding?
No stucco mold. Just straight ahead, super modern. I have a picture of it. I'll give it to Matt.
And so what are we doing? How are we fixing it?
Here's what happened. I couldn't figure it out, but the stucco was a little bit cracked, and then I thought they didn't put the paper, they didn't wrap it right with Tyvek or whatever.
Yeah.
So it only leaks from the bottom, obviously, because water goes down anyway. So what happened was they didn't shim the frame on the inside, so the frame went off. You know, it started to separate.
The frame
within the 45
that you do a rough opening,
right?
And then your rough opening is usually about a ½ inch bigger all the way around,
right?
And then you put the window in with shims,
right?
And
not shimmed on the bottom.
Not shimmed on the bottom, just sitting on the sill.
So I think it's the weight that because it was sitting there, but it had some airspace. You know what I'm saying? So then I caulked that all the way around, and then I couldn't figure out where the leak was coming from.
What kind of caulking you?
I used bituthane.
Bituthane caulk. Yeah, that's right.
Because I wanted it to be waterproof.
Is that paint grade?
It didn't matter because it's all getting drywall, so it doesn't need to be painted.
Oh,
bituthane.
Wait a minute, you did the inside with bituthane?
Yeah. I didn't delve with the outside because then I would have to do the whole panel.
Seems like the outside is where you want to.
No.
All right, what did you do?
So I injected the bituthane into the crevice and then it tightened up.
The wall's open?
Yeah, inside. And then outside, I got some colored caulking and then I used clear on the 45s, ran the hose on it for 20 minutes, which was, thank God.
That's a lot of hose.
Trickle. Well, because I've already done it once before and then I wound up leaking again. So I had to fix it. I did.
I finally fixed my garden chairs.
No, how?
I bought the big roll of cloth that almost matched and then cut it and glued it on with the silicone, like 100% silicone, like wrapped it on top of the part where Billy chewed up the edge. And
did you put like that ribbon on it and everything?
No, I just kind of made it. It actually kind of looks nice. We'll see if it holds up.
You got a picture?
Yeah, Gary's got pictures of it. I finally got this.
Does that look tacky?
It kind of looks like you meant to do it, actually, to tell you the truth. It's a darker blue, but it looks like an accent.
Like an accent? Okay.
Yeah, that's one of these things that you tell me, Ray. This is why I like to bring this stuff up with Ray, because our whole life is a series of our whole life is, how do we fix this? You guys don't understand that it takes 25 years to just get the mindset of how do you approach
the right way to go about it?
Yeah. So I got a lawn chair, and the last 4 or 5 inches of where your feet go on these super expensive lawn chairs, my dog chewed up. He did it sort of sporadically. It looks like serrated at the end, tattered, what have you. The deeper cuts go in like 3 or 4 inches, but it's mainly just kind of tattered at the end. The comedy is
why didn't it stop?
When I'm saying to Lynette,
seconds.
why did we spend $2,600 on lawn furniture? She said her answer was, I had to get the special stuff that Philly couldn't chew. You got the cloth stuff. Yeah, because Philly chewed the other material stuff up. It's got to be weird being me, right? Can you guys sympathize with being me for a second? I'm having a conversation going, we spent $2,500 on lawn chairs and the dog chewed them up. I had to get the special ones that the dogs couldn't chew. Like metal ones, or wood, or something, but we got cloth, and then the dog. It's an interesting discussion to have. You needed to be there.
Hey, now, can you pop that out?
By the way,
is there a ribbon in there?
The beauty of being married is if you keep pursuing that angle, you're going to get yelled at, which is an interesting approach to life. Like, if you want to circle back and get into this, there's going to be trouble. But the dog ate it, and then I had it, and then I went and bought cloth. Now, how would you fix this, Ray? I'm curious, because the thing, you see, here's what nobody understands, and it's my white man's burden. Everyone's like, tell. Huh?
Who wrote it? I'll give you $100.
I don't write a book.
Kipling.
All right, here's my point. Everyone's like, let's just hand it off to Rob and tell him to fix it. It's like, you don't get it. Rob doesn't. I tell Rob how to fix it, and then he can do the second one. But I can't just go, here, just fix it. Or I can, but it's going to be
do it 3 times.
Expensive. So I decided, now I got the sewing machine out. Tom sews at the other shop a little bit, but he's working on a car. So I said, all right, take the mesh out of the bottom of the chair. Take a cigarette lighter and burn off all the hairs, all the frays, all the frayed stuff.
So it won't run.
Yeah, cauterize everything. Stretch it out on like a piece of plywood flat. Lay it out sort of taut and flat. Cut a piece of my new material that's obviously wider than the damaged zone. And then I'm going to take the new material and I'm going to put 100% silicone caulk on it, and I'm going to spread it wire to wire, edge to edge, with like a miniature notched trowel.
Okay.
And then I'm going to graft it onto the top. I'm just going to.
Did you sandwich it? Did you do it on both sides?
No, I just said that wouldn't have been bad, but I just said I'm just going to put it on top and I'm just going to paste it down, and it's done pretty good. I was pretty my whole thing was is like Rob was spreading it on and missing the long edge by a 1/4 inch. I was like, it's got to go off the edge. This silicone's got to be full edge. So when we smooth it on, there's no open edge.
You can't have that.
Yeah, of course. Later on, when they put theirs on, I could see it flapping up on the front edge. You know, where it's like, why? Oh, we didn't get it all the way to the edge. So
I would have sandwiched it. Yeah. I would have sandwiched the whole thing.
Sandwich
and then I'd clamp it. I would have clamped it and left it overnight like that.
Sandwich would work. And then a little later on, once I went and found.
So your fabric was solid. It wasn't that meshy stuff.
Mine was kind of. Gary will show you the finished pictures. It was a meshy kind of outdoorsy, you know, whatever.
That's good looking.
It looks like a little dark stripe at the end of the blue, whatever. And then we moved them back, and
no worse for wear.
No, it's like a.
Can you sit on the end?
Comically, a fat electrician was sitting on the edge sideways, while one was just sitting in the middle before we got to bring it back. Like literally, like put every ass cheek and every ounce of weight right in the middle of it, and then pivoted sideways so it could like put as much possible pressure on the center of it as whatever. And then, yeah, Rob was just watching him sit there. I had it's a weird life. I did have this.
Good job, by the way. I gotta say, that's acceptable.
Only took 2 years of my life. It was a great investment in my life. I don't think anyone in my house ever fully understands like what's going on when I have the you don't want me doing this. So let's try to avoid me doing this because I gotta go on the road and make money. So you got a choice, old man. You can either do it yourself or you can throw it away. We don't care. So that'll be that. It's such a weird thing because like I'm basically the goose that lays the golden eggs, but I also have to go mow the lawn, which is a weird thing. You want to protect the goose. That's what I'm saying. All right. So I did enact the fine. We're in the penalty phase of caulking tubes, by the way.
And what's that? If they don't put a seal on it, what is it?
Well,
what's the fine?
The fine is when everyone was done. Now I have had multiple and recent. The thing about it's an interesting thing. I've had multiple conversations with Rob and Gary about when you're done with the 100% silicone caulk tube, you got to put the cap back on or put a nail in it. They come with a cap now.
Yeah, a lot of them.
Yeah.
And you can even get the ones that have they're like rubber, and if you pinch them, like you can put on your nipple and it'll stick. So you can put those. They sell them now.
Well, the caps come with the tubes now on the 100% silicone, and the thing that's comical about it is so anyway, they got done doing the chairs, and then everyone's done, and then everyone went their separate ways, and then there was a caulk gun with the 100% silicone and the goo oozing out of it and no cap. After long-winded lectures like the week before about, would you just put the fucking cap, when you're done, put the cap back on. You're not done if the cap, and they can't do it. So I just finally said, hey, listen, we're now in the fine zone. It's $100 to you, Rob, if I come in and I find this way, and also, and I'm smart. Because Rob's favorite activity is called blame Gary. I told Gary to do the thing, and then I went to Mexico, and then when I came back, it was like this, and I'm like, so here's the deal, Rob, $100 for you, and also, Rob, $50 if it's one of those, Gary was using a caulking gun, and I was over here, because if that's the case, then you got to come back and make sure Gary put the caulking gun away. So far, hasn't happened, but I do like this.
I thought they were already owing you money.
One of my favorite, here's one of my favorite aspects of life. I say, Rob, these things, don't they come with a cap? They come with a little plastic cap now. We just did 10 minutes outside. Why? People can't put recycling in the recycling bucket and trash in the trash one because there's a flap on the trash can, and that's a bridge too far. It's like when I open the fridge and I see the ketchup bottles with the pop-up cap up and the crust around things. Like can't flap. Putting the cap back on. It's too tall an order. I cannot do that.
Not only do I put the cap on, I use my towel or whatever to wipe the tip off. Yeah, I hate seeing that schmutz that's dried on the end. I don't want to use it then.
So here's the comedy. The comedy is, I said, Rob, don't these things come with a cap now? Where's the cap? And it's like, and by the way, it's not like I said, hey, you need to spread this caulking on while you're being chased by a bear. It's like we're just sitting here in a work area in the back of the shop. Like, pop the cap off, set it on the bench, use your caulking, then pop the cap. Like, I don't know, like you do with toothpaste or something. Like, it's like literally like the same area as toothpaste. Like you're just standing at your sink. So I say to him, Rob, do these things come with caps? And he's like, I don't know if this one came with a cap. And I'm like, you bought extra ones, right? I would say buy extras. Yep. And then I said, all right, let's go take a walk through the drawer where the extra ones are, and open the drawer and the extra ones, and it's like two of the same brand with the cap on it. It came from the store with the cap. And then I hold up the one in a caulk gun that's oozing, and I go, same brand. So
snap on.
Proudly had a cap.
Yeah.
Came with it. And he's like, it may have. I'm like, no, Rob, it did. It came with the cap. They all came with the cap. You guys got to go find the cap now that you like threw away or something.
Well, just use the cap for the one that hasn't been opened yet.
That's a good idea, but either way, I enacted the fine. And here's the saddest part. The saddest part is it'll never happen again now, which is weird. So me begging you to act like a human being for 3 years does not get it done. But as soon as there's $100 on the line, it's done. It's very weird. It's very, very weird to me, right? All right. There's nothing worse than when.
Are you gonna do it? Are you gonna really enact that? Or
I will do it.
Friday,
I will do it because I want this to happen. That's why I'm going to do it. I can't have another conversation about caulk.
I would do it just not to hear you yell at me.
You know the conversations I've had with many people in my life. Do you ever want to have this conversation again? No, I do not. Okay. Here's the way to prevent this from us ever having this conversation again. Stop doing this thing that you're doing, or start doing what I'm asking you to do. All right, we got a call up there.
I'm wagering that you're not going to. I'm saying come Friday when you cut checks, you're gonna make it like 25.
No, I didn't. The reason it's $100 is I didn't enact the fine. I said, Rob, from this day forward, I shall charge you because there's no amount of breath in my lungs that can ever. We cannot get around this. Evidently, it's an unsolvable problem because there's no amount of times I can talk to you about it. So, how much shall I charge you if this ever happens again? And he said $100.
Oh, you can't. All right. Yeah. Well, that's on him.
Yeah, if it ever happens again. Matt Garrett, let me ask you something that I've noticed with people. I don't have a set standard worth. Like, I don't just feel like, hey man, I'm a great person, and then you can say whatever you want to say, and it'll never affect the way I feel about myself. I feel like mine just kind of floats around. Like, if I get enough people telling me I'm an asshole, or unfunny, or the show sucked, or I need to focus more, or I need to clean up after myself, or I need to talk to my kids more, like, if I get enough of that, I will never just go, well, no, I'm up here, and you can just talk repeatedly about this other thing, but I'll always look at myself this way. I'm kind of a floating scale with me. I think there's a problem that some people have, which is they just go, here's who I am. And yeah, you brought up this thing 250,000 times to me, and I never do it, but it's got nothing to do with the way I feel about myself. You should start to feel badly about yourself if a person repeatedly, whether it's body odor or not putting caps on things, if you're told the same thing 275 times, you should adjust the way you feel about yourself, and that, I think, will aid in fixing of the problem. This is a new theory I'm having. I realize there's a handful of people that just feel a certain way about themselves, and it's like they're not embarrassed, humiliated, or anything about having the same conversation 250 times. My greatest fear is somebody coming up to me and going, remember last week I asked, my greatest fear is I pull in the garage is empty, and I park in the middle of the garage, and then Lynette comes home and trying to park her car, and I'm parked in the middle. And she comes in and goes, hey man, could you not park in the middle of the garage because I'm coming home from the market and I can't pull into the garage. In which case I would go, I just came home for a few minutes, but I guess her timing was bad. I didn't know where you were. But my greatest fear is 2 days later, I'm parked in the middle of the garage taking a nap, and then she comes in and goes, hey, didn't we just talk about this? Like, what are you doing? Like that's my greatest fear. I'll never have that happen again. That's the way it goes through life. Now, Ray, you don't have that.
Put the fucking cap on the coffee.
I don't know anybody. Right? I know a lot of people that don't have that. But it's freeing, right? Drew doesn't have it, right? Bruce doesn't have it. Ray doesn't have it. We could put together a list. I don't think Rob has it. It's a weird way to go through life.
Listen, the parking thing, I'm a fucking weirdo about that kind of shit, and I don't fuck up other people's stuff.
There's an interesting parking thing, which is some people come here and park, and they just park right in the middle of the lot. Like, they don't pull up, they don't pull back, they don't tuck in, they just park in the middle of the lot, and they just like come in, and at some point someone goes, hey, we need your keys because 8 people can't pull out, and they go, yeah, hold on, yeah, here you go. And they throw you the keys. It's like,
that shit doesn't
feel weird. That doesn't feel weird. All right, here we go. Will, 34, DC. Will?
Adam, Ray, what's up?
What's going on, man?
Hey, so I had 2 things. I'm the veterinarian that called you a few weeks ago on the ACS show about Phil's seizures, and want to call and check and see how he's doing.
He's doing good. He's what's Phil doing? He does a couple of really weird things. The only person in the house he really listens to is Olga, because Olga's from Guatemala. Well, there's 2 reasons.
She feeds him.
2 reasons. Yes, half right. 2 reasons. Olga's in the kitchen, always working away, and she uses every part of the buffalo. She don't throw away a chicken bone without pulling all the gristle and fat and everything off it, and then she'll throw that to Phil. That's number 1. Number 2, if Phil gets caught with a flip-flop in his mouth, Olga puts her foot into his ribs. Like, Olga don't fuck around. Because she's from Guatemala. Dog's a dog in Guatemala. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, Phil's funny. Every night, about 8 o'clock, he like hits his witching hour. He'll nap all day. He'll be plotching around all day, but around 8 o'clock, he hits his witching hour. And I'll be sitting at my computer, and he'll come over to me, and he'll get up on me, like both paws on me. And he does 2 moves. He looks at me, then he does a weird stretch. Like he goes, he puts his chin all the way up, then he looks at me for a while, then he starts barking. Like big bark, big 110 pound. Like jowls flying everywhere and slobber, and he barks real hard, and he starts smacking me with his paw, and that means he wants me to chase it. He wants to tussle. He wants to get into it. He wants to wrestle. He only does it with me. He only does it at 8 o'clock at night. And then the thing that's funny is Olga will always be in the kitchen, and at some point she'll whistle. She'll go like, hey, Bill, and he'll like mid-bark, he'll stop, he'll turn his head, he'll like stop, and he'll go, huh? And then she'll whistle, Bill, and whistle, and he'll just pop down and go trotting, like he's called off, like immediately. Then he'll come back and do it again. But his health has been good. He's not had another seizure since we last spoke, Will. So I appreciate it.
What was it? Why seizure?
It's unclear why he's had the seizures yet. Everyone has a lot of cockamamie, full moon, diet, blah, blah, blah.
My professional opinion was probably epilepsy. We talked about that. Well, good. I'm glad to hear he's feeling better. I did have a question, a home improvement question for y'all if you had time.
Sure, man.
All right. So we bought a house up here, up in D.C. So
Winner!
And I had a shed put up in the backyard, like a tool shed. I'm getting an electrician to run power out to it, so I can start some tools, put a light up out there, that stuff. But the guy's really good. He speaks English about as well as everybody else, Waldo. And so I've asked him several times how many breakers or how much wattage or whatever he's going to run out there, how much I should to run all the power I need.
Amps.
Amps, right, amps. I don't know if you understand what I'm asking, because I can never get a real answer.
There's no ants out there. It's clear of ants.
Yeah, you don't have an ant problem. What are you planning on plugging in out there?
a shop light, maybe a chop saw, and a grinder. I'm going to have like a heater out there because it's going to get cold. My dog sleeps in the out there during during the day. I don't want to get too cold if it snows up here. But nothing huge, not like an AC unit or anything like that.
Yeah.
So like I said, the shop light, a few chargers, like charge up the batteries to my grills and stuff.
Yeah. All right. The light's nothing. The battery chargers are nothing. The heater's a little something. The chop saw is probably the biggest draw because it kind of kicks on.
Yeah, but he's still not drawing that much.
Still not drawing that much. So
it's
what?
not like you need 220 or anything.
No, a couple of 20 amp.
Yeah.
Circuits.
That's it. Maybe 3.
Yeah, he says he's going to put a new sub panel.
Yeah.
A panel, I guess.
How many breakers are going to be on it? How many amps is each breaker?
I don't know. He didn't say how many.
He's fine.
If he knows what he's doing, you're going to be fine.
Yeah, you're not. There's nothing special going on out there. You're not running a hydroponic pot farm or anything. You're fine.
Right.
You're good.
Okay.
You got it. He'll put the sub panel in. That's good. He'll put a couple of 20 amp breakers or something, and you'll be fine.
Good. Hey, Ray, 2 questions. Have you heard Adam do his impersonation of your mom, and is that exactly what she sounds like when she's bitching you out?
What the fuck are you talking about?
Ray, reenact the time. Reenact the time you came in for breakfast. We came in for breakfast at like 11 in the morning, and your mom told you the kitchen was closed.
What did I do? I'm forgetting.
You spit on Ronnie's.
Oh, no, Rich's.
Rich's pancakes.
Ma, you got to make some for Adam. The kitchen is closed, Ray. It's 11 o'clock. Come on. Ma, we're hungry. We need to eat. We need to eat now. Rich, look at that roach crawling on the wall. Ma, now you got to make it because I'm eating Rich's. He won't eat it now. And Adam needs something too.
Yeah.
You fucking kids. Okay. She made it.
You and Rich talking these days? Or?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit.
Thanks,
Well,
Will.
why's that so funny?
I don't know.
You talking to Lauren?
A little bit.
All right. Talking to your dad?
Yeah, a little bit.
Talking to your mom?
I try to.
Everybody a little bit.
I try to avoid.
I know.
I try to avoid family members. Well, what's in it for me, Ray? Like, God's honest. Like, really? What is it?
Hey, can I go over to Sunday football?
No.
You don't want to? Okay.
Michael, 29. I'm trying to relax over there, right?
It's not for you.
Oklahoma, 29. What's going on?
Hey, I've got a home improvement question, but just since we're talking about Ray, you know, I've never laughed harder than when Adam told the story about you asking your mom which guy's cock muscle was bigger or better or something like that.
Listen, it's something every kid needs to know. That's all.
I can't believe she earnestly answered.
If you guys tune into tomorrow's episode of Ace on the House featuring Ray and Stromer, you can hear about the time Ray tracked down the guy who took his mom's virginity, posted a photo.
I have it.
That's
that
an amazing story on tomorrow's show, so you guys look forward to that.
You know that story?
No, I don't know that story. But
when we went to Germany, Mom's swan song, she was passing. 3 of us went, the brothers.
There's 4. Aren't there 4 brothers?
3 of us went.
Okay, go ahead.
So anyway, it's how old are your kids? 11?
Mm-hmm.
11 years ago, exactly, to the date. So went to Uetersen, hung out with my uncles and all that kind of stuff. Uetersen, where my mother grew up.
Village?
Yes, the little village. And the gentleman who, first took her virginity was in the village still. So I went and tracked him down with my mom. He's married, and we took like a picture together, family photo, if you will.
You know, a couple things in terms of the history
And
of
they're
Ray.
all tiny, by the way.
How'd you track him down?
He's down the fucking block.
All right, let me ask you this. The guy who invented primal scream therapy died the other day. Somebody sent me. I know you found out. That's where I never want to know why. There's a lot of stuff I don't want to know. In terms of like my family, I don't want to know anything.
I'll find out.
I don't want to know anything because it's never good. And
That's a great story, by the way.
My family has no history of, my dad going, well, I don't know if I was first runner-up for the Heisman or third or whatever. I didn't win, but I was definitely in the running. Like, there is no war stories. There's no history. There's basically my family history is people just going, I was super scared and I didn't know what to do. That's about the history of my dad is I was scared. I didn't know what to do. And the history of my mom is I was scared. I didn't leave the house. That's their history. There's no, oh boy, I had this Mercury chopped up, the V8 in it. Like, there's no stories of the time
I
you
love
punched
that
out
car.
the bully. There's no cars. There's no anything. There's just I stayed home. I was scared. So I don't ask any questions because they're never good. I don't want to know where my mom met my stepdad because it's just it has to be something pathetic. It can't be. Well,
I wanted to know.
I was base jumping and we got up to the top of the Devil's Gorge and there he was standing there. Like there's nothing.
Eyes
good.
locked on.
Ray wants to know. So Ray found out they met Primal Scream Therapy Encounter Group. Awesome.
2 of the wispiest, quietest people ever in the universe met at Primal Scream Therapy. I was like, what? Say that again.
They always have slept in separate bedrooms. I've never asked why. They slept
Maybe
in
it was for
separate bedrooms.
communication. Get me a glass of water.
Oh, they're used to screaming. Yeah.
See?
There's that. There's the time a guy hit me with a baseball bat in a street fight and Ray tracked that guy down.
Fuck yeah, I did.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
Now, what is your Tell me your version of that story.
Well, you had just had surgery on your knee.
Yeah, and I know. I was got in a street fight. A guy hit me with a baseball bat.
Yeah, and then you came home to your apartment that you shared with like 9 other dudes. I was there with our other buddy Chris. And you walked in pimping and a little tussle, and we went like, "What happened?" And you told the story, and Chris and I just we flipped out. We go, "Let's go! We know where the house is. They're still there. Let's get going."
I remember that.
We got to getting, and we ran into the group.
Yeah, but you're not telling the part where you tracked down the guy. Right? I said you tracked down the guy who hit me with the baseball
So we were
bat.
at a
You're
party.
not telling that
We were
story.
at a party.
How much later?
About a year. It
was
wasn't substantial.
It was a while later, yeah.
But I always remember his name, and I always remembered, like, I need to find this guy. And I would ask around about him periodically because I knew, like, we had some kind of cross-section of friends. So, anyway, we were at this party, and I'm talking to this guy, and I go, "What's your name?" He goes, "I'm Terry." I go, "Terry what?" Tells me his last name. I go, "Oh, come here, I need to talk to you. And I grab him by the arm and I can't find Adam. And then I finally find Adam and he opens the door and he's in the bathroom with some girl and I go, Adam, this is Terry. This is the dude who hit you with a bat. What do you want to do with him? And you let him go.
I was in the bathroom with a girl. We walked out to the backyard, as I remember. We stood there and he was very repentant, is what he was.
Yeah, he wasn't bad. I mean,
he was begging for mercy, and then I had like a boner, so we just let him go. I talked to the guy years later. He said he's a commercial. He's a private pilot.
That's kind of awesome.
Yeah. He didn't really want to talk about the incident that much because I don't think it looked good for him hitting a dude with a baseball bat in the street.
It wouldn't be good for him.
From behind.
Nah, not nice.
Not nice.
That's what freaked me out, though, like the blatant, how do you do that to someone? Like, we've been in plenty of scuffles and all that. I've never kicked anybody when they were down. I've never, like, really, I can't do that. That's not my makeup.
I'm with you. No, I
told him. But hit you with a bat from the blind side in your knee that you just had surgery on.
I told him I had surgery on my knee. So he hit me with that. It was awesome.
How do you do that?
I don't know how people are wired. Sad. But to me, scarier person, the guy doesn't put the cap on the caulking there.
Really?
Well, if I told Terry 175 times, please, no more with the bat in the knee, I think eventually he'd stop. Then I'd have to start talking. Michael, go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah, thank you guys. Love you guys. So I'm looking at my backyard fence, and I've got this like 6-inch high piece of metal at the bottom of part of the fence, like some kind of support thing, and it's been peeling off a little bit, and it's got super sharp edges, and I didn't realize that until my dog ran into it and cut himself down to the bone. So I'm wondering, is there some kind of tape or glue or something that can withstand weather and can stick itself to a wood fence that I can get the edges of this support thing back up firmly against the fence?
I'm trying to picture what the support thing is. It's a wood fence, like a dog-eared redwood fence?
Yeah, regular wood fence in the backyard, and in the corner I have this little garden area with like soil and stuff. And so the previous homeowners, it's at the bottom of the fence, and it runs about 20 feet long, which is how long the garden area is, and it's about 6 inches high, and the color of it is like silver. And
so it's galvanized? Is it round or square, or what shape is it?
It's square, like it's got a firm edge, like a rectangle edge.
And is it hollow on the top? Is it tube?
No, it's like flat. It's like maybe like a couple millimeters thick.
And it's only on one side or both sides?
I'm not able to see.
I can't picture.
I think it's for rodents or something like that.
Oh, you mean it's thin? Okay, it's like a rodent block, but it sticks up. And you said it's up about 6 inches. It goes into the soil.
Yeah, it goes down into the soil. I'm out here right now.
Oh, yeah, it's for like gophers or something, right?
Yeah, I would imagine.
Yeah, and I better take back I'll take back the support thing because it's pretty flimsy.
Yeah, it's like sheet metal. That's what I'm trying to
figure out.
Sheet metal, yeah, okay, it's sheet metal, and the top got edgy.
The top it pitched away.
And you want to, and it sliced your dog. Like you want to put something over the top, like so it's not sharp.
Yeah, like if it was inside, I would run just like tape over the entire top of it.
Yeah,
so there's no like tape come off.
I'm not taking it off.
I got thoughts. Well, here's another thought. If you just want to do the top, how bad is the top edge? How far down does it go?
Well, it comes off, what do you mean?
How bad is the top edge? How far down does the problem go down?
It meets the ground.
Yeah, no, but as he said, all right, hold on. He originally said there's a support metal at the bottom of the thing. What's a support metal? It's a fucking piece of sheet metal that goes in the dirt.
Yeah.
Like I got a fence, and the bottom rail, the support rail, is metal. It's like
it's not a support rail.
You know the picture that's going in my head when you say I got a fence and I got a bottom support rail?
No, I speak, Michael. I understood what you were saying.
Jesus goddamn Christ.
Said or all.
Fucking description. Okay. So listen, Michael.
Yes, sir.
Here's what I would do. You ready? I think this will work. Go online. Go to like McMaster Car. Go to McMaster Car. They got everything. And if you look under like extruded moldings or whatever, they'll have rubber molding that's like 3/4 inch black rubber with a slit in it, and you could literally just slide it on the top edge of that thing if you wanted to. We're looking for protection from the dog, right? Like you're not going to put duct tape on it because the weather's going to hit it. It's going to peel up. Go to McMaster Car. Get a 40-foot piece of this rubber. I use it all the time when I'm doing race cars and stuff. They have all different plugs and molds and U molds and L molds.
Do you glue it on then?
No, I think you just push it down.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
You got me, Michael?
Beautiful. I'm going to listen back to this. I'm going to do exactly what you said, and I'm going to do your best.
Do my best. Go to you guys. Go to McMaster Car, and you can find any kind of piece of molding, plugs, bung holes, fillers. I mean, they have everything, but for all the
stripping.
When you're building a race car, you can't believe how much weird little strippy, moldy, funky stuff you need, and it's all there. All right, I'll tell you about Geico. Everybody's got the to-do list. How about you save hundreds of dollars on your car insurance? You don't have to drop off anything, pick anything up. Just go to geico.com. 15 minutes, you could be saving 15% or more on your auto insurance. So, once again, go to geico.com. Type in a little information, spend a couple of minutes, and see just how much you could be saving on your auto insurance. It is Geico. All right, we got a subfloor question here, Ray.
Cool.
Let's talk to Joe, 41 Atlanta. Joe.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Hi, Joe.
Yeah, I got in my upstairs hallway. My subfloor seems to be kind of warped or something. I don't know what's causing it, and should I be worried about it, and how big a deal is it to fix it?
Upstairs hallway.
Yep.
Yeah.
Is it next to a bathroom?
Yeah, it's got to be some water getting in there somewhere.
No, it's like in front of that's what I was thinking, but I'm not sure where it's coming from because it's like in front of a bedroom door, and it's like I step on it and I bounce up. You know,
what year's the house?
It's about a 98. I think 97 or 98, something like that. But I mean, it's not like super. It's not like a great construction. The guy just blew it up, I think, in the neighborhood. You know what I mean? It wasn't like
a carpet up there.
carpet, yeah.
So when you jump up and down, if somebody's below that area downstairs, can you see any movement or anything else?
No. Oh, you mean
Is my
it's
transfer?
flexing?
Yeah.
No, he's talking about the subfloor being popped up.
I think it's just like the plywood under the...
Do you think it's like a 2 foot, you know, what's the framing like or whatever?
No, it's like people, the thing about subflooring, people do the same thing with subflooring that they do with waterproofing around the basement when they pour the basements. Like, you got one fucking shot at this thing. Would you do it right? And they're like, oh, we'll just get some 8-penny sinkers and a gun and shoot down a little, you know, half a little bit of this subfloor or something. Half it'll go off the edge. It won't even be down the middle of the fucking thing. No. And they throw the plywood down, they pop it with the nail gun, and they move on to the next house, and of course it pops.
Yeah.
Like, you got one shot at this. You put a bunch of subfloor adhesive down there and screw the fucking thing off or get some ring shank nails or whatever it is, but you're not going to get another shot at it. Just like you're not going to get another shot at that basement waterproofing, and everyone's super shitty and casual with it.
And it's the exact opposite. I mean, because you only have, like, to what I'm saying, I mean, especially with waterproofing, if it's getting backfilled and you didn't do it right, you're just a douche.
It's not that they didn't do it right, they just did it enough.
But they don't.
It's like
a lot of times they don't do it right.
enough to hold for a couple of years, and then it's going to perpetually leak. So, Joe, you got a house that was 20 years old, and the guy, you know, we hear this all the time to subfloor. They just, look, 2 of the nails didn't even hit the joist, you know what I mean? And the subfloor adhesive, the guy went off the edge in the middle and came back on again, you know, like he got off the road.
Yeah.
And now
I do now, though.
Okay, so, you got the carpet. It's kind of tough. I would
peel up the carpet.
I would look this up online. You can peel up the carpet. You can peel up the carpet. You can screw the thing off with a whole bunch of really good, you know, augury, aggressive, like coarse thread screws.
Like deck screws or something?
Yeah, like decky
kind of make sure the neck's doesn't have any thread in it. So when you suck it down, you're sucking the plywood down. Into
Make the neck 3/4 of nothing. Suck the thing down, and then call a carpet guy to come back and put the carpet, stretch the carpet, and get the carpet down.
You know what? You can
do it now.
You kind of can. I mean, I've done it numerous times.
Don't do it, Joe.
Why?
Just get a carpet guy.
You need a hammer.
Charge you 2 hours to come in there and stretch it out, hook it up, you'll be done. Thanks,
All right.
Thanks, Joe. All right. Tell you guys about LifeLock. By now you heard about the Equifax breach, man, affecting 143 million Americans. Thieves made off with names, birth dates, social security numbers, everything they need to open a credit card, get a loan or a mortgage in your name, ruin your good credit. Now, let's get some protection. It's time to get LifeLock. I've got it. Annette has it. The kids have it. If you have a social security number, you need LifeLock. Are you shopping online? My God, how much stuff do I get online? You never stop buying stuff online these days. Your information's out there. You need to look. It's before cars. You didn't need car insurance. Now there's cars, and it's great. It's a great mode of transportation. It's a time saver. It's everything. It's a money maker, but now you get car insurance. Well, what LifeLock is for your identity. Proprietary technology detects a wide range of identity threats and alert you if your info is being used. There's a problem. Their U.S.-based identity restoration specialists will work to fix it. It's LifeLock. Now,
no one can prevent all identity theft or monitor all transactions at all businesses, but LifeLock can help you see more threats to your identity. Go to LifeLock.com or call 1-800-LifeLock and use promo code Adam. That's Adam for 10% off your LifeLock membership. Visit LifeLock.com, save 10% now.
Oh, all right, screw John. You want to know if I was still flipping houses? I've never flipped houses. I just buy houses and fix them up, and at some point I move and I sell them. But I'm not a flipper.
What's going down with your piece of property on the block from where you are now?
Lynette's over there now. She's got the rototill fired up. Yeah, because plant season. Corn. We got to plant now, so the corn will come up tomorrow. Yeah, so she's running that thing. I got a meeting with the architect coming up, going modular.
Modular meaning is going to be built elsewhere and then placed?
Yeah, it was kind of an interesting thing. In terms of modular building, there's kind of a size ceiling. You know, like they can pull up to 3,000 square foot or something like that. You know, they can't build you a modular mansion. You know what I mean?
Okay.
They can't build. Are you doing okay? Like I understand, or are you doing okay? Like keep talking. I don't know what you're saying.
I keep talking. Why not?
Gary.
Yeah.
And when it comes to modular building, they can go up to like 3,000 square feet. Right?
Yeah, but you
build
can
you a modular mansion.
You can get it double.
They don't have the space or the whatever to do a modular mansion.
Okay, now I get it.
Okay, good. You were a better student than I was, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Still am.
He was a better student than I was.
Who wasn't a better student than you?
That's a good question. Hey, I just checked the other day. I was 497 out of like 561.
A graduating class?
I figured at least 50 of those people ran away or died, right? Like let's
hear about the modular.
Those included people that dropped out and were swept to sea, right? It wasn't like those people. They were people that hung out and cried. Like our buddy Chris, you know, he dropped out. Like that. Yeah. He was in that group, right? Of the 550 something. Yeah, he had to be.
He counted?
Yeah, he had to be. That's what I'm saying. It's the class of the potential. Anyway, they can build you.
I was third in the class.
They can build you up. Do you know what your rank was?
No. How do you know what your rank is?
Because, well, later on when I made a TV show, we went back to the high school and pulled all the paperwork. That's why. Otherwise, I'd have no idea.
Why didn't you pull mine then? You were there.
I should have asked what your rank was. Try to write that down here. We'll find out. We'll go to North Howard High Archives for your rank.
Yeah, but I had 176 school teaching days. I had 115 absences. I mean, come on. I graduated. I went to school maybe a quarter of the time.
All right, so you can do so if you want to build a big house and you want to go modular, you build like 3,000 square foot pods, you know, mods or whatever, and then on site you build the great room.
Okay.
You build the big living room on site.
And then they both
connect them somehow. So now that's how you get to 7,500 square feet.
That's awesome.
You feel me?
How big's your great room?
I haven't gotten any of that yet. I think they'll place me that.
So they just butt up and butt up.
That's the loose version of how you can get
all raised foundation,
big
ton
house.
of concrete work then.
Yeah, ton of concrete work. All right, and the modular stuff is not really much cheaper than just building a custom home, but it's a lot cleaner, a lot faster, and a lot of everything else.
I love when they show the panels. Like you'll see the actual walls, and they're on like a spindle, and they flip. Boom, 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 boom.
Imagine the electricians and everyone else being done before your walls, before the place. I mean, all the pipes and everything's in the wall. All right, this Friday. That is the October 13th, Minneapolis Music Hall. Coming up, one-man show. Also this Saturday, the 14th. Next day, Nashville Folk Theater. Come on out and say hi. An evening with me and Dennis Prager. That's November 29th in Brooklyn, King's Theater. Go out and see that. Live Corolla shows. Just go down Corolla.com for the live pod and say hi to Annette over at Corolla Drinks. Ray, what do you got now?
I got me on the Twitter, man. Ray Oldhofer. Follow me, please.
Follow Ray on the Twitter. Until next time, man. Pro for Ray Oldhofer saying, mahalo.
Subscribe on iTunes or visit aceontheroof.com. This is Corolla Digital.
Enemy armor is damaged.
Evacuations ordered ahead of Storm Nate. I'm Jackie Quinn with an 18 News Minute. All along the Gulf Coast, emergency managers are warning people to get ready for what's expected to become Hurricane Nate this weekend. It's expected to bring a massive storm surge. Parts of New Orleans are under evacuation. Alabama's emergency manager is warning people to prepare.
You'll have surge, flooding, storm, wind events in the south, and down trees, widespread power outages with some tornadic activity.
Las Vegas police say, unlike many other mass killers, Stephen Paddock didn't leave a note to explain his motives. Detectives are now talking to prostitutes in Las Vegas. It's believed that he hired one in the days before the shooting. Security is tight at the Austin City Limits Music Festival in Texas. The chief of police tells KXAN they stepped up their presence.
High ground exists around this event, and so that does play in our planning and in our response capabilities.
I'm Jackie Quinn.
Motherfucker. We lost the track. We're stuck here. We didn't penetrate their armor. We're done for. Everyone get out.
Thanks for listening to
Download now and get
small criminals, sports you've never heard of. Doesn't matter. It's the crime. It's the comedy. It's such a good time. Join us every Tuesday for Crime in Sports.
You can join us every Tuesday at podcast1.com, the Podcast One app, or subscribe on all Apple products.
Find us every Tuesday and laugh at people.
He's got the hammer, fixing your trouble with hilarious banter. So send your emails to the postal Punisher with his old buddy Ray. It's Ace on the House.
Hello and welcome to Sunday's edition of Ace on the Roof on the House on the whatever.
Ace up on some stuff.
There you, who are you?
I'm Eric Stromer.
Hello, Ericy.
Hello there, Raymond.
What's happening?
You know, just driving in, making it right.
Right
here again, doing it.
I was trying.
You made it. Proud of you.
Damn, traffic.
Lots of traffic here in the city.
Isn't it weird?
It's terrible.
I hate it. I do.
You know, I just want to tell you folks that if you're thinking of coming to Los Angeles, you should think again because you can't go anywhere from about 7 till 10.
7 till 10, and then you can't go anywhere from 11 till 7.
Yeah,
and then you can't go anywhere
about
from
40,
8
you
till...
have 40 minutes of free, easy driving.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
What do you guys listen to in the mornings? What's your morning routine when you're stuck in the car?
Oh, by the way, that's our own Matt Fondelier. Let's see. What am I was listening to a little NPR on the way in. Usually, I use the time to call my beautiful friends.
Depends on who I call.
That's when you'll get rambling, drunken messages from me
in the morning.
Yeah, that's right.
Wow.
On the way in.
From the get-go.
Ray, what about you?
I do what Eric does. I do the NPR, and then I also do the Stern. And if I've heard the Stern already, 75 times, which is sometimes the case, then I'll hit the NPR.
Sometimes I'll listen to the Dennis Prager. I like him.
Do you?
I do. I like to have. I like to be challenged on the right. It's fun.
Yeah. Do you scream at the radio, or what do you do?
Sometimes I scream. I go, come on! I do a lot of that.
Yeah. Really? Is that right?
I've been listening to him for years, man. So back in the day, like 20 years ago, when I was remodeling stuff, in the afternoons I turn him on. He would be on. Him and a guy named David Viscott. You remember that guy?
The psychologist.
Yeah. I used to listen to him.
Dr. David Viscott. He died early.
Yeah, sure did.
I remember my parents were going through a divorce, and my father would reference Dr. David Viscott.
Oh, that's good.
No, not really, because
You mean here's why I don't want to be with you because David said this?
No. I think he wanted to be with her. I think she didn't want to be with him.
Well, no.
It was yeah. Mom and
she's an old hopper for God's sake. She doesn't take any shit.
Yeah, she did. For like 50. How old? Well, 60. Yeah, she did.
Oh, she did.
Oh yeah. Come on, she was like a little farming lady.
Yeah.
Pressing apples.
With a heart of gold.
Yeah.
Right.
I told you that story when we went back to Germany, right?
No, what?
That I found the gentleman who took my mom's virginity.
No, you did not.
I did.
What happened?
What do you think of?
What did you do? You're all red. You beat him, didn't you?
No. He's a delightful little fellow. It was a tiny tot.
You actually found the guy.
Oh yeah, and there's a picture of me, my mother.
How did you get your mom to admit to this?
My mom. What do you want to know? I tell you anything.
And so you found the guy.
Found him. He still lives in Itzening, where my mother grew up.
And what'd you do to him?
We just all posed for pictures.
That's all.
It was like a thing. I didn't do anything. He's married, right? And so it was
a Christmas card from the Ray Old Opera House.
Listen, I got a. By the way, that I want to do one day, but I might get arrested. I'll tell you about it in a second. So, anyway, I had one of those, Bavarian hats on.
Yeah, of course you did.
And then I was like, I just gathered them all up and made pictures.
Isn't that nice?
It was like being on a hunt, and look what I found. It was a windfall. It was so great.
And then there was another one. It was the first time that your mom had a three-way, and that was the guy from
I didn't find that guy. Really, Eric? Yeah, that one. In the hayfield. In the barn.
That's fantastic.
I remember loving this. You know what bloodwurst is? Of course you do.
Yeah.
Where they boil the blood and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, it's purple and it has specks in it. I used to love it.
Yeah.
And I would eat it, and I had real gappy teeth when I was a kid, and
Oh, yeah.
And I pushed the gelatin through my mouth because I liked that.
Yeah, you did.
Anyway, I asked my mother what it was, and she told me. I go, don't let me.
Yeah, no, it's nasty. I know. Once I found out, I was like, I can't do it.
Right.
Yeah, no.
Like entrails or whatever.
Yeah, no.
Mom didn't care.
There's some good things about the Germans, and then there's some creepy things about the Germans.
Do you want to hear my Christmas card?
Yeah.
All right. So you sit on a copier, right?
Yeah.
And you spread your cheeks a little bit.
Of course,
and then you have the shape of your butt and all that.
Yeah.
But then you expose the brown rose, so to speak.
Of course, yeah.
And then you draw a Christmas tree, and you write from my brown star to your family. Merry Christmas.
Isn't that nice?
And then you would look at it because you wouldn't be able to figure it out right away.
No.
So you couldn't send any kids or anything.
No.
People with children.
It takes
but it would still be a great Christmas.
It takes a tremendous amount of effort for you to actually relax enough to get that to
pop in my head.
Get into the
I've been thinking about that for years.
No, to have the brown rose actually lower onto the glass of the copy machine requires you to ease down.
You need to be relaxed. You took it to another level, Eric.
Well, I mean, I don't know how else to do it. How else can you get it on there?
Do we have a copier here?
Nothing anymore.
I believe it's in Matt's office. Now that I'm thinking about it.
Scanner, whatever.
God.
Scanner now. It's not a copier.
So nice.
I think it's a great idea.
I went on a tear with my old roommate had a copy machine. I did a bunch of those and then just put the pictures up in his room. Yeah.
Welcome home. Check out my sack.
Right.
And then he's touching it. And why'd you do that to me? I like doing that kind of
stuff.
Easy. It's funny. Hey, thank you for your support, people. We'd like to thank you. We'd like to thank you for going on aceontheroof.com. Click on that PayPal button. You know how to do it. Go through Amazon link. We appreciate that too. Twitter, Ace on the House. Facebook.com/Ace on the House. Follow me on the Twitter. My name's Ray Oldhoffer. His name is Eric Stromer. Follow him on Twitter. And what, Eric? EricStromer.com?
Yeah, EricStromer.com. That's right.
That's a good one.
Hold on. I actually have to have an emergency call with this guy because he's screwing up my job right now.
Yeah,
hold on.
All right, go ahead. Make sure you know.
I know he's screwing this up.
Yeah, make sure you tell him we're recording.
And then email us your video questions and rate us 5 stars. Hi, Matt. Hey, what's up? Matt, very cool shirt.
Hold on, guys. Here's my guy, Renee. I got to take care of business here. Sorry.
I know, but you want to tell him first?
Hey, Renee, you're going to be on the radio right now. You're being recorded, just so you know. Okay, so the soffit, is, the thing that comes down is exactly the same level as the rest of the soffit that we framed out that's 17 inches wide. It's the same level as that.
Okay, yeah, because you put 28, that's why.
No, it's 68 wide, you know, from the doorway of the kitchen in toward the window. You know, 68 wide, and then it returns the 28.
Oh, okay, okay.
And it's the same depth as the other soffits that are 17 inches. You know, that we made 17 inches wide. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's 28 is the. Oh, okay, I got you now.
Yeah. So it ties.
You sound really convincing, Renee. I want you to know.
Yeah, it ties into the other lower the one that we made 17 inches. It's going to be the same level as that one.
Okay, on the same level of the ceiling, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, okay, and the 60 inch is from the wall.
No.
On the side.
Oh boy, hold on a second.
It's 68, I think.
68, yeah, from the entrance of the kitchen over into the room, wide. I'm gonna send you a picture of the cabinet so you understand what I'm trying to tell you.
Okay, better, yeah.
Okay, I'll send it to you now. Okay, bye.
So take half-hour break.
Oh Jesus, everything's going to hell. I knew I shouldn't have left him.
You can't leave.
I know.
You really can't.
I mean, go, keep talking amongst yourselves. I just have to sketch a quick picture and send it to him.
Will he figure it out?
I don't think so.
Strummer, for you, we do have a scanner and a copier.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Thanks. That's
I
so
got
good
something to
know.
send him.
That's right.
Not for me.
Nope.
Oh boy.
Matt, what's happening?
Doing good, pal.
I like your shirt.
Thanks, man.
Where'd you get it?
I believe I got it at Target. It's
Really?
A fancy French outlet store.
You didn't like go to the Science Museum and buy it
No.
there?
Nope.
So then no good story?
No, man.
All right,
Just a
moving
NASA shirt.
NASA.
NASA.
Did we say Nassau?
I think I did.
Yeah.
Still drinking.
Weird. Okay. Good thing you didn't go to Science Museum.
Yeah.
Wow. What was your emphasis in school? Escuela?
It was the screenwriting.
Ah.
Yes.
Welcome here.
Yeah, a lot of good's been doing me these days.
Docudrama.
That's right.
You could do it here.
Yeah, probably.
That'd be pretty interesting.
Probably.
Just set up a bunch of like cameras and narrate over it.
Yeah, exactly.
That'd be good.
You want to take a phone call that's up here?
Yeah,
Maybe.
come on, let's do it.
Stall
Maybe
him out. I
we
want to
can
say
do it
him first.
Hey, Rizzo.
How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. How about you?
You look good. You shaved.
I did, yeah. I shaved it all off.
Look at me. Get out of the mic. Let me see. Yeah.
Oh my God, you're more than a feeling. That's what makes me. When I see, that's what I want to say.
I did for you.
You want to help Luke?
Yeah, come on, Luke.
He's in Indiana. Well, you're gonna have something to say because you're all about that.
That's right.
That's where you're from, right?
No, that's where my wife's dad started the ABA's Indiana Pacers. He was the original architect of the Indiana Pacers.
Dude.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Isn't it?
That's great.
Yeah, so my wife grew up watching the ABA games, you know, and like that's where she learned how to make shows because she watched all the spectacle in the 70s.
Yeah,
it was all
they went over the top.
It was all entertainment.
And they had the red, white, and blue ball.
There you go.
Yeah, don't hey, I know. And then they merged in what year? 70 something.
Way too far before they merged. My dad or my father-in-law sold, so you know,
Oh, he did?
yeah, it was still an ABA team when he sold, so he got like $1.07.
Not
And then it sold like 20 years later for $7 billion or whatever. you know.
whatever it's worth now, right?
Exactly.
That's crazy. Wow.
But isn't that cool? Like he was one of those guys that was like, we got to bring because it was all about the Celtics game at that point in the basketball, right?
Sure.
Very organized, don't break rules. So he said, let's bring that playground game into
Let's bring some show.
There you go.
I like that. Well, let's check him out then. Luke, what's happening?
Hey, what's happening, fellas?
Hi, Luke.
Hi, Luke. Hey, I'm like 25 minutes east of Indianapolis, and I can remember when they imploded the Hoosier Dome. That was the first place where the Pacers played.
Yeah.
And we could hear the demolition of that building.
Ooh, that's cool.
wild.
That's amazing.
Well, it collapsed on itself, right?
Yeah, I don't remember like specifically. I don't remember watching like the video after after all. I mean, it's been years and years ago, but even 25 minutes away, we're like whatever that is, 30 miles. You could hear it. It's pretty wild.
That's
Could
so
you
cool.
feel it?
What's that?
Could you feel it? I mean, the ground.
Yeah, I was young, so I don't really recall it like vividly, but like my dad, I mean, they still talk about it. So
there you go. At least you got
yeah,
that.
so,
Right?
yeah, my dad's pretty great.
What high school did you go? Did you go to North Central?
No. I'm much further east of that. New Palestine High School. I'm with the Dragons.
Rawr.
Yeah,
I don't know if that was your
Wait,
fight.
now, if you guys were the Dragons, what was your record? I'm wagering that you guys sucked, right?
In what?
Well, okay, let's go with basketball first.
We've had some pretty good basketball players come through. There's been a lot of
when you were there.
collegiate players. When I was there, no. I mean, the basketball team was decent, but they weren't like state champions or anything like that. The football program now is gaining a lot of traction. They've had a whole bunch of state titles in the last, 3 or 4 years, something like that. They've got a really good football program.
Yeah, when Adam and I went to North Hollywood High, I mean, prior years they were really good. Like a couple of guys went pro and all that kind of stuff. And then we got being 1-9 or whatever. It's so disheartening. It's so painful. I mean, we were just effing horrible, and it was like, and you were good and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, just getting beat like 35-10 every week, or not even getting 10 out.
Oh yeah.
It was just
that's what
brutal.
That's what they're doing to teams out here now. They're beating them, season openers 60-0. Like pretty brutal. Yeah. So they're doing pretty well.
We had like 3,000 kids, at North Hollywood, and then we play schools. Some of that like Kennedy or Chatsworth would have like 7,000 kids. I mean.
Oh yeah, no, we're not nearly that big. I think my graduating class was like 275 or something like that. Yeah. So I mean, there's quite a few more students out here now just because the community's grown, but. It's not a 5,000-10,000 kid school by any means.
Yeah,
so I think they're 4A, something like that. They actually had to move us up into like playing some of the private schools, like the bigger schools, just because they were kicking so much ass.
Speaking of moving up, let's talk about your attic, man.
Whoa, what a segue! Holy mackerel pants!
That's the way I go.
Jeez.
It's nice up there, right, Luke?
Yeah, you're the transition king.
Hey,
so
nobody knows about that.
I know you guys talk all the time about attic air movement and everything, and I've built a pole barn on my property that's going to be kind of like a workshop, and I've got a drop ceiling in it. I've got radiant barrier on the roof and the walls. I've got rigid foam in the bathtub above. And my question is, putting a fan in there to move. Like I understand moving the heat out, but what I'm trying to prioritize is what I need to do moving into the winter. Like I want to get the rest of the insulation up and the walls and such. So if I could save a half a day of climbing around in the attic, to put this fan up there, if I can wait until the spring spring when it starts warming up again, or is there going to be something
Luke,
that I need?
you want the heat in there coming now, right? I mean, it's going to be getting cold. So don't even sweat putting the
put it in the spring.
Summer,
Yeah,
spring.
that's fine.
Okay, well, that's kind of what I was wanting to know. And then, so the secondary question on moving that air, I've got the drop ceiling in there, and I'd like to limit the amount of holes I drill in the side or, any of that stuff. And along the eaves end, I've got an overhang where there's a little gap where air can move through there. Or should I maybe just use, like, some of those grate in the drop ceiling, put a couple of those so that the air can pull up from the shop floor
to the soft or something? So you got a drop ceiling with what, 2x4 or 2x2?
Yeah, I did the 2x2 tile. I actually found a guy on Craigslist. I got it fucking dirt cheap because I wasn't even going to finish off the ceiling, but I got basically everything I needed for like $80. So I decided to put the drop ceiling in, which is going to look great. But I was just kind of wondering then in the summer, like if I just had some open, like the great ones, that could pull air through.
Get the register and soft up. They put an inline fan in there and then send that outside somewhere. You know what I mean?
You actually put a fan on that.
Put an inline fan, or even find a fan that sits within the 2x2 register.
Oh, okay. Because on the eaves end, where the soffit and stuff, I put like a mesh over that opening because I actually had some birds getting in there, which didn't make any sense, like how small the opening was. So I covered all that up, and I was just, like I said, trying to figure out a way not to put a bunch of holes in this brand new building, with little vents and things. So
you're not going to do a bunch. You're going to do one. You're going to put
Yeah, those fans were talking about, how much airflow you have to have, and, like, you've got to have 4 square feet of air movement or intake or whatever. So I was limited to a little bit of how much space I had just by the way the building was constructed. Like, I couldn't put an 18-inch fan on,
you don't need anything that big. No way.
Okay.
I mean, they have inline fans that are not, 8 inches that can, the CFM on them, they move, man.
It's going to move enough.
Yeah, how many square feet you have?
It's tiny. It's like 700.
Oh, yeah.
750.
Just install. Yeah,
that's your cake. You're home free.
You don't have to get into anything else.
No. You're overthinking it.
Most people don't have anything, so you're gonna have that. It's gonna move right through, and you're gonna have nothing but cool, beautiful air conditioning.
And then you have doors that open, like barn doors, or what do you have?
No, I've got a 10x10 overhead door, and I put some windows in it too. So.
And then put a fan inside. Dude, how hot does it get out there?
Well, last week it was fucking 90 degrees, which is unseasonably warm.
That's
but with the radiant barrier, dude, it was, it was mild inside the barn with all the radiant barrier. So
you might not even need one then. Just have
do one. I would get one. I would just get one because in Indiana in the summer it gets real humid and crazy hot. Do it. It'll make
and don't go overboard with the fan. Just get one, or even get like one of the whirly birds that you can control as far as like opening the vent and closing it so the heat can escape. And then in the winter you close it.
Right. Would you go on, on the face side of the barn, or would you get one like the whirly bird kind? Like they've got the.
I go on the face side of the barn. Don't go on the roof if you don't have to. Just go. Just drift it out of the side.
Yeah, well, that should be a whole lot easier.
Way easier.
All right, perfect.
Hey, man,
hey, by the way, Ray, I've done most of this workout here in my flip-flops, so don't let anybody tell you different.
Thank you. Hey, listen, I would make it if we could.
See you, bud.
Bye.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you. Where do you want to
go? Let's go to Mike, Texas, Tejas, as they call it.
Mike.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Hi, Mike.
What's going on here?
So I just built a house up here in Frisco, and I had it pre-wired for all the low voltage stuff. So for like I have a 5.1 downstairs and 4 different rooms that have pre-wired for speakers and then volume controls in each of those. And so I took off. I was going to put in the volume controls, and I pulled out. And essentially, they just had the panel was all that was holding there's nothing back there. It's not attached to a stud or anything. It's just kind of floating in the wall. Is that? I mean, do I need to have that addressed, or is that normal for voltage to just have it floating in the wall like that?
You mean the wire?
Well, no, so the wire. So there's I have to put in the volume control. Can't have to go in like a socket box, right?
Yeah.
Thermostat. But it's not attached to a stud like you would see in electrical wire.
So it's a remodeling box. You just put it in the drywall, right?
Yep.
And it's got little ears that clip onto the drywall. You're fine, just as long as they don't fall through. You know what I'm saying? Like tie a knot, pull as much as you can in that you're going to need anyway.
Yeah,
and then tie a knot so it can't fall out.
And then once the plate's on, it's really solid. It's not going.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. You're
not plugging anything in and out of it either, so it's fine.
And you're not running hardwire.
Nope.
So you're fine.
No, you're totally fine.
It's not like the guy even messed up.
Okay.
Yeah, because in certain applications, the remodeling boxes are actually really good because you can't get in for some reason, because there's too much framing around it or something like that. So
you had it built?
Yeah, I had it built, and then essentially they didn't ever put the volume control after all the drywall and everything was on.
So did they run all this wire after the fact?
No, the wire was run beforehand. It's just there was nothing framed up.
I got you. You're fine.
Yeah, you're fine.
You're fine. Don't sweat it, Mike. Use it.
Can I
blast that shit. I love loud music. By the way, music you can't listen to loud anymore.
No.
It's like everybody's got on their phone and whatever. It drives me nuts.
Yeah, I used to have huge tower speakers, man. I
have some Marantz speakers that weigh like 100 pounds each. I effing love them.
My wife made me throw them away.
Really?
Yeah, she said you got to get rid of the Coke dealer speakers, she called them.
No, really?
Yeah.
I had to get mine recombed.
All right, so what's your second? You have a second question? Make it quick, Mike. What's up?
Yeah, sure. So actually, the boxes that are installed in the ceiling, where you put my speakers in, since most ceiling speakers kind of just they attach to the ceiling itself, they don't have to be attached to the stud.
Yeah.
How do you recommend? Should I have the speakers next to those boxes, or should I go ahead and try to cut it out? I just want to make it look nice while having a speaker in the ceiling next to the stud.
Listen, you put the speakers. I would do it aesthetically.
Yeah, well, you want
put them where you want.
You want to put them also where they sound the best. Don't be limited by anything except where it sounds the best.
Okay.
And looks the best.
Yeah.
What's it for? And then you can always get. Have you ever seen the ceiling fans? They have like these spanners that you can throw in the lid, like cut your hole, throw a spanner up there. You know, it's metal, and then it's like got a clamp to it, so you don't have to like dig everything out, and then it works by tension, and then you can hang whatever you want off of it.
Okay, awesome.
You know what I'm saying? They sell them
And you
everywhere.
better turn this music up so loud that people get mad. That's the point of the music.
I like it so like my body vibrates.
Yeah, you got a subwoofer?
Well, not for the main 5.1, but not for each of the rooms.
Okay, well, you're gonna need to get some subwoofers.
Where is this? In Frisco?
Yeah, yep.
Is it in like a condo or is it a house? What is it?
No, the house. It's just a new subdivision.
Good for you, man.
Pretty close together here. Yeah, no.
Yeah, by the way, that's one of the, I think it is the most expensive city.
Yeah, that's right.
You know? Good for, are you selling it or what are you going to do?
No, I just moved in. Yep.
So it says you're from Texas.
Yeah, why? We thought you were from Texas.
Yeah, Frisco, Texas.
Oh.
San Francisco.
Oh, God. All right, good. Even better.
Okay, now I get it.
All right, put that big hat on and dance around so hard that people get mad at you. That's what we're hoping you do.
Will do.
All right, goodbye.
Thanks, man.
Thanks.
Bye now.
We got Paulie in Minnesota.
Paul.
Hey, what's up?
Good. Hey, what are you doing with the Kevlar?
Oh, I just finished a project for the city council chambers.
Yeah.
And what they want to do is they put the face of that is all covered with, they call them ballistic panels, it's basically Kevlar.
Yeah.
And so they can duck underneath there in case somebody comes and shoot them. Well, my question was,
that's good to know. Yeah.
Yeah, I shouldn't tell people that, but anyway, when you cut that stuff, it's like working with fiberglass. You know, you get all itchy. You know any way to prevent that? Because everybody in the shop, even drilling holes in the crap, because part of it was radius, so we had to drill a million holes to screw it down. You know, and even the dust from the drill bits will make you itch like a son of a bitch.
You got to wear one of those. I mean, I hate to say it, you got to wear like a Tyvek suit or something. I've dealt with it before.
Really?
Yeah, I did demo on a excuse me. I did demo on a Westwood police holding cell. And same deal there, like the whole bank and everything, it was all that ballistic stuff. And I was knocking it out, by the way, and then filled with concrete and everything else. And so, I mean, you could hit the thing. I had a jackhammer on it. It didn't do it. Bounced. It's crazy how strong it is, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, and I tried to, they said you're supposed to use a diamond-encrusted blade, and I started using that, and I started making the dust, and I said, screw that. I started using the regular tools that go into the dust collection system and just wrecking blades like crazy.
Right, burning them up, right?
Yeah,
Even if you run slow or fast.
Does it say, so you're supposed to use a diamond blade with that stuff, I think, right?
To cut it.
A diamond-encrusted blade, not like a regular diamond blade like you use on stone, but one that has all that grit on it.
Right.
That just puts all that dust in there. It's crazy.
Can you follow it like with a vacuum or something, or follow it with some kind of dust collection?
Oh, I don't know. I just ran it through the regular stuff, but I was wondering, could you like maybe use a wet saw on that or something?
Well, that's what I was going to say. It almost reminds me. Maybe have somebody in there with a Hudson sprayer, keeping the dust wet while the other guy's cutting, and then make a
Hudson sprayer.
You know, it's the one that you pump,
hand sprayer,
the hand pump that mists.
Guy.
You know what I mean?
Oh, like a mist, like you use to spray weed.
Exactly. Maybe get one guy holding that thing with water while the other guy's cutting, and then have another guy with a vacuum, and then I would almost do a spray booth around everything that you're cutting to keep it contained, so that everybody in the shop doesn't get it everywhere.
With the fan and vent it outside.
Yeah, that's what I would do.
You could just make a temp one out of one by and cover it with plastic, visqueen, you know, and then throw a fan in there, have a door in there, and then just have that be your cutting station for this stuff. Because if it's all around the shop, I mean, I'd isolate it, and then wear a Tyvek suit and wear a fucking respirator.
Yeah.
You know that shit's
no, it's terrible.
That's what I was thinking about the respirator too. Is that's making my arms, legs, and every other part of the exposed skin itch that much. What the hell is it doing to my lungs?
Exactly.
It ain't doing anything good.
It's not good.
You know that.
Yeah, I would
smoke a cigarette while you're doing it.
I would smoke a cigarette and have a beer helmet while you're cutting.
I wouldn't leave the shop. Just wait till I die. Don't leave the shop. Hold on. You got another 4 hours.
You know, anytime the guys work with the high volume, small particle stuff, it's like you got to have vacuum, you got to have ventilation, you got to have the water at the same time.
I'm just doing
cans of respirator.
I've done so many big buildings with like a grinder just dusting out.
You're not going to die yet, but definitely have.
Am I a hero then?
You call yourself what you will, bro. But I'm saying no.
Take the city council members of that city council people.
Yeah, you tell the city council people that you already took a bullet for them in your lungs by breathing that crap.
You don't even tell them that. You know what you do? You hand them the mesothelioma pamphlet and say, "Be prepared," and you're done. I can hear it in your voice, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, isolate it, get it away from everything, put a respirator on, keep it wet, and vacuum it, make it almost like you're removing asbestos, you know what I mean? And then you'll be safe.
Paul, my buddy, who's a cabinet maker and the furniture maker, he does a lot of spraying. No. I said my buddy.
Oh, okay.
My friend. Anyway, he does a lot of spraying with lacquer and other stuff. It's really, and spray booth all the way. You know, but he made it all out of one by this screen. You know, it puts filters in front of it, filter gets filled up, throw it away. Depending on what color you're painting, you can really see it. You know, do it. Make a cutting booth, please.
Yeah, if I do it again, I don't know when the next one's gonna be, but
maybe you finish the project. Paul, hang it up.
No, I just was wondering for the next time around.
Yeah, make a spray booth.
Cutting station.
Sounds like a good idea.
Hey, Paul, thanks for your call, man.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Be well.
See, this is what I actually despise about the fact that people don't realize the severity of the stuff that you're working with when it comes to this. Like for years, you and I didn't wear.
Yeah, it doesn't just remind you of your own negligence. I mean, I hear that.
But the people have
to, and then I know
the people have to be aware of what the downside of this is, right? And they have to understand that, you know, even in demo or even in drywall sanding, you know, you got to wear a mask, man. It's stupid not to.
It's just mandatory. Yeah. You know, it's crazy. I mean, we last week or 2 weeks ago, I knocked down like a wood floor plank, you know, 8 inches wide.
Yeah.
Nice stuff. You know, to match what was going on with some water damage.
Right.
Anyway, I take everything off. You know, visqueen, whole deal, double tape, so nothing would get anywhere. Yeah. I thought all the registers were blown out, but I guess one of the registers was in.
Whoops.
Yeah. Anyway, it cost me like I had to pay the ladies that cleaned my my customers' homes, I pay them extra.
Yeah.
Extra something.
Give them some for the house.
No. It's just
When that shit blows into the infant's crib.
There's no infant there, thank God. But I think I bought $80 worth of Swiffer stuff.
Man, you know what? Listen, the badge of courage that these young guys who show up to job sites think that it's macho to not wear protection or safety glasses or hearing protection is stupid.
Yeah.
And you always look at them like, shake your head like, okay, like I tell everybody, put a fucking mask on. If you're gonna go up in the attic and move fiberglass insulation around, put a mask on. Most of you know it's problema for me when I'm like, okay, whatever, problema.
You're wearing a mask.
Put the mask on.
And another thing is, like, you watch a guy, go to the table saw and you just watch him, and then you go, all right, you can't use it anymore.
Yeah, I know.
But
You can see the demeanor of how someone approaches a table saw and immediately know you're going to cut your first digit off, right?
Or you got the guy that's like rifling stuff through and then, kicking back on him, and he does the same thing again.
Right, and stands
right
behind the saw, right? Yeah.
And you're going, you just freak out. You go like this.
Yeah.
Check it out.
This is called a push stick.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. People don't understand that's why you have that.
Oh, and they're beautiful.
They're designed.
It's
the best thing.
Why give that up? You have to freestyle with your hand.
That's what I'm going to be for Halloween. I'm going to wear a respirator, have a push stick, and safety glasses and earphones, and then be
just going to get
safety. And I'll be arrested.
Just going to get arrested. Hey, Matt. We have a video?
Yeah, let's do a video question. And people out there, email us.
Hold on. Sure, let me see your shin. What'd you do?
I sliced my shin open when I was demolishing the tile. I just want to make sure. Look at the hair on
I know,
the
I see that.
It's disgusting.
You don't have to wax it anyway. Oh, nice.
Hey, all right, so we got a video question. Please email us, aceonthehouse@adamcarolla.com. Go to aceontheroof.com to see the videos. And this week's video comes to us from Ryan.
Get it on.
Yeah.
Hey guys, so I got this door here that I removed and just put a sheet of plywood over, and I'm wondering what I can do other than like a veneer to cover the space. If you guys have any cool ideas as far as
and it's blocked.
Make it look like it's not a cover up. Just a standard door,
16
opening with some framing behind it. So just want you guys have any cool ideas to cover this thing up, just so I can sell the house. Don't want it to necessarily look like a cover up. Thanks guys, appreciate it.
Well, so why?
Put the door back.
I would put why? That was the first question. Why take that door out unless he made it into a corner to put furniture in or something? But anyway, if he's not going to do that, I would get that same block and cut with the tile saw, cut veneer slices, and then put hardy backer board on that, and then affix the veneer that you've cut with the tile saw. But you got to cut only two sides of that brick.
You can use both sides,
right? So you're going to get.
Then he also has to notch in.
Yeah, you can't just if you just put it like to Ray's point. If you just put it in that patch, you'll see the seam around it. It'll look like a seam of a doorway, and it'll almost be more obvious.
Yeah,
I would almost make it.
But you can even cut out the block. I take a 4-inch.
Interlace it, you mean?
I'd lace it in, yeah, and just cut the block around it wherever you have to. All the halves obviously have to come out because there's going to be holes. And then can I see that picture again? The top. Because I want to see if there's a header.
Anytime you replace.
Oh, he doesn't show the top.
Anytime you replace anything.
So see all the halves though, Eric?
Yeah.
Just cut all the halves and then run them long. And then you might have to cut.
But
you can make
how's he
gonna
cut? You can't just cut out the halves because it's a full block.
Yeah, you can cut out the halves with an angle grinder and then chisel it out.
Oh, that's so much work for that. Really?
No, you could do it in a day. I could.
I could too, but I don't think he could.
Well, that's the best solution to make it look right, like it was never there.
That's the only solution. It's like lacing in hardwood flooring.
Stucco that whole wall.
Oh, there you go.
There's another fix.
That's another idea.
Go back to the other picture, please. I want to see what this is buttoned up against because he has concrete block versus what's the flip side of that? The other structure. What's it made out of?
It looks like
it's
all block.
If it's all,
I don't know why he took the door out. The door looks like, unless he put a cabinet in there or something, maybe that's what he did.
Or he just closed it off so the room's bigger.
Maybe.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or you know what? Maybe that's the garage on the other side. And I don't know.
You got to interlace it, otherwise it's going to look like a patch no matter what you do.
Interlace it or stuck with the whole thing.
Or do a faux door on top of that and just affix the door into that space.
Well then,
so it just looks like a fake door that doesn't do anything.
The door to what is he?
The door to nowhere.
Well,
I mean, wait, what's his name? Eichler?
No.
Escher.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I don't know. The door to nowhere. Yeah, I don't know. Ray's original idea of interlacing is the only thing that'll make it look like it was never there.
Done.
Done and done.
Done. And with that said, so are we. Thank you, Matt. Very much. We appreciate you. Kaylin, likewise, you know that.
Anytime.
Hey, can I get some of those Corolla shirts? Just kidding. Anyway.
Bye, everybody. Follow us at Ace on the Roof, obviously. Check the PayPal, aceontheroof.com. Check the PayPal button. Click our Amazon link. Twitter at Ace on the House. Facebook.com/Ace on the House. Follow us at Ray Oldhofer on the Twitter. Eric Stromer on the Twitter. Rate us 5 stars and email us your video questions. Thank you, everyone. Right, Ray?
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.
Subscribe on iTunes or visit aceontheroof.com. This is Corolla Digital.
Evacuations ordered ahead of Storm Nate. I'm Jackie Quinn with an AP News Minute. All along the Gulf Coast, emergency managers are warning people to get ready for what's expected to become Hurricane Nate this weekend. It's expected to bring a massive storm surge. Parts of New Orleans are under evacuation. Alabama's emergency manager is warning people to prepare.
You'll have surge, flooding, storm, wind events in the south, and down trees, widespread power outages with some tornadic activity.
Las Vegas police say, unlike many other mass killers, Stephen Paddock didn't leave a note to explain his motives. Detectives are now talking to prostitutes in Las Vegas. It's believed that he hired one in the days before the shooting. Security is tight at the Austin City Limits Music Festival in Texas. The chief of police tells KXAN they stepped up their presence.
High ground exists around this event, and so that does play in our planning and in our response capabilities.
I'm Jackie Quinn.
Mail, motherfucker!
Thanks for listening to the Adam Carolla Show on Podcast One.
Support for this podcast comes from Next Games, The Walking Dead: No Man's Land, official mobile game for AMC's The Walking Dead. Download for free in the App Store or Google Play, or go to getnomansland.com/download and start battling walkers now.
As most of you probably already know, on Friday we lost a wonderful comedian, Ralphie May, who was a great friend of the show, and one of the funniest and nicest guys that we ever had the privilege of having here on the Adam Carolla Show. So in remembrance of Ralphie May, here's a free show for you. Going back to March of 2015 at the Irvine Improv, the Adam Carolla Show, featuring the late, great Ralphie May.
Live from Irvine Improv, this is the Adam Carolla Show. And get tonight, Ralphie May.
Detectives are now talking to prostitutes.
Support for this podcast comes from Next Games, creators of The Walking Dead: No Man's Land, official mobile game for AMC's The Walking Dead. Experience the show in a turn-based action strategy game where you can battle hordes of walkers with all your favorite heroes from the show, including Daryl, Rick, and Michonne. Download The Walking Dead: No Man's Land for free in the App Store or Google Play, or go to getnomansland.com/download now and get Negan for free. Available right now.
Here's the case against Scott Peterson. He was cheating on his pregnant wife, a woman in Fresno, when his wife disappeared. He had seen this woman a total of 4 times. He lied to her about having a wife, and he lied to the police about his affair. 4 months later, the body of his wife washed up in a marina near where Scott told police he had gone fishing the day she disappeared. That is the case against Scott Peterson. Period.
Available now on iTunes, Audible, and AppleCloud.com.
On October 13, Chadwick Boseman and Sterling K. Marshall based on a true story.
Reverend Marshall, I only represent people accused because of race.
Before he became the first African-American Supreme Court Justice.
You do what they said you did.
He attacked me.
I'm never touched that woman.
Thurgood Marshall is a man on a mission.
The only way to get to a biggest notice is to break it down.
Chris Brave Marshall is outstanding. 4 stars. Some of the best movies of the year. Marshall rated PG-13. Views October 13. Appropriate for children under 13. This is Reasonable Doubt with Mark Garris and Adam Carolla.
Yeah, get it on. Got to get it on. Get on welcome to the best hour in the universe. Reasonable Doubt. I'm Mark Garris over there.
Good to see you too. In the house, in the studio.
Yeah.
Sonny's in the house. Motherfucker.
Phil, we thought about bringing. Phil does this great move where I get up. I have this gear I don't feel like other people have, which is when I get up before you, I'm absurdly conscious of you being asleep, and so I act accordingly. I feel like other people get up before me and they're like, "I'm gonna make a smoothie and I'm doing it in the bedroom." And you're
I
like,
want to make sure. It's almost like if I'm up, you're going to be up.
it's a weird thing.
But we've talked about this with bands, because it's the same thing with bands. It's like all of a sudden they invite the USC marching band into the house when I'm making an announcement.
I have announced to everyone, I'm going to take a nap. Please keep it down. Got in before my head hits the pillow. I hear, Natalia doing karate ki as she's jumping off the sofa, and then Sonny screaming for Olga. And it's like, I just made the announcement. Could you give me 8 minutes? You know what, Mark? And I kid you not. I kid not any of the Reasonable Doubt listeners. when I build the new house, which I'm working on, I'm working on planning. Yes. There will be a nap room. It has already been worked out. I want a room for napping. There's no.
I'm taking this to the next level.
This notion of I'm going to go into the bedroom and catch a nap is no good because then everyone comes home and then the wife walks into the bedroom and then she's got to use the hairdryer because she's got. You need a dedicated nap room.
I'm going to take you one further. This is white privilege, white guys talking. I have now, I've got on the property that we live on. There's a guest house. It used to be a school.
That one didn't go through.
And so it was redone. We lived there for 20 years. Redone it. When we lived there for 11. It's out now. And I've spent quite a bit of time, effort, and money getting that back into shape. That's not my nap thing. If there's nobody home, and an empty nester, and the kids are 3,000 miles away. I don't know about you, but you come out of the house and there's all the kids just like literally.
I've been working. I've been thinking about it. I gave it some thought. Here's the design criteria for the nap room. Couple things. First thing, a windowless bunker box. Right. It'll be a safe room. Like, you won't be able to get in there with a pickaxe and a roto hammer. So, number one, I want to go to bed, and when I'm going for a nap, deadbolt, I don't care if the entire Antifa nation comes down upon my home. I will be safe in my bunker. That's number one.
Do you have a contiguous wall? Because that, to me, is a problem.
I'm going down. So I'm going into the basement. I'm going in the bunker. It will have no source of light. It will be soundproof. And here's the big one.
What if they can drop weights on the floor of the ceiling above? Because I swear that in my house, that would be somebody would all of a sudden do dumbbells and drop them on the floor.
I will put. I think it'll be a forward foundation and pop up an extra thick slab. So now, here's the breakthrough. Here's the big breakthrough. When I am going to now have the nap, and I will have the nap room, and I will have a timer countdown, and it'll be 1 hour, 20 minutes, 90 minutes, or something like that. I'll have like three choices. Those are my three weapons. Yes, those are my nap choices. When I hit the one, whichever one I hit, 90 minutes, we're going to start counting down from 90 minutes. Right? But when you walk in the front door of the house, you will see a coinciding digital countdown thing.
Kind of like the national debt.
Yes. Or smokers' death. They're trying to do to bum out everyone in New York.
Or Amber Alert signs there.
One day, you know, it'd be a good lawsuit. Somebody standing in between the national debt digital sign as it goes up, and then the sign of smoking-related death as it goes up, and they kill themselves. And you go, you overwhelm this person with negativity.
Well, part of the problem with the whole anti-tobacco campaign is that now we're paying the cost for all these people who didn't self-select out and die early in the 50s and 60s. Tobacco-related stuff.
So they had 30 pack years under their belt, but they quit. Right. But now they're various procedures and medications and hospitalization, but they're not just croaking.
Right, they're not just dropping dead in like 5 minutes getting it. So there's a lot of the law, but
So just to put an end on it. So you walk into my underground. I put it in the basement.
Surprise, motherfucker. Clock up there. That is going to, because I know that I see Sonny, I'm not saying Sonny has the same Machiavellian tastes as
yeah.
That almost
22 minutes to get behind the wheel of the Lambo.
Exactly. They know that if that's their safe time, and that's the reason they'll go up and down the boulevard, whatever car you have.
I gotta tell you, they're both. Now, Sonny has announced that yoga was a little dangerous the other day. Number one, yoga. He also.
You know what we would have said? We would have said, I'm not going to. And I don't mean this in a pejorative way, but this is how I was raised. We would have said, I'm not getting. Yeah, would have been what you said.
Oh, no. Yoga would have been acceptable if you were trying to get to your own chunk and you weren't limber enough. But if it was for health benefits, it would have been gay. That's how it would have worked. So don't ever have this argument with one of your homosexual friends where you go, I don't mean gay like homosexual. I mean gay like stupid or lame. That's so gay. That's so gay. You see, you shouldn't be offended. I'm using gay as a description for being lame or stupid.
Don't you understand? That's an upgrade.
Yeah. Well, don't be offended. I'm not saying gay. I'm saying gay like dumb. It's not a good argument. So Sonny, I threw Sonny and Natalia. Couple things. I'm not worried about them. I threw, as far as the behind the wheel action, I'll tell you why. Sonny does not have the need for speed.
Really?
No, he does. He has like if he was like a Top Gun, he'd have the need for herbal tea. I think would be his thing, and then he'd go take a nap with his dad. Like he does not. I throw them both. So before I did I had this problem because I do these car races, but I don't drive a stick shift all year long. And then I go into these race cars that have a stick shift, and I realized I forgot how to do. I don't forget how to do it, but there's a little rhythm to it.
Right, it's like riding a bike.
Right. So I got a car. This is a low car, but with a stick shift for a couple of days before I did the Toyota Grand Prix Long Beach. And I threw them both in the car. You guys never driven in a car. They can't drive in the race cars. There's no place to put them, and they can't do it anyway. And I said, you guys never driven a car with a stick shift, have you? And they said, no, we haven't. I put them both in this little Scion or something. I put it in first, and I dropped the clutch, and I pegged it, and I chirped it and shifted in a second. They're both screaming bloody murder. Sonny was screaming, you're breaking the law. You're breaking the law. You're gonna be arrested. Natalia was screaming, slow down. Like, just from shifting.
But it's funny. I think I've told this story to you before, maybe at ACS. My father felt it was his fatherly duty. 3 things to teach him. One was that your belt leather had to match your shoe leather. Right. The second was how to tie the ties. I think I told you have to know how to tie a bow tie, not just a regular Windsor hat. But the thing that was crucial to him, because back when we were growing up, you would get your license literally when you were 15 and a half. I mean, you'd be there, and then 16, you'd wait overnight like it was for the Rose Parade at the DMV.
Yeah, you could get your learner's permit at 15 and a half. Yeah. So everybody I knew got their, the whole deal was, starting somewhere around 14 and 3 months, you started that countdown clock to getting a driver's license.
Like it was, and it came in handy. That came in handy for me calculating statutes of limitations later on in life. I knew to the day how to calculate if the day fell on a weekend, that it was 180, that we roll over to the following Monday. I knew all of this stuff. But one of the things my father insisted on is back then he would rent a VW when we were 15, each of me and my brothers, that had a stick shift back then. And he would take us down to the Rose Bowl parking lot. And he would have us just, because he didn't want to do it on his car, right? He'd have us just trash the rent-a-car by learning how to drive the stick, because he felt if he couldn't drive the stick, there was something wrong with him.
I turned 16 at the end of May. So the school year ends, at the time, I think it ended like June 12th or something, like somewhere in there, whatever that Monday, whatever that Thursday, Friday was in June. So I had timed it perfectly that I would take driver's ed in the second semester of the 10th grade, and then I would complete driver's ed, and then as I was, a few weeks after I turned 16 and blah, 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 but I failed driver's ed. Mr. Gregory failed me in driver's ed. So on my 16th birthday, I had no driver's ed certificate, and I just took whatever I cobbled. I used to take all the money for my birthday. My dad would give me $20, my mom would give me $20, my stepdad would give me $10, my grandparents would give me $10. I just passed the guitar case around. I collected it all, and I took one of those 3-day crash courses. Now, I'd already taken driver's ed. I just failed it.
What was the name of that place? There was a place in the valley.
It was right across the street from the Van Nuys DMV, in a little strip mall, and it was literally like, we can take a full semester of driver's ed and condense it down into 3 10-hour days of you sitting there with losers.
Did they have those cars with the signs on them?
This was driver's ed. Driver's training was another.
So the driver's ed is when you got in there to show you red asphalt and do all that stuff?
Yeah, driver's ed was sitting in the classroom, and then driver's training. So I took a 3-day crash course for driver's ed, and then the driver's training thing was like a 2-day course. And I remember very well, like I went deep. Like you could open the phone book and you could go to Sears, and it'd be like $89, or you could find, Avon or Acme or something for like $60. Right. I just went cheap. I got this.
Did you have it at school? Because we had it at school, and once again, it just reminds me, we used to talk about how the PE teacher would also double as the shop teacher. But Mr. Barnhart, in our case, was the science teacher teaching driver's ed, which made little or no sense to me.
We had driver's ed and driver's training at our school, but because I was a fuck-up,
surprise,
times 2,
motherfucker.
what you're supposed to do when your birthday is at the end of the school year in the 10th grade, you're supposed to take driver's ed semester 1, in the classroom.
So that you have the knowledge.
Right. Then semester 2, you take driver's training, so and right as you're turning 16, you're leaving the school year is ending, and now you can just go down and get your driver's license. I did not take driver's ed the first semester. I instead chose to fail biology, Mr. Gilberti's class. I took driver's ed in the second semester and then failed that. And when I failed that, I was totally screwed. Now,
motherfucker.
Yeah, so I was screwed. So I had to go take them both on my own. I remember the driver's training was let's just make him an Armo, make him an Armenian guy. This guy just picked me up in his car, and he was just like, drive around, just run. We're just driving around. And at a certain point, I remember very well, we pulled in, we're just driving through Hollywood, and something's like, turn here. It'd be like a guy sort of half paying attention. Then go straight through us. We end up in a parking lot. 7-Eleven in Hollywood. Pulls into the 7-Eleven in Hollywood. He's like, practice pulling it. Like, turn in here. Pull in. Oh, wait here. Guy goes in. Comes out, I remember very clearly, comes out with a Hustler magazine.
Oh, even worse.
In 3D. In 3D. I remember it's like back when it was like a kind of a, whoa, it was like, 1980. And he pulls out the glasses, he's looking at this Hustler, and he's like, go ahead. And he's like showing it to me, though, too. Okay, not bad. Let me borrow your glasses. I know it had to be, it's like you cannot remember things that any other way, because I remember the 3D glasses, and I remember the 7-Eleven. And we drove around a little more, and eventually, like, after 2 days, he's like, all right, you're good. Speaking of Armenian guys,
yes.
I bought another warehouse. Where? In between this warehouse and the other warehouse. And I realized...
I know that. I would have gone in on it with you, because I got that underground... You remember the project I did with the underground garage?
Yeah.
Surprise, motherfucker. Down there. And so I've been sucking your electricity here in this
trickle charger, yeah.
Trickle charger.
Well, if you want, it's not huge, but if you want to carve out some parking spaces, I think we could probably work something out.
I think I will cut a deal. So I'm going to have to refer you to independent counsel under the state bar rules to have them examine the agreement.
I realize there's a couple things in life I've realized for all who are listening. See if you can live fairly close to where you work, and then when you work, it's a weird thing. I had a warehouse that was down by the Burbank Airport, which is not far from where we are. Right. But you still have to get in your car, you still have to get on the 5 freeway, and it's still 12-15 minutes to get there. I almost never went there. I was here, I just wouldn't go there. Right. My other warehouse, I walked back and forth 3 times, 4 times a day, just back and forth. And I realized getting a third warehouse, if it's 6 miles away, I'm not going there. It has to be right on the route, and it is. But the guy who's in there is an Armenian guy. Hold your, hang on to your molars. He does jewelry. And he does
manufacturing?
He's manufacturing. And you guys, you tell me if this is an Armenian move or not. So at some point, he's on a month-to-month. He doesn't own the place.
He hold over, you close?
Yeah, he's hold over. Okay. He doesn't want to go anywhere. I haven't decided his fate yet, but the point is he's not really that excited about this building being sold.
Yeah,
it's not his building, and he's got a month-to-month.
Probably, right, and God only knows what he was really paying and whether he was paying it in cash and not.
So I have no idea what the arrangement is. This thing's a couple days old. So I have no idea what it's other than making jewelry. I have no idea what it is and how it works. But I don't know anything other than he's month to month. So I'm always interested in the people. I have this bizarre thing, which is when people lie or try to lie and then just sort of move on. Like you say to people, like I've had this happen a million times where you go, hey, you never paid me back that $1,000, and I go, I thought I paid you back. I'm pretty sure I paid you back. You go, no, you didn't. Like, all right, let me get my checkbook. It's like, well, wait, if you thought, surprise, if you say to me that you didn't pay me my $1,000, and I said, wait a minute, I thought I paid you that, we're gonna have to discuss this. I'm not just walking for my checkbook as I'm saying, I'm not surrendering. Like they go, like I thought they're walking to get their checkbook as they're saying, I'm pretty sure I paid you that. Like, okay, are you pretty sure? And if so, why? So I think you're lying. So this guy,
which is, by the way, one of the reasons why you need one of our sponsors. LegalZoom.
Oh yeah.
Because,
oh yeah.
right? So
Surprise,
especially when you
motherfucker.
run a business, don't waste your time on your use LegalZoom. I do. Over 2 million people would use LegalZoom to start their business. But their services don't in there. Like if I had borrowed $1,000, I would have had a problem. LegalZoom. Running a business doesn't tax you. Surprise, motherfucker. A lot of great folks. LegalZoom can provide the advice you need to get through the daily call. And best of all, it's not a law. They work with independent attorneys, licensed in all 50 states. Also, I'll bet you if they're licensed in all 50 states, they're located. Who are focused on helping you and not logging the billable hour. And in addition to which, one of the things that they do that I think is probably most spectacular is forming the business. If you want, especially now that there's all the talk about taxes, I think it's a really smart business. And there's no way. Right, Gary?
Invest your time and money in growing your business. Let LegalZoom help out with legal stuff. Special savings, be sure to enter promo code DOUBT in the referral box at checkout. That's promo code DOUBT for special savings at LegalZoom.com.
Okay, so Armo Jeweler.
Armo Jeweler. So me and it's a great name. I work with Armo Jeweler.
Armo Jeweler.
Yeah. So we go. We gotta go look at the place. We can look at it. And he's like, yeah, well, there's a guy in there now, but we've scheduled it, whatever. And so we scheduled to come over at 3 o'clock and take a look around. And the guy, we knocked on the door at 3 o'clock, and the guy does the move where he opens the door, but he steps out, like shuts the door, and he's like, what is? And I said, well, we're here. We made an appointment. No. And they're like, we gotta look at the place. No, I have business security. And I was like, all right, what do you think I'm gonna do?
I'm gonna rob your gold bars. I was like, what's really going on? I hate to say it. A suspicious mind of mine is he's pouring the acid down the sewer pipe.
I said, but it's what? Now here's the try to lie part. So the realtor said, look, we had an appointment, 3 p.m. to come look at the shop. And he goes, no, 4 p.m. And the realtor goes, no, it's 3 p.m. That was the agreement. And he said, no, I was told that it was 4 o'clock. And he goes, look, now you have your phone. Look, let me show you the email. And he said, all right, come in. I'm married to the 4 o'clock work. I just like when people try lying and then they go, all right, screw it.
I got a back room.
So then we went in and he's like,
it's the same size as this place?
It's about 3,000 square feet. This is about 5,000 square feet. And then we come in and he's like, yeah, but no, you can't go back there. That's where they make the jewelry. Like, okay, this is all part of the most elaborate heist in the world. But I'm always interested in when people attempt to lie and then abandon their lie and then just move right on. And there's never any. I'm also fascinated with the person that just wants you to go away.
Yeah,
like
this place, and I'm just gonna let you stay.
Every single time I used to go visit Jimmy on the lot when he was like doing Win Benstein's money and they're filming on KTLA's lot or whatever. I would just pull up and go, I'm here to see Jimmy Kimmel. We're gonna have lunch. I'm supposed to be here at noon. And they look at a clipboard for 8 seconds and go, no. I'm never gonna go. Well, I tried. I'm just gonna go punch some other lot now or some other random celebrity. Like, you understand? I'm getting on. Like, I know your plan is just go away. It's weird. So you're gonna have to pick up the phone and call somebody, but it's a weird thing when everyone's first impulse is just go away.
Have you talked to Jimmy about the Affordable Care Act?
I'll tell you in 1 second. First, Sonny's asking a very crucial question, which is he wants to know if he can go to the other shop. He wants to watch football. Yeah, only if you run like Forrest Gump. That's how he runs. Kind of crazy, man. No, I have no idea. I'll tell you, I have a million opinions on everything, not on healthcare, other than if I can give you my general creed, which is I want people to have skin in the game. I have 2 or 3. I have 2 thoughts, which is whenever somebody says healthcare is a right, it's not a privilege, it's a right. I always go, nothing is a right. There is nothing. Nothing's a right. I'm not signing off on everything. Like certain things are right. No, freedom of speech is a right. Healthcare is something that you get in our society, and you can get it at the lowest level if you want to drag your ass in the county USC and wait in line, as I've done. When I was poor, I didn't have insurance. I literally, there were two modalities. There were 3 modalities. There was county USC. There was free clinics, and there were a fair bit of free clinics sprinkled around.
There seemed to be a lot more free clinics when we were growing up.
It was a kind of
we had a lot more STDs, or I don't know. But it just seemed like there was a lot of free clinics when we were growing up.
It was also free clinic was sort of in vogue. Like people like to say the clinic or free clinic. The free clinic was kind of cool. People volunteer at the free clinic. There was free clinic, free clinic. There was county USC, and then there was Ride It Out. I mean, I had a lot of stuff when I was 28 where I just go, I'm just going to ride this out, like whatever.
We had we were on the county's healthcare plan because the old man was employed by the county of Los Angeles as a DA. We used to go to something called Ross Luce, which was, I think Cigna ate up at some point years later, but that was kind of a hellhole in Glendale, and you go in there and it was like it looked like just an upgrade from a free clinic.
So my feeling is, I'm not signed off on, when people make announcements that everybody is entitled to world-class healthcare, I'm like, that's like saying everyone's entitled to world-class education, which is nice, but I don't think it's going to work, according to our system.
One of the things that I never understood during this argument, because when the Supreme Court and the conservatives got their pins in a bunch because Chief Roberts was the vote that made it 5-4 that did not invalidate it years ago. And there was always is this a tax or is this that discussion? What always bothers me is I sit in courtrooms, or I have sat in courtrooms, where I watch people get fined for not having auto insurance. And then if you get fined for not, and then it becomes a criminal offense. It's a 14601, driving on a suspended license, and the predicate act is you didn't have the insurance when you got the ticket, blah, blah, blah. And so I wonder why the healthcare industry has not done what the auto insurance industry did, which is they made it so that you would get penalized if you didn't. You basically couldn't drive. So,
well, so overall, first things first, this notion that, healthcare, hospitals, or whatever, it shouldn't be for profit. Everything's for profit. That's why they're out trying to invent new drugs. That's why they're out doing it. That's why they're building new houses. Like, I want it to be for profit. Right. You get rid of the profit, you get rid of the motivation. That's fine. I want it to be for profit. I want people to have some skin in the game. I feel like if things are just free and you can just go down and do whatever, and even if it's a very small deductible or whatever it is, you have to be part. As far as your healthcare goes, you need to feel like you are involved with it and have some skin in the game. Meaning, if you gave everybody a car and you just went, hey, here's your government car, just drive it around for 5 years, turn it in, we'll give you a new one in 5 years. Now, please put air in the tires, please check the oil, please take it in for regular service intervals, but we have no way to enforce that or know that, but go ahead and drive the car for 5 years. What would those cars look like when they were turned in? The only thing that kind of keeps people on the straight and narrow is you lease a car for 3 years, you turn it in, and the quarter panel's caved in,
and they give you a bill.
There's going to be problems there, or you exceed the mileage, or you never took care of the maintenance on it, or whatever. You're in. I want people in. And people say, yeah, but some people can't afford to lease a brand new car. Okay, I get that. Whatever your ability to be involved in this, I need you in. So it could be $100 a month, it could be $500 a month, whatever, wherever you are, I just need you invested. Other than that, I don't have strong feelings about how much the government does or doesn't do. I just need everybody with some skin in the game.
I'll take your idea that the next level of build out auto insurance. You've got to have an affordable amount of insurance. So what do we call the California, I think the minimum liability is like 15, 30, 4,000. So you've got to be able to buy kind of private class purchase. So you have to buy kind of at prices to get in accident. Now, why don't we just do the auto insurance? If you go in there, you don't have insurance, you get treated. But at the same time, then you'll send you over to the courthouse just like auto insurance. Then you get your driver's license suspended, or your income tax refund gets intercepted. You might get child support when they torture you, you don't make your child support, something like that. Why not just do it that way? That's the government.
I like it, but there's a few subjects that turn into everybody where they go, now you're playing God. And healthcare is one of those, now you're playing God. The government's playing God. It's deciding who lives and who dies. Like, it's just, cars are made of steel, they're inanimate. People, a lot of folks don't even, the same folks that are going to tear you a new asshole for playing God don't even really like cars. I don't know if they're not car people.
The interesting thing is the argument for a driver's license is a privilege, not a right, is that you've got to use the roads, that's infrastructure, that costs money, you've got to regulate it, public safety, blah, 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 you go down the line. So, at the same time, if you've got a trauma care center, I think if you see here, I'll maybe that the CPD goes, I don't know. But that gets, then there's federal subsidies that are involved there. So, I'm just wondering why instead of, it's almost like the back end, instead of monkeying around with healthcare and exchanges and everything else, why not put some kind of an incentive or disincentive, actually? And I'm not a guy who actually argues much for criminalization or expanded criminalization. I think we're usually the opposite. But we've got this whole rubric and scheme for auto insurance, which to me is not as big a deal as medical insurance. It needs to be talked to people. I think, right? What do you think?
Well, here's what I would be down with. Enemy is hit. Which will never happen. I would like to put together an A team of different skill sets. I'd throw you in there. I'd throw you for a clear thinker. And then I'd put,
should we put Drew?
No, he doesn't, aerial data doesn't track a lot of times. But I'd throw like C. Everett Koop's son or something, I don't know. I'd throw a couple of medical folks in there. I'd throw a couple of attorneys in there. I'd throw him in there. But I'd balance him out with like his Indian foe, Dinesh D'Souza.
Yeah,
and
I like that.
And I'd get this blue ribbon panel together of like good thinkers, statesmen, attorneys, a couple of doctors. I'd put them all together. And I'd say, listen, we're going to remove the human element. This part where it's like you are tampering with a woman's body and not giving her. These are death panels. And we're going to remove all the rhetoric, all the political rhetoric, and the human beings. As a matter of fact, forget about humans. Let's just pretend it's another form of automotive insurance.
Right.
That's
kind of why I think you're onto something here. Because I'm telling you, that's a way to kind of look at this.
You guys devise a system that works for flying cars, not for humans, not for hospitals. Just something in a refrigerator, something inanimate. You decide what would work the best. Would be the best model, the fairest model. Poor people, rich people, in between, employers, employees. We will come up with that model. Again, remove the stories from your head where this woman had diabetes but didn't have enough money, so she had to have her leg removed and then pushed around on a skid row. No, none of those stories can be. No death panels, no anything. No, and you're not allowed to talk about what's in Canada. In Canada. But hold on. But wait a minute. You can't talk about other countries. You can only solve this problem, and we will remove the human element. We're not talking about human beings.
That's interesting. We could even fashion this on a jury deliberation. You could have 12 jurors. You could then stick them in a room, and they have to deliberate. And they only get paid $15 a day. So basically, they stay there forever. Right. Can you imagine paying jurors $1,000 a day? You never get a pay. So they stick them in a room, and they get jury instructions. One of the instructions from Judge Corolla would be, you can't mention Canada. If you mention Canada, buzz the bailiff and tell the bailiff what's going Surprise, motherfucker. You can't have a discussion that mentions death panel and have a whole laundry list of pre-existing conditions, blah, 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 everything that always blows everything up. Right. And then they have to fashion something or check the boxes.
Yeah, and you can't tell me stories where you had a coworker, he had a daughter with Down syndrome. They covered her with honey and had her attacked by crows because his insurance company wouldn't cover.
You know that is a variation on the theme that we have in the office when, we do some plaintiff's work. And so a client will say, I'll tell some client, okay, I've got an offer for $1,200,000. Well, my brother's gardener's first cousin said that. Right. What? Wait, what are we talking about here? Did you consult with them? Did you break privilege? But it's always, there's some apocryphal story that's used to somehow inform your situation, which, by the way, is untethered by any facts or insight or anything else.
Well, there should be, first things first. You shouldn't be able to tell any second or third person stories. If you have a daughter with Down syndrome, you took her in for a basic medical exam and covered her with honey and chained her to an anthill, then that will be your story. But you can't tell me a story about somebody you used to work with or somebody you knew, a neighbor had a son who wasn't right. That's insane. But in this fantasy we're talking about, we'll put all the jurors in my nap room that cannot leave $15 a day. No discussion of stories, no people you knew, no personal stories, no talk of Canada.
This could be a new whole policy pronouncement. This is how we solve issues. First of all, we pick a jury. I get to use my peremptory challenges. You get to use your peremptory challenges. We each get them. So the peremptory challenge would be, if you say, like I say, I'm going to put in Dr. Drew. Go, Your Honor, I'd like to thank and excuse Dr. Drew. He's not going into the room. Then you say, I don't know, you pick somebody, you say Dennis Prager. I say, Your Honor, I'd like to thank and excuse Dennis Prager. Boom. And we each get 10 peremptory challenges. We get to pick them, and then we put them in the room, and they have to come up and let's take them down to, again, $5.
I would like every problem to be solved this way, but it's the best way to solve problems. But the problem with this modality is, if you bring humans, the homeless problem, insurance, families, free lunches for underprivileged kids or school choice, as soon as you bring a human being into this situation, then it always gets mucked up because somebody explains, they cite an example, or they go, well, what about that? So we will only use refrigerators and refrigerator maintenance, repair, longevity. We'll use refrigerators, and you will not allow to say kids or the elderly. Or special needs, or pre-existing conditions.
We may be onto something here because people always say, what's the best justice system in the world? Everybody always says America's the best justice system in the world. It's based on the jury deliberation. So we have jury deliberations. Here you go. So why don't we just apply this to policy?
We're not going to be able to mention the color of the refrigerator.
No. What color do you
That'll be avocado. When you think of avocado. I'm just going avocado because no race resembles avocado unless I drink too much.
And see, I admit to having pre-existing biases. When you say refrigerator, yes, I thought white.
See, that's why I can't go with that. Yeah. And we're not going with White Westinghouse either because for obvious reasons we're going Whirlpool. There's no sexual or racial connotations, and we're going with an avocado-colored Whirlpool refrigerator.
Yeah, because I like that. I think that's fun.
All right, let me ask you one more before we bring it home. So there's a bunch of stories going on out there.
Okay, surprise, motherfucker. Gary, can you give us the background on this? Because this story perplexes me more than everybody wants to talk about North Korea. They want to talk about Russian collusion. They want to talk about NFL kneeling down. They want to talk. There's all these topical stories. This is the story that I did not get enough attention. Gary?
Yeah, it's hard to understand. It's a little confusing. There seems to be a lot missing. Both points basically are that homeless gentleman walked into a Georgetown bank with a trash bag, 185 grams of cash.
Yeah.
And the teller when he came back, the teller took money and incited him to a few accounts that he had made up in his business. And over the course of the next 9 to 12 months, I think, he went through all 185 grand in cash. Part of it in Maryland or something, right ID, and there seems to be a lot missing.
I want to talk about a bunch of stories going on out there.
Okay, but there's one story I really want to get. Gary, can you give us the background on this? Because this story perplexes me more than, everybody wants to talk about North Korea. They want to talk about Russian collusion. They want to talk about NFL kneeling down. They want to talk, there's all these topical stories. This is the story that I did not get enough attention. Gary?
Yeah, I read it a few times here. So,
because it's hard to understand, isn't it?
Surprise, motherfucker. Seems to be a lot missing. The both points basically are that a homeless gentleman walked into a Georgetown bank with a trash bag, cash.
Yeah.
And the teller sent him away saying he didn't have the right ID, and told him where to go get ID. And when he came back, the teller took the money and then cited it into a few accounts that he had made up that were fictitious. And over the course of the next 9 to 12 months, I think.
Surprise, motherfucker.
Part of it in Maryland or something.
Who withdrew the cash?
The teller
stole the money.
And so the teller gets prosecuted. Teller is facing, federal guidelines, probably. But the guidelines, I think, for him are kind of a level, whatever it is, 18 or 19, so probably would get somewhere at low end of a 19, which is 30 months. But Gary and I were talking about this before. First of all, and it could just be a brain-dead reporter that was writing, probably the benefit of the doubt, the defense lawyer in this case, but who walks in with a $185,000 that claims to be homeless and it's in a garbage bag? First of all, there are reporting requirements when you have that much cash, anything over $10,000, number one.
Well, who's got to report it, though?
The bank teller.
But the bank teller's on the grip, right?
Well, the bank teller just sends the person away. Number one. Then the bank teller's making phony accounts, and that's part of what he gets prosecuted for. And I'm thinking to myself, well, this is great. Wells Fargo had, I don't know what, every time you peel the onion, it's another 10,000 phony accounts that from the top down they were encouraging these guys to open. But apparently, if Gary and I both read this right, this homeless guy with his 185 in cash, 185,000 in cash, already had in the bank, in his bank account, which leads me to believe that he's not paying taxes.
Slow your roll, buddy. You understand, we're recording this, and that person could have a smartphone, and just because you're an attorney doesn't mean you can't be sued.
And I'm wondering, that's an awful lot of panhandling and collecting aluminum cans.
Well, I have some special insight to this.
This is a story that needs the Corolla decisive analysis.
Speaking of the new warehouse, there's a fella who lives in his van pretty much across the street. I talked to some of the other guys at the other shop, and there's a fella that basically comes by, collects all the aluminum.
Does he have a white truck?
He has a white truck. He has a...
Is he African American?
No.
Okay.
Not this fella.
Hispanic?
I don't know. I'd like to think he's something other than white. But either way, I think he's just a white guy. Okay. And because I've seen him a few times. He's fine.
I'm encouraged by that.
He shows up. He goes through the trash can, sort of respectfully, like he sort of shows up and goes, I'm here. And the guys like let him in, and he collects all the metal and all the rigid conduit and stuff we're throwing away, beer cans, whatever. He gets it all. He goes up the street, away from the kebab house, and he
owned by
Armos. Okay. Yeah. I spoke to a woman at that thing there about you, by the way.
Really?
Yeah. An older woman.
And?
I'll tell you off the air. Not good. Not
her name Anahit?
I don't know. She's a 6-year-old Armenian woman, and she recognized me. And I said, oh. And I don't know why she recognized me. And she said she did. And so I'm trying to scrambling for the 2 Armenian guys I know. There's Sean at the other shop. She's not going to know Sean. So I told her,
I'm not happy at all.
She had to pronounce it. She had a proclamation to make. I'll save it for off the air. Okay. But so here's something.
He stoned you with hummus.
He goes across the street. He hammers he turns in all the aluminum. He gets his cash.
Wait, you use the hammer the same way I do?
Yeah, he puts it all down. He gets his cash. Now, then he goes back and sleeps in his van. He moves his van around a little bit, and he's on it, making his rounds. And I think one of the other guys at the other shop at some point said to him, like, they got friendly or something. I think this guy pulled out a bankroll with about 30 grand in it, which is what you can do if you pay 0 in taxes, you pay 0 in rent, you have you have literally no nut. You have no nut, and you just spend months and years and decades just out scrambling and scrambling.
So this is a version of what my father used to say is before I came into practice with him, 95 cents of every dollar went into his pocket. So that's basically it.
And this guy made 98 cents. And as far as our society goes, Gavin Newsom sat where you were sitting, and he was like, I want to shut down these predatory check cashing places. I think these places are open because these guys would rather pay 12% or whatever it is, 15%, 10%, whatever, when they hammered their check, than pay 40% in taxes.
Right. So that's exactly why they do it. I had a case 15 years ago I tried where that's exactly what they were doing.
So Gavin Newsom sat where you were sitting. He's maybe the next governor of California. And
do you think he wins?
I hope not, but it's between him and Viratardo, so that's going to be a problem.
So now they say Garcetti, if you can believe this. No, not governor. Get this. There was an article in the LA Times yesterday. I swear I thought of you when I saw this. And he's apparently testing the waters by absenting himself. He's having like press conferences at LAX as he's leaving the city because he wants to set out to see how upset people get when he's absent from the city of LA. Because the end game is he's considering a run for president in 2020.
Oh boy. Well, look out, homeless problem nationally. He set his sights on the homeless problem in LA, and all it did was grow tenfold. Exactly. So I can only imagine how it's going to grow on a national level. When he focuses on a problem,
he knows how to exponentially exacerbate it.
Yeah, like when he's doing a press conference, he's like, I'm going to roll up my sleeves. And don't do it. Whatever you're focusing on, don't do it. It gets worse.
I was thinking this could be very good for LA though. If he starts campaigning for president and testing leaving LA, that could be the linchpin of us solving the homeless problem.
Yes, that's a good point. Right. So the check cashing places. Okay, so Gavin Newsom is coming down on not the guys that are selling the ghetto dogs out front of the Staples Center and then keeping all the cash or sending it back to Mexico or working under the table and going to the check cashing place. He's coming down on the check cashing places who pay taxes.
Well, they not only pay taxes, they're financially regulated. I mean, they're financial institutions that have certain, they've got reporting requirements. They've got to do this. They're in the system.
Yeah, he told me 50% of black and brown people don't have access to checking accounts.
Yeah, I know.
Here's the point. What percentage of people who use the check cashing places are using it because they don't have access to checking accounts versus I would like to not have the government find out about this money?
That was, I know firsthand, as I said, because I tried a case 15 years ago, and that's all the prosecutors argued, is these check cashing places were just a way to avoid taxes.
Well, seeing how a homeless guy can have a checking account at Wells Fargo, wherever this was, I'd say unless a brown guy walks in and a siren starts going off, they remove him from the premises.
It tends to be the same argument.
How long, by the way, as a bank, how long could you stay up and running if the policy was no brown or black people ever can start an account here, not a checking account?
And trust me, banks care more about money than the color green than any other color.
That's number one. So where do you think this case is going?
I'm going to see if I can find a defense lawyer before the next reasonable doubt, Gary. That's going to be our mission. I want this defense lawyer to call in. I want him to give us the true facts of this case.
All right, we'll put that on hold for now. I'll tell you guys about Tommy John.
Oh, fantastic.
Awkward underwear adjustments. Oh man, they've been plaguing guys for decades, but one company is putting an end to this adjustment epidemic once and for all. It's Tommy John, 21st century men's underwear, crafted from ultralight breathable fabric. It moves with you. Never any riding up. I'll tell you, the stuff is the best. You will never.
It's also got that same fabric that you get on. They've got them in the t-shirts. I love the t-shirts. It's the same thing.
Crew necks, they stay tucked in. The socks stay up. Everything stays where it's supposed to be, including your junk.
They figured it out.
Plus, super soft undershirts. Yep, never come untucked. Always good if you're wearing a suit like Durgus over there. Yep. So it's the stay up technology. The socks never come down. The shirts don't come up. The socks don't go down.
If they figure that out, the stay up technology for other stuff, they're gonna
move over, Viagra.
Yeah, exactly.
All backed by the best pair you'll ever wear, or it's free guarantee. guarantee. You got nothing to lose. It's Tommy John. Gary.
Hurry to TommyJohn.com and use code Adam. Get 20% off your first order. That's TommyJohn.com, code Adam for 20% off. TommyJohn.com, code Adam.
All right, Friday, Minneapolis Music Hall, and then a week from today. Okay, well, I'll just call it Saturday, the next Saturday. Friday's the Music Hall, Saturday is Nashville, so Minneapolis and Nashville, Polk Theater. One-man show coming to town, so say hi. And then we're doing live podcasts. Bakersfield's coming up on October 26th, and then on Sunday, November 12th, Oxnard, Levity Live. Come say hi. Go to Corolla Drink, say hi to Lynette. Go to mcorolla.com, find out about the swag and the buck slips. Mark?
Casa Tropicana in San Clemente, V Palm Springs Engine Company 28 downtown, 10E, Tapas, Mediterranean Tapas downtown, and Prova Pizza in the Grand Central Station in New York.
So, until next time, Adam Kroll for Mark Garrigus saying, mahalo.
Thanks for listening to Reasonable Doubt. Tune in next Saturday for an all-new episode. This is Corolla Digital.
20,000 unsolved murder cases in America. Each one is called a cold case.
Sometimes you have to look really closely to find the evidence.
Damn it, I killed her. Cold Case Files, the podcast.
Corsair is emergency man. They stepped up their presence.
High ground exists around this event, and so that does play in our planning and in our response capabilities.
I'm Jackie Quinn.
This podcast is supported by Progressive. On average, customers who switch to Progressive save $620 a year on car insurance. Start a quote online and start saving today at progressive.com. Hello and welcome to The Upgrade, a podcast from the team at lifehacker.com, where we help you improve your life 1 week at a time. I'm Melissa Kirsch, editor-in-chief of Lifehacker.
And I'm Andy Orton, editor of Lifehacker.
And today we're talking to the biohacking bulletproof exec himself, Dave Asprey. Dave is probably best known as the guy who wants you to put butter in your coffee.
He's a Silicon Valley tech entrepreneur and investor who, according to his official bio, has spent 2 decades and hundreds of thousands of dollars to hack his own biology.
He describes how he did it in his New York Times bestselling book, The Bulletproof Diet. His new book, Headstrong, The Bulletproof Plan to Activate Untapped Brain Energy to Work Smarter and Think Faster in just 2 weeks, came out last week. Hi, Dave.
I'm so happy to be here. I love Lifehacker.
I'm so happy to have you here. Thank you. Okay, so let's get this out of the way. Butter and coconut oil in the coffee. What gives? Tell us everything.
Butter in coffee does one thing, and coconut oil doesn't have very much strength, but when you do the full bulletproof coffee recipe, it's lab-tested coffee, grass-fed butter, regular butter unfortunately doesn't work, and then brain octane oil, which is about 5% of what's in coconut oil, so the evergreen oil. And that stuff really ramps up energy in the brain by giving you a form of fat that turns directly into energy without being stored away. And it's carefully designed because I'm a cloud computing, artificial intelligence kind of guy by training in Silicon Valley. This is about the system of coffee. I learned about the effect of this in Tibet. I was at 18,000 feet, 10 degrees below zero. I wanted to go to learn meditation from the masters. I'm in Mount Kailash, headwaters for the Indus and Ganges River. And I feel like I'm going to die because that's sort of what's happening at 18,000 feet. And a little Tibetan lady in a guest house gave me a bowl of yak butter tea, which is what it sounds like, tea and yak butter. But these Tibetans who live with a yak, like that's their transportation, they blend their butter. They have car batteries and blenders. Why would you do that if you were a nomad? And I drank it and I felt really strangely good, like better than I had in a long time. And I went back to the US and I started tinkering and playing and using different ingredients to try and come up with something that would even beat that. And eventually, given the shortage of yak butter, it turns out with milk coffee, it inactivates the antioxidants in coffee called polyphenols. And in the new book, Headstrong, I really write about what polyphenols do for the mitochondria in your cells. Mitochondria are these ancient bacteria. Billion years ago, we like to say that we incorporated them in our cells as our batteries or our power packs. The real story, though, is about 2 billion years ago. These little bastards were like, oh, look, cells, let's move right in, let's take over. And to this very day, those quadrillion ancient bacteria in your cells, they decide whether a cell lives or dies, whether a neuron fires. They decide
really all sorts of things about what happens to you every day. In fact, there's more of those in our cells in our body, and more of them in our bacteria in your gut. And it's almost largely ignored. This is a sentient network of bacteria that are still part of our body.
I do remember in grade school that, like, mitochondria are like the engine of the cell,
Yeah, the
right?
energy centers is what I remember.
That's all I really recall.
Yeah, and that's what most of us remember. They're like little oval-shaped things. It turns out they were bacteria, and bacteria have an operating system involved. There's really only 4 things you have to do if you're anything. And those 4 things are, number 1, run away from, kill, or hide from scary things. Eat everything, and have sex with everything. If you do that, you'll have a thriving species. So that's all bacteria really ever do. And there's a number 4 if you have an energy, and that is build a community. This is why we have biofilms, and we have like complex things like genes that are a community of bacteria and other things. Well, I would just say, is there anything you've ever done that you're ashamed of that wasn't one of those mitochondrial behaviors?
So basically, like self-preservation.
Yeah, I definitely could say that anything I'm ashamed of falls into those categories.
Yeah.
I would think. I mean, I certainly am not ashamed of having had to build communities, or should I be?
No, those are actually that's a positive thing that happens, but these are all 4 drives that are part of who we are. And it's funny that these 10% of your body weight, this huge number of things, they're sensing the environment around you all the time, and they're making decisions only about those 4 things.
Right.
And the point in Headstrong is that your brain has the most energy in your body. You work better, or do less stress, and you control the environment so they'll chill out. You have all of this energy in your brain that's just getting wasted. If this was my experience losing 100 pounds and hacking my brain at the very heaviest levels you can hack your brain, I came to the conclusion in this book that every single thing I've ever done that worked was based on mitochondrial activation and efficiency or changing my environment around it. So you hack the environment, hack yourself.
You started with the bulletproof diet. That's obviously not the beginning of your life, but that's when most people became aware of you. What does it mean to be bulletproof, and how did the bulletproof diet kind of bring us up to working with the mitochondria and all these realizations about how you could hack your brain?
So the bulletproof diet was a diet that I designed. I thought it was relatively easy to lose half of my weight. I wanted to lose 50 of my pounds to get there. And the easiest way was to do a high-fat, low-carb, Atkins style thing, paleo, any of those things. The other half, though, would never go. I worked out an hour and a half a day, 6 days a week. And I cut my calories, I cut my fat, and I could not lose weight. I just felt like such a failure. And one day I just realized, wait, it's not a willpower thing, it's not a moral failing, the technique is wrong. So I lost faith in the medical profession, and I said, I'm going to just test things. I'm going to take control. I'm a computer hacker by training. I build complex systems. Surely I can manage this complex system. And I looked at results, and I realized, wow, when I eat more fat, not less, I'm satisfied. But some fats make me inflamed, some don't. And it became this complex event correlation thing, where what causes what? And there's 10 different variables that I know of, and 10,000 I don't know of, and just paying really careful attention over time, and then measuring results. So the bulletproof diet ended up with this idea that said you need to be in ketosis some of the time, or at least eat a substantial amount of fat so that you can get energy from the fat.
Tell us, what is ketosis?
Ketosis is a state that our bodies aren't built to be able to do. We're highly resilient things. We can get energy from protein, which isn't very good for us as an energy source. We get energy from sugar, which is our normal state, where we get glucose in our blood. Or in times of fasting or restricted diets where you don't eat carbohydrates, you can actually burn fat for fuel. And when you burn fat for fuel, you have more energy because fat is more energy dense. This is why every meditation and spiritual tradition has a period of fasting involved, because it turns neurons in your brain on. This is a way of losing fat, and it's a very powerful metabolic state that's only really recently been studied as a way to reverse almost every neurological degenerative disease. It was considered pathological years ago. It turns out very, very beneficial. In the bulletproof diet, there are 3 categories of food, and one of them is just kryptonite. These are things that make everyone weak. You might tolerate them better than some people, but they do not benefit you in any way other than keeping you from dying of starvation right now. There are suspect foods. And these are foods that work great for some people and completely decimate other people, and you don't know which suspects are guilty or innocent for you. So you've got to figure out which ones are in your way. What foods are compatible with your system versus your friend's system, they're different. And then the fun thing is bulletproof foods. These are things that work for almost everyone, have a lot of energy, a lot of nutrients, and not a lot of anti-nutrients. Another big principle in the bulletproof diet is that you should stop doing the things that make you weak before you do the things that make you strong. A lot of diets are like, well, just do these things that are going to make you strong, but they ignore the things that really take a lot of energy out of the system. So for me, I went from, at age 26, I was at the company that held Google's first servers, and I made $6 million. I lost it when I was 28, unfortunately. I lived in Silicon Valley, right? But I ended up having serious cognitive dysfunction. I lost some of my weight, but I was just struggling. I couldn't maintain my energy. I couldn't remember things. And I went to the doctor. I'm worried that something's not right. And he said, maybe you should try and lose some weight. You think I've been trying for 10 years here? Like, I'm doing all right, but how do you think I should do it? And he said, maybe you should eat healthy. And so this guy thinks I'm eating candy bars. I'm like, do you understand I've tried every diet on the planet, and it doesn't work? So that was when I really dug in on this. And it turns out that when you find the foods that cause inflammation, you'll do much better to eliminate those. That was where the bulletproof diet ended up. And people who try the bulletproof intermittent fasting, which is something that I created, it's like an intermittent fast when you don't eat, but you can have just fat in the form of bulletproof coffee. And when you do this, it changes your hunger hormones called ghrelin and CCK. And all of a sudden, you just don't care about food. Like the plate of donuts that would have called to me all morning in the conference room, it's this little conversation between the mitochondria in your head and your conscious, like, human brain. And it's like this, the donut calls out and says, eat me. And I say, no. I just made a decision. I used energy to say no. That was willpower that I wasted. And then half a second later, eat the donut. No. Eat the donut. No. And you go back and forth. And eventually I'll just eat half. And then you feel like you're failure. So what happened is this desire to eat everything from your mitochondria overwhelmed your willpower, because guess who's controlling the electrical flow of your willpower? The mitochondria are. So eventually they allocate energy to them instead of to your conscious brain, and you gave in and you felt like a failure. Well, when you have fat burning like this with bulletproof coffee, and you have no carbohydrates, you have no protein in the morning, the conversation about energy never happens because the mitochondria are fully charged. So the donut's in front of you, and it doesn't ask you to eat it, it just sits there. So the voice in your head goes away, and it's so much less effort required, even than just spending it after you nothing, that for me, that really gave me a huge amount of energy.
What do you mean when you say certain foods cause inflammation? What are these kryptonite foods that are bad for people?
It depends on who you are, but one of the prime examples here is something called lectins. And a lectin is a very common molecule, and it's a type of sugar that sticks to certain proteins. Lectins are chemicals to protect plants from bugs and people and other animals. So if you have the blood type or the genetics that will respond to the defense system of certain plants, when you eat those plants, they will trash you. And they trash you actually by harming mitochondrial functions, getting in the way of the way you make energy. The classical example here is the nightshade family.
If you have the right genetics, you can eat potatoes, and they're actually a reasonable source of starch. These are like a substantial portion, probably 30%. When you eat those, you get muscle pain. In fact, you get rheumatoid arthritis, which is a big problem.
Potatoes?
Potatoes, tomatoes, eggplants, bell peppers, and spicy peppers. These are poisonous, deadly nightshade plants, except we've also, some of us can eat them and some of us can't. If you eat those every day, and by the way, you may be just sensitive to peppers, but not tomatoes, because they're slightly different chemicals. It's just genetic. This is not about allergy. This is not allergy you'll reverse. This is wired into your hardware. If no one tells you this, and you're eating potatoes and all these other things several times a week, you will live a life where it's normal to have musculoskeletal pain and rheumatoid arthritis eventually, and you'll just think that's normal.
Does this have something to do with the FODMAP diet or low FODMAP?
It's not related to the FODMAP diet, although it's pretty close to it. The FODMAP diet is about controlling fermentation for people who have something called SIBO in their gut, small intestine bacterial overgrowth. And this is something that is a problem, something I definitely dealt with over the course of years. I also lived in a house that had substantial toxic mold, which is another big source of kryptonite in the environment around us, way bigger than people think, to the point that I, out of my own pocket, funded a documentary on toxic mold, interviewing the top experts in the country. And it's called Moldy. It's at moldymovie.com. And that's there because a lot of doctors don't know, and a lot of highly performing people, one day they're like, I woke up and I gained 10 pounds and my brain doesn't work and I feel crappy, and it's one of these things you just don't know. So if you have water damage on your ceiling, you know you're in a house that was flooded and nothing's working, everything requires twice as much effort as it did before, it's because you have poison in the air that is inhibiting your ability to make energy, so you have less willpower and you just want to lay around. This really trashed me, but that also causes SIBO, which is why I'm talking about that. So the FODMAP diet is a very restricted diet. You go on for a brief period of time to basically starve the bad bacteria that are growing in parts of your gut that you shouldn't eat. The bulletproof diet isn't that, but a lot of the FODMAP people end up being bulletproof when they're done being on FODMAP.
I'm feeling a little overwhelmed. Potatoes are killing me and there's mold in the air.
Well, here's the thing. Half of buildings have water damage according to the experts I interviewed, and just my own experience. So it is one of the biggest things that's affecting cognitive performance and emotional stability in people today, as well as autoimmune disease like Hashimoto's. And you just don't know it because it's generally invisible. And you might go, well, every time I go to that place, I get really bad sugar cravings and a headache, or my eyes get really sensitive to light, or whatever it is. But you don't know it's because of what you're breathing there, that when you breathe things, it's a very strong drug delivery system. And what's going on here is there's an ancient war between bacteria and fungus. And we are bacterial in the way we make our energy. So that means that when we're exposed to these certain chemicals, they get you. The mold chemicals are one group of things that are kryptonite for everyone, but even those affect some people differently than others. But these things like nightshades or lentils. So there are some diets that you should eat lentils, it makes you a good person. Actually, no. Lentils work great for some people. Other people have genetics where you eat lentils and they give you stiff joints and brain fog and inflammation. Inflammation is always mitochondrial. So what I found is that every neurodegenerative disease and all forms of chronic inflammation always come down to mitochondria. And since they have rules that they follow, and we understand their biochemistry, you can do things to stop the things that are damaging them, and then you can do things to ramp up their performance. Every time you do that, you feel it in your head first, because that's what energy is like. That's why the book is called Headstrong. But when you get your head right, the rest of you gets more energy too. And it's like, there's probably 30% more energy available for everyone when they just crank up their battery pack.
So I know when a lot of people are managing their diets, at least I know myself, I don't want to really cut out my wine and my beer because it's a simple pleasure in life. Do I need to get rid of that stuff?
Need is a powerful word. Will you die now if you don't cut out those things? No. Will you look better in 50 years if you cut them out? Absolutely. Do you have better cognitive function? Yes. Are they causing food cravings? Probably. Interestingly enough, beer and wine are the most toxic of the alcohols. And there's an infographic for free, all that stuff on the Bulletproof website, where I look at all the different types of alcohol and say which are the ones that are going to cause the most inflammation. And beer and wine have some like B vitamins or polyphenols, but they are far outweighed by the fact that they're not filtered. You're relying on your liver and kidney to filter them out. Anytime you have any alcohol, it creates a spike of something called aldehyde, which ages your tissues. If you do a search on PubMed for alcohol and cancer, you're not going to like what you find, because there's hundreds of studies showing there's correlations. That said, if you're going to enjoy those things, you can counteract those. So I'm not telling you don't drink. I'm just telling you don't convince yourself that it's healthy or that it's somehow harmless. It isn't. But you can choose to do something that's fun and harmless. So if you do then, you take vitamin C, or there's glutathione, or there's other things like charcoal that bind the toxins. The idea is you don't want your liver and kidneys to have to deal with all the toxins. If you instead drink vodka, you've already distilled it and you've had charcoal filtering to fix that problem.
Hi, I'm Madeline Davies, host of Jezebel's Dirtcast. Dirtcast digs deep on the shallow industry of celebrity gossip, giving you an inside look at how famous people, publicists, tabloids, and even Scientology come together to create the celebrity news you love to hate.
I saw criminal activity and even one death that were covered up in order to protect the church.
You can find the show on Apple Podcasts, NPR One, and wherever else you get your podcasts.
So you say there's something physically wrong with our brains, and that's sort of how you enter into the headstrong regimen, right? By recognizing that we have all these preconceptions, like our intelligence is fixed, or we're born with a certain performance capacity, and all of this is incorrect, and that there's actually something physically wrong.
Physically wrong is a pretty strong statement. What the data shows is that 48% of people under age 40 have early onset mitochondrial dysfunction. What this means, if you think of this, that 10% of your body weight, that's the battery in your body, just like a battery in your cell phone. A new cell phone, when you use it, it actually stays charged all day. And after you've charged it 100 times, it dies by 3 o'clock. We're the same way. So half of us under age 40, our batteries are starting to fizzle out. Over age 40, everyone has their battery fizzle out. We call it aging, and you can measure it in mitochondrial decline. It's one of the 5 main theories of aging. So I wouldn't say everyone has something wrong with their brain, but all of us have energy metabolism that declines over time, and energy metabolism is always hackable. What this means is that you might want more hacking when you're old, and you might want more preventative maintenance when you're young. And when you do this, even if you're doing really well as a young person, you're probably not at 100% efficiency. So at times when you're going to either be recovering from a night of hard partying, studying really hard, or doing a marathon or something, there are mitochondrial hacks that work to just give you more energy or to make less inflammation in the same amount of energy.
Okay, so how do we start?
One of the things that matters most is the environment around you. So instead of going straight to food and mitochondrial supplements and things like that, and there are recommendations in here,
one of the things that's really powerful is it's free and it's cold, because these little semiconductors in our cells, they respond to EMF, light, temperature, vibration, pressure, and nutrient availability, as well as just general stress levels. So they're the entire spectrum. They're reading millions of times a second times a quadrillion sensors in the body. Well, how can you start with cold? Tomorrow morning when you take a shower, at the end of the shower, have the water hitting you on the forehead and running down your chest, and turn the water all the way to cold. You'll probably last 10 seconds before you scream and feel like you're going to die. That is a lie. You will not die from a cold shower, but your mitochondria are lying to you about that, because they're like, we're going to die. But you just stay in there as long as you can. And then you go, why did Dave tell me to do that? He's such a jerk. That's all good. But the next day you do it again, and now you got 20 seconds. And by the time you've done this for 4 days, it doesn't hurt anymore. What happened there is you created a hormetic stressor. And hormesis is this idea that what doesn't kill me makes me stronger. Hormesis is a lie. Some things just kill you. They don't make you stronger. Cyanide, mercury, some of the toxins we're talking about. There's no benefit to eating a potato if you're biologically incompatible with the potato. But there is great benefit to having a little bit of cold exposure, because it causes the weak mitochondria to die, which means they'll be replaced by new ones. Your battery will grow itself, and you actually have more energy all day long from this really simple thing that didn't cost you anything. You can go deep, like I do in the book I write about. I have a cryotherapy chamber with liquid nitrogen at home. I stand in air that's shows at 270 below zero, and a digitally controlled ice tank and all that. But I'm a professional biohacker. Like, these are toys. You can do this stuff at home for free. Another thing that really works during the 2-week program, there's 2 kinds of exercise that affect your mitochondria. And there's all kinds of people who exercise huge amounts of time without getting benefit. In fact, they're causing harm, like I did when I worked out an hour and a half a day. What the 2 different sets of research show, one of them is 20 minutes a day of walking. This isn't very hard to achieve. That's enough to stimulate mitochondrial growth. And if you're not going to do that because you sit all the time or because it's raining, like where I live in Canada, you can use a mini trampoline, which has other benefits walking doesn't, or I use whole body vibration. I manufacture a plate that does that. Whole body vibration vibrates you 30 times a second. Jumping on a trampoline vibrates you about once a second, but has a lot of gravitational force that causes your mitochondria to get stronger. And walking causes a lot of movement with similar effects. The other type of exercise that makes a huge difference is once a week you need to kick your ass. That means sprinting, and sprint about 400 yards, and in the book there's something that's really never been written that I've been able to find. Instead of running for 400 yards and then walking, which is how you normally do intervals like this, you actually lay on your back, which shifts blood flow and causes your nervous system to reset much more quickly. And I've tested this out, and you feel a profound difference. We're talking 15 minutes of sprinting with rests between the sprints, or 15 minutes of lifting the heaviest things you can lift until you can without a break. So you know, lift for 2 or 3 minutes, but you need to really not spend a lot of time between sets. What this is going to do is stress your mitochondria so that they will make a lot of free radicals, and then those free radicals are a signal that they need to get stronger. If you do what a lot of people do, is do excessive chronic cardio, or I'm going to have emotional stress, I'm going to continuously expose myself to inflammatory stuff, you get background free radicals that are always present. They just wear the system down. So what we're doing is we're controlling the environment here by doing stress on the cells, cold stress, just a temperature stress, or an exercise stress in order to make you stronger.
So you talk a lot about mitochondria, and I'm wondering how much of that is sort of like a metaphoric as opposed to literal, because they're not literally making decisions, but I understand they're like part of the cell that controls how your brain is making decisions, right?
I would like to believe that. I don't. I actually believe they're making decisions.
Really?
If you look at, and this actually isn't in Headstrong because I think a lot of people haven't access to because how smart listeners, so I'm just going to go there. There's a guy named Stephen Wolfman who's behind the Kurzweil AI stuff, and he wrote a book called The New Kind of Math. And he showed that when you take very simple rules and you do them kabillions of times, that's a technical term, okay, but you do them almost an infinite number of times, and you get really complex patterns that emerge. Things like, why do trees look the way they do? Almost every biological system we have can be explained by a very tiny set of rules. And what is happening here is that on a microsecond by microsecond basis, these mitochondria are sensing the environment around you. And what guy did Jeff Long, the last 40 years of researching them, is that they're the gateway to epigenetics. Epigenetics is the science of how the environment changes gene expression. Guess who's listening to the environment and saying which genes get expressed? It's these little guys, and they're just following dumb little rules. That means they're eminently hackable. You just change the environment a little bit, and they'll follow their same rules with new inputs, and that will change your genetic expression, and that will change a lot of other things. That said, there are meditations that you can do, things you can do that change the magnetic signal that comes off your heart that does talk to mitochondria. And heart rate variability training, which is in the book, is one of them. And there's actually a mitochondrial medication from one of 12 living grandmasters of a Chinese energy medicine tradition that was used to help protect the emperors of China. It's really interesting though to realize that your mindset affects energy availability, because they're listening and they're saying, oh, if that thinking thing up there that's really slow but understands all the stuff we don't understand, if it's stressed all the time, that means we should have our sugar ready for when we're fighting or killing. You're going to get more sugar cravings. The energy system is like always primed. And you actually want the mitochondria to be manufacturing substances, which they also do, like hormones, or powering repair systems in the body. You're either in rest or reset mode, or you're in fight or flight. It's interesting, though, that we're just following these 4 basic rules, and you never build a community unless you've already addressed those other basic needs. So this maps all the way back to things we like to think are like brain-based, but they're actually subcellular-based, and they roll up into your brain. And this is fascinating stuff, but it gives you so much more control, because anytime you can add energy into your system, you have more willpower. So willpower is hackable, and it's hackable through relatively simple environmental interventions. Number 1, stop doing stuff that makes you weak. Number 2, make sure your mitochondria kill themselves if they're weak so new ones will grow in. Number 3, power them with the most energy you can get. And there are things you can do to change what light does to the mitochondria. They're exquisitely light sensitive. And what I write about here is what do different frequencies of light do to our energy metabolism. This is a problem because life hacker viewers and listeners, we tend to have a lot of devices. Okay? These devices always have blue light in them. These bright white screens. Blue light goes into your eyes. Your eyes are one of the mitochondrially richest part of the body. And your brain, eyes, and heart are the most energy, the most energy cells in it. But 5% of the cells in your retina are melanopsin sensing cells.
they sense light, but they don't send that light into your vision. They send it into a part of your brain called the SCN, and that controls your timing cycle of your body, your day-night cycle. So if you're sitting under these bright fluorescent lights, or even worse, bright LED lights that most people are under all day long, they cause damage to mitochondria, 23% more damage than other forms of lighting. And they send a signal to your brain that says it's the middle of the day, and it's actually a cellular stressor that can trigger blood sugar cravings, or blood sugar issues that cause cravings. And over time, they really stress the mitochondria in the body. They're causing more damage than we like to admit right now. So one of the things I do when I'm indoors under fluorescent or even worse, these LED lights, I wear tinted lenses. And right now I'm wearing some Erlen lenses, and these are custom made for my eyes so my brain works better. And at night, I wear these true dark glasses that I wrote about in the book.
It's true, he's wearing tinted glasses, and he's just put on red tinted lenses.
It's a little like a supervillain, but in a good way.
Yeah,
Awesome.
in a great way.
Yeah. I was hoping you were going to say it so I didn't have to.
Yeah.
And what these are, I wear these about an hour before I go to sleep. They block every spectrum of light that is documented in all of the research out there that affects your timing signal. So when I wear these, my brain believes it is pitch black, even though I can still read my devices, I can still see you guys. So what I'm doing is I'm hacking the light, which is a major signal that goes into the body. So less indoor bright white and blue light, because we evolved to only have two systems. We have dark and sun. And in morning and evening, we get sunset with a little bit of extra red light. So by having a more natural spectrum of light, it's like having a fully balanced diet. If you were to design a cyborg or a computer system, and this is my background, is computer systems, you would actually need to have a system clock. And this is really important for all of our PCs. We all tie to these atomic clocks, so we all know what time it is. Well, we didn't have that when our bodies were evolving. So the only real signal we have is when do you eat and the night dark cycle. This means during the day, you want to get full spectrum light, and at night, you must have blackness. The reason for blackness is that your mitochondria talk to each other using light. They make biophotons the same way LEDs make light. They're light sensitive and they're light sending. And we use algorithms from the networking business to look at mitochondria and figure out they can only talk to each other if it's really dark. If there's LEDs in your room, if there's light coming in through the window, your body's self-organization system at the lowest level won't work, and over time you get weak. So better curtains and tape over the LEDs in your bedroom. It's just a one-time thing. But what that does is that changes the future for you. These are the things that are in Headstrong that are not expensive, that don't take supplements, they don't take a lot of change, but they make a difference. And then you've got
That's a pretty bold statement. You hate Europeans.
One of the biggest recommendations here is to look at something called polyphenols. When you look at colored vegetables, things like blueberries and anything that's brightly colored, or things like coffee, tea, chocolate, they contain polyphenols. We used to say those are antioxidants in foods, they're kind of good for you. It turns out they're signaling molecules that act as probiotics for a certain kind of bacteria you need in your gut, but that they directly impact your mitochondrial function. You're probably getting half as many, or maybe 25% as many of these polyphenols in your diet as would be best for top performance. What that means is put more herbs on your food, eat more brightly colored things that you're not sensitive to. Red bell peppers might be great, they might completely mess you up, but you should figure that out, and that's in the 2-week program, you avoid that kind of stuff. And then when you do that, you want to increase your coffee intake, your green tea intake, your chocolate intake. And sadly, I don't recommend increasing wine because the alcohol harms the mitochondria, and even though you get some polyphenols that way. So when you do this and you increase your polyphenol count, you get more energy. And that's what this is all about, is energy gain. Waste less energy. And if you can turn off these core cravings, especially the one around eat everything, the amount of energy that you spend managing that impulse, you don't need to manage it anymore because the impulse is gone. Therefore, you can apply that energy to anything else in your life that you like.
And what about sleep? You have a chapter in the book that suggests we sleep harder, meditate faster, and exercise less. How can we sleep harder? I'm cool with meditating faster and exercising less. I want to sleep more. Is that sleeping harder?
Well, a lot of times we confuse quality with quantity. It is normal when you increase your mitochondrial activity to just naturally require less sleep. And this happens because sleep is a mitochondrially driven activity. The cells in your brain dump most of the water, they actually shrink. And in this water, there's toxins that build up. They go into your cerebrospinal fluid. You basically wash the brain, and then the cells rehydrate with clean cerebrospinal fluid. It's called the lymphatic system. It's all driven by energy in your cells. Your cells work better, the pump works faster. You take in less toxins, you got less bleeding to do. When you increase the available energy, it's normal to wake up an hour before you wake up. So it's right now, it looks like I have more sleep because you're tired. You should get more sleep if you're tired. But when you get untired, you need less sleep. And the data that supports this is based on a study of 1.2 million people that were followed really closely for 3 years. This is the only study that had enough of a sample size to really let you look at the difference between an extra half hour of sleep. And in fact, there was so much data, they gathered it in the 80s, they couldn't do the computational analysis on it. So they waited until Amazon Web Services was available, so much data. Oh wow, people who live the longest sleep 6.5 hours a night. This doesn't mean sleeping 6.5 hours a night will make you live longer. It means healthy people need less sleep. And because they're healthy, they die less. Sleeping 8 hours a night is correlated with dying more than 6.5 hours a night. So you want your biology to be to the point where, you know what, I can sleep 5 hours and I can still have a kick-ass day and I'm not disabled. But I'm going to sleep however much my body really wants. You'll just find your body wants less than you thought.
Age is also a factor, and I believe older people require less sleep, and younger people tend to, go towards 8 hours or so.
There's definitely a correlation with age. Older people get less sleep. Whether they require less sleep isn't well known, right? Older people die more too, right?
Hi, I'm Cleo Stiller, the host of Sex Right Now, a new television series on Fusion that explores very intimate stories about our bodies.
So when it comes to trying to recreate a human, we can do certain things.
We're going to try and identify some of the possible health benefits associated with orgasm and sexuality.
So do you want the truth or the story I tell everybody?
No stigma, no judgment, and just a little bit cheeky. Airs Thursday at 10 p.m. Check your cable listings or download the Fusion app on Apple TV or Roku.
Let's talk about drugs. So you say that one of the problems we have as pharmaceuticals that we're taking too many only pharmaceuticals, but you also talk about smart drugs. So I want to know sort of your feelings about pharmaceuticals in general and how they affect our brains.
Are these what we call nootropics? Is that
Yeah. I started, in fact, nootropics saved my career in Silicon Valley. I would not be here today without nootropics. I am on them right now. I've been on them pretty much continuously for 20 years. I took modafinil, the most powerful and limitless drug, for 8 years straight.
That's Provigil?
Yeah. I was getting my MBA working full-time at the time. I sold for $600,000. And I would not have graduated without it. It literally makes me a better meditator. But I've been off of it for about 4 years now because when the mitochondria working, when I avoid the kryptonite stuff, and when I do the things that go diet, I get my good nothing, and that's part of it. So I can't even measure a difference. And when I say measure, I'm using university-validated tests of executive function. The difference is so small, and it's not a meaningful difference, that I went off of the stuff, but I would take it today. The reason I'm down on a lot of pharmaceuticals isn't that drugs are bad. It's that pharmaceuticals cause mitochondrial damage, and it's not talked about or disclosed. So when you doctor puts on statin drugs, because they didn't even measure inflammation markers, they just looked at your cholesterol and handed out a pill packet, those drugs damage your mitochondria. So you only have so much battery capacity in your body, and if they give you a drug that's supposed to be good for you, but it harms your mitochondria, what's going to happen is you're going to get cancer years later because that's what happens when mitochondria work, and you're going to feel like crap all along the way. This is really common when people go on statins. Other things like metformin, a drug that I took for 4 years for anti-aging purposes, it damages mitochondria. I quit taking it because even though it's correlated with living longer from some things, I want to live at full power and live longer.
Isn't metformin a diabetes medication?
It's a very old diabetes medication that causes genetic changes similar to caloric restriction. So a lot of my friends in the anti-aging community use metformin as in low doses as a way of slowing aging. I use some natural substances that do the same thing without harming the cells that metformin does. And then there's nootropics. There are nootropics that don't harm under the naked brainwave. My favorite one is called aniracetam. And the racetam family has been studied for almost 50 years. It's exceptionally safe. And what aniracetam does is it increases memory I/O. The ability to get things in and out of your memory is really important. I'm a public speaker, a writer, a podcaster, a CEO, a father, and being well-spoken is important for all of those things. I went through most of my life where I would grasp for words dozens of times. Say, what was I going to say? What's the word for that? Or why did I open the fridge? Where are my car keys? And I was absent-minded. In fact, it was just part of my condition. It was the way the world was, and I didn't think it was abnormal. When I first went on paracetam almost 20 years ago, I took it for a week and I was really mad. I spent like a couple grand getting these things shipped from Europe. I really couldn't get smart drugs back then. And a guy named Steve Folks, who became a friend and an advisor, who wrote the first book on smart drugs called Smart Drugs and Nutrients. I had written this book and I read it. I gotta find these things. And I took paracetam. I was so amped up. I was mad. So I quit taking it after a week. And then I started grasping for words, and I realized when I was on it, I wasn't grasping for words. It felt so natural to have my brain work that I didn't notice it. It's the lack of function that's noticeable. So what can happen when you do the 2-week program in Headstrong, when you avoid these kryptonite foods in the bulletproof diet, or when you do any other intervention like this, your new normal feels very natural. I feel more like myself. My experience was my body should hurt all the time. I've had arthritis in my knees since I was 14. I always had substantial brain fog and cognitive dysfunction, and I didn't really even know it because this was my normal. And as I was able to eliminate those things, I'm like, what's actually possible here?
Now, how is the average listener of the upgrade going to get their hands on these limitless drugs?
So the natural substances are widely available out here. You can go to your doctor and you can say, I would like some modafinil. I'm going to warn you, 5 out of 1 million people have genetics that put them at high risk for having a severe autoimmune reaction to this. It's less of an incidence than ibuprofen, so it's relatively safe, but if millions of people were to hear this and go out and try these drugs, there can be problems.
It gave me headaches. Is that
modafinil did?
Yeah.
Were you sourcing it from America or from India?
I'm sure it was from America.
Okay, cool. A lot of people listening just buy it online.
Okay.
And the Model Alert is the brand from India that you can get. And in the forums on the Bulletproof website, people are always talking about where they get it. And some people get headaches from it and it does nothing, and that's probably because it plays histamine for you, because it does work with histamine, and histamine's a neurotransmitter, in addition to causing allergies and things like that. So some people just get headaches. I know some people that take it, nothing happens. But for the people who have an effect, which is the majority of them, it's rocket fuel. You do this and you're like, wow, I can count cards, I can write, I can produce, I'm creative. And when I measured my brainwaves on it, I could go into deeper meditation states, because meditation is about being able to focus. So if it's not the drug for you, it doesn't mean there's something wrong with the drug or there's something wrong for you. The same thing goes, like when I see these stacks of nootropics, all this stuff mixed in, I'm a little sketched out by that, because there are lots of compounds where if you take it, it's not going to work. But if you have 10 things, you don't know that one of them is your kryptonite. So I like it when people try different types of smart drugs, the natural ones or the unnatural ones, and see what is magic for you.
So I'm sorry I interrupted you. So if you go to your doctor and ask for these drugs?
If you ask for the racetam family, the doctor will open the physician's desk reference. They're not in there, even though they're made by Sandoz Pharmaceuticals, one of the big companies in Europe, and they've been around for 50 years, but in the US, we're like blind to them. They're in a gray zone, which is why you can just order them online. And if you want modafinil from your doctor, they're probably going to say, no, you have narcolepsy. And you say, I don't have narcolepsy. That's the only thing it's good for. So then you could argue with the doctor, or you could have studied ahead of time. You could say, but doctor, I have shift work or sleep disorder, which means you read the Wikipedia page about that. And when you do that, and there's some requirements there, if you actually have this, then your doctor will write you a script for it, and your insurance company will cover it. And your insurance company will likely say, you need to take Adderall, at which point you tell them no, because you don't want to get addicted to meth.
Does modafinil have any addictive qualities?
No. There are websites out there that say it's like meth or that it's addictive. My wife was a drug and alcohol addiction emergency medicine specialist in Stockholm, like treating the worst of the worst addicts. And when I told her someone said it was addictive, she actually laughed out loud and said, no. Like the street value among addicts for modafinil is essentially 0. Among students, it's higher because it's a study aid. It's not addictive. And I can tell you after 8 years, I ramped my dose up and down and up and down. There's no addictiveness, but it does feel really good to feel like yourself again. So I have no concern with modafinil, but with Adderall, that's a serious concern.
And the effect of modafinil is different from the effect of Adderall, right?
It's considered not a stimulant. Adderall is a classical stimulant. They actually had to make a new category of drugs for modafinil. It's called arousal promoting, where it doesn't make you up. You can take it and go to sleep, but you just have so much energy you probably don't want to go to sleep versus being unable to sleep. And so there's this whole stack of things that go from these pharmaceutical smart drugs, which are really strong cognitive enhancers. But before you go there, you might consider training your brain to work better. One of the things that we do with really advanced brain hacking stuff, you can train the brain to increase its voltage level. That is a mitochondrial training effect. Literally, your brain will make more electricity using feedback. So I'm a huge fan of training and just supporting the energy production in the brain, because people have ADD oftentimes just have like a memory or an energy brownout. They're just not getting enough energy to the neurons to fire. And when you turn up energy in the brain, they feel better. And that's why they're constantly on sugar, because sugar gives you a short burst of energy, but then they crash. And of course, then you get attention deficit because you're up, down, up, down. And every time your blood sugar crashes, it actually causes an emergency response in the body. So your body pumps out adrenaline and cortisol to raise your blood sugar again. So you get stuck in the cycle that I was stuck in when I was fat. But the bottom line is there are some things you can do by going into ketosis or using external ketone aids like brain octane or with other supplements that will fill in those electrons to cause you to be able to more effectively make energy in that cycle.
You mentioned ADHD. Sugar doesn't literally cause ADHD, right? I'm sure diet is a factor for people. So
no, it doesn't cause it, but people with ADHD tend to crave sugar a lot more because their brains are calling out for electrons. They're like, I need to fire my neurons, I need to fire these neurons, but the energy demand isn't met well. So they have high energy brains, which is actually not a bad thing. But if you can't deliver energy to those brains, they don't work very well. And I've been diagnosed with ADD, and I had all the symptoms of Asperger's syndrome that runs in my family. Until I was like in my early 20s, I wouldn't make eye contact with anyone. I didn't know anyone's name, like ODD, like facial tics, all that crap. That was a part of my life, it was a part of my brain. And I was able to turn that off and become a very different person neurologically than I used to be. I would say a higher functioning than I was. I still have an unusual brain, but I can tell you the voice in my head is gone, and those biological things are gone, and my ability to just put energy in my brain at levels I've never had in my life is there. And I do the things in Headstrong. I do the advanced version instead of cold showers. And yes, I took a cold shower this morning. At home, I have the liquid nitrogen tank, and I have all this crazy biohacking gear, because if I want to be able to recommend to you, you should try this thing, well, I'm going to try the extreme of that thing, because that's where you can really see the big effects. And you can know that there's an ongoing effect from the lighter weight version of it. And it all works. I'm just fanatically grateful that I have the brain that I have today. And yes, I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars, at this point actually $1 million, on all these different interventions. There's no excuse that I had to do that. Someone should have told me this when I was 16 and I was fat and I had arthritis in my knees and I was getting stretch marks and my behaviors all over the place and I had tons of anxiety and PTSD and all this crap. This knowledge, a lot of it has been around for a long time, at least the techniques, the reason for them working about mitochondria. We didn't know that until the last 5 or 10 years. This is very new science. But you don't have to know why to know how to fix something. And it actually pisses me off. It's unfair that I went through that. It's also unfair that I made $6 million when I was 26 and I got to spend a couple $100,000 before I lost my weight. And then I got to do this to hack myself. The reason I started Bulletproof and I started blogging wasn't to create products. It was that I was a VP at a big company responsible for global evangelism. I had stock options and a $250,000 salary. I just felt like no one had told me this stuff and it would have changed my life really dramatically. If someone just having us a day, here's what you need to know. Like, this is what's in your way.
Okay, so let's say I'm totally into what you're selling here, and I want to try this, and I'm going to get the book, but I'm also like a little bit freaked out about doing all of this myself, and I would like to be under the care of a Western doctor. Are there doctors that are going to work with me to try some of these things, and am I going to be able to find these people in my community?
You will be able to find doctors who are into this stuff. This year, I give a keynote to the American Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine. This is 3,000 doctors. I was the only non-physician to give a keynote, which was a huge honor. I met my wife at this conference a dozen years ago. So I'm like an anti-aging fanboy, and then I'm an unlicensed biohacker. And on Bulletproof Radio, there's so many physicians who listen to it because we're talking about stuff that's fascinating to them that may or may not make it into clinical practice. But the thing that's a gift for a physician is a highly motivated, compliant patient who cares. Because so many people say, Doc, give me some drugs, make me better, I got 3 minutes. And it's actually dispiriting to a doctor. So if you find a functional medicine doctor or an anti-aging doctor from A4M or IFM, Institute for Functional Medicine, they will be absolutely great to work with you.
And of course, there's a lot of little things you can do, like trying the cold shower and managing your screen time, and the high fats, high workout diet, which is reasonable things that normal people can experiment with.
Yeah, and the idea is that aging and even weakness long before you age, it's death by 1,000 cuts. Okay, if you have a truck, that was just 1 cut. But for the most part, it's a whole bunch of little things, and you'll never get rid of all of them. And if you worry about all of them, the worry is worse than all the little cuts. But if you're aware of them without being reactive to them, then it's like, okay, like maybe I can just take this 20% of those little cuts away, and it didn't affect my quality of life. I don't pay attention to it. I just change a few routines so that they're more optimal. And I mean, it's just like Mother Example 5. This is life hacker. It's all about fixing routines to be more optimal. It's just environmental inputs to the body you don't have to pay attention to. Like making a habit of flipping your shower to cold for a minute at the end of your shower is really not that big of a habit. You do it for a while, and you're done.
I'm definitely doing a cold shower, and so are you.
If I have to, sure.
I mean, that I feel like I can do.
And now it's time for our upgrade of the week. Each week we talk about one tiny thing we've done in our own lives to make a little improvement. So let's go around the table. Melissa, what have you done this week?
This is so tiny, but it has been transformative for me. I have started drinking room temperature water. So I was drinking cold water. I felt like I don't like a drink that's room temperature. Like I don't like wine. I feel like a drink should be hot or it should be cold. It should be and then I started hearing from people that I should be drinking room temperature water. I'm sure that Dave can tell me why or why not. The important thing for me is that I can drink more of it, which I know is good for me because I can feel the difference in my body when I drink more water. It's harder to chug very cold water, so I've been drinking a lot more water because I'm leaving my water filter pitcher on the counter.
You have an opinion about that, Dave? Drinking water?
If you're drinking water with a meal, the water or warm water would be best because you don't want to like congeal the fat and slow down digestion. So that makes good sense. There is good evidence though that if you add ice to your water, that it makes something called exclusions of water, which is part of Headstrong. So I actually, after doing all this research, I've been drinking temperature water exclusively for years and years. I started to drink more ice water because I wanted to get that special water that's easier for your cells to use. You will burn more calories if you drink cold water, although fat loss is not a calories in, calories out exclusive equation. Hormones matter a lot as well. So if you enjoy an occasional cold beverage, I wouldn't self-flagellate over that.
Right.
But I think you're on the right path.
Thank you.
myself this week, and our long-term listeners will now realize that all my upgrades deal with escapism. And my escape this week is managing my hands on the new Nintendo Switch. So I've been playing video games, enjoying Hyrule and the new Zelda game, and that's what's made my life a little better for the time being. All right, Dave, now you obviously have a whole business around improving yourself, but have you done anything this week as an upgrade?
You guys may have noticed that I'm more ripped than I was before. Okay, maybe not. But
We just met you, so
I know, that's fine.
Before when you came in?
Exactly. I put on 2 pounds of muscle while we were sitting here. But on the back of my left arm, on my tricep, I have this embedded round thing that looks like a quarter. What you, I don't know if you noticed or not, but if I wave this little device over it, without touching it, it hits my blood sugar. So for 2 weeks, I have an embedded blood glucose monitor, which is kind of cool. If your sugar is building up in your blood, you know how did you respond to that meal. Are you effectively converting that sugar into fuel? Different foods have a different effect on different people, which is a really profound thing to know. So for me, I've been able to walk around, and whenever I eat or whenever I don't eat, or whenever I have my bulletproof coffee, I can, like, what's my average blood sugar look like? This is something that is meant for diabetics. It's cool. You don't have to even touch it, just like wave the device over it.
So this is instead of like pricking your finger?
Yeah. These are not even approved in the US. They're approved in Europe, and they have been for a while, but it takes a long time for new technologies to reach us in the medtech space. So I do stuff like this. You don't need to do that, but understanding that you have high blood sugar and you don't know it, that you're pre-diabetic, and that you wake up with high blood sugar is incredibly motivating for people. When I was 26, I had high blood sugar, and in the morning I was pre-diabetic. When I was 29, I was at high risk of stroke and heart attack. Data. So now, like, what does food do to me? What is light do to me? What is jet lag do to me? And it turns out jet lag actually raises your blood sugar. Sleep disruption raises your blood sugar. And one of the things you want to do if you're going to live a long time is keep your blood sugar low.
What is 6.1? What's that?
6.1 is relatively high, and that's because I had intravenous nutrients 2 hours ago.
That's what this little monitor that he waved over the little on his arm says.
Paint a clear picture here. Dave has a little piece of plastic on his arm. You waved a wireless device over it, and some information popped up. It's very, very cyborg.
Wow. Yes. It's sort of like a pin, like a button that you wear on your jean jacket.
Yeah, that's a great description of it. So these things are still in their infancy. I was CTO of one of the wristband companies like Fitbit, and today I'm also wearing a ring that's a biosensor that tracks my sleep. It's called an Aura Ring, which is kind of cool. It's got a bunch of little sensors inside it. It's getting my temperature, my heart rate, my respiration, and my movement. As we progress, the next generation will be very, very small. So this will be the size of the doors, and the ring will be the size of like a normal wedding ring versus a big like rock star cocaine ring or something. But as it is, this data, I didn't really pay that much attention to it, but I'm gathering it all. And artificial intelligence is really doing the analysis for us, and we're learning so much about the human condition right now that we've never known. It's like the most exciting time ever.
And that's our show. Thank you so much to Dave Asprey for being here. You can find me on Twitter at Melissa Kirsch. You can find Andy at Andy Oren, and you can find Dave Asprey at Bulletproof Exec. The Upgrade is produced by Levi Sharp. Our executive director of audio is Mandana Mofidi. Brad Fisher mixed the episode.
Do you have a suggestion for a future episode of The Upgrade? Shoot us an email at upgrade@lifehacker.com, tweet us at lifehacker with the hashtag The Upgrade, or go old school and leave us a voice message at 347-687-8109. And if you love The Upgrade, go to iTunes and leave us a review. You can also find us on Panoply, NPR One, and wherever else you get your podcasts.
Follow Lifehacker on Twitter at Lifehacker and on Facebook at facebook.com/Lifehacker. And you can find show notes for this and every episode of The Upgrade at lifehacker.com/the show.
We couldn't even scratch them. We didn't penetrate their armor.
Hey, Upgrade listeners, just a quick note before we start. This podcast was recorded before President Trump privately signed a bill on Thursday that lets states withhold federal money from organizations that provide abortions, which includes Planned Parenthood. Hello and welcome to The Upgrade, a podcast from the team at lifehacker.com, where we help you improve your life one week at a time. I'm Melissa Kirsch, editor-in-chief of Lifehacker.
And I'm Andy Ornan, editor with Lifehacker.
And today we're talking healthcare. Access to it, what is going on now that Trump's healthcare bill was withdrawn, what's likely to happen with healthcare legislation going forward.
We're talking about what you should do to take care of yourself if you have insurance, what you should do if you don't have insurance, and what you can do if you think your insurance might be at risk.
And to help us make sense of all of this, we're joined today by Alencia Johnson, Director of Constituency Communications at Planned Parenthood Federation of America and Planned Parenthood Action Fund, and Elizabeth Clark, who's Director of Health Media at Planned Parenthood, both of whom are very busy these days dealing with the minute-by-minute changes in the healthcare arena. We're very happy that you both were able to stop by The Upgrade and talk with us. Thanks for having us. Yeah, thrilled to be here. And okay, so let's get right to it. Access to healthcare is under siege at the moment. Let's talk about the threats. What's going on?
Yeah, we have extreme politicians who want to play with access to women's healthcare. As we saw a couple of weeks ago, there was a failed bill, they didn't actually get a vote on it, to repeal affordable care because they don't have a plan to replace that. It's interesting because for 7 or so years they've been voting to repeal affordable care Act, But what that showed is that there were several thousand people all across the country who let their members of Congress know we do not agree with you messing with our healthcare. We do not agree with you blocking Medicaid reimbursements to Planned Parenthood. We serve 2.5 million patients every day, and those folks every year. Thank you. And those folks are the ones that came on Grove, our patients and supporters, who said, listen, this is unpopular. This is our healthcare. It's not playing politics in our body. I would also say it's really important to understand that the fight isn't over, and that there are committed politicians who are intent on taking away access to healthcare, taking away access to contraception, blocking, as Lindsay said, Medicaid patients from being able to come to Planned Parenthood for cancer screenings, STD tests and treatment, family planning services. So it's heartening to see the level of support that came out for the Affordable Care Act and for Planned Parenthood over the last few weeks, but we also know that they're going to try everything they can to strip people's access to healthcare, and so it is going to keep coming, and we need people to keep holding their feet to the fire.
How safe is Obamacare at this point? Because they could just do like another vote, can't they?
They could, the current seating president, Donald Trump, did say, let's leave it alone, let's move on to the rest of my agenda, and it seems as though that's what they are trying to do, but let's be very clear. Although we're going into recess, they have to decide on the federal budget by the end of April. And Planned Parenthood could show up in that. Planned Parenthood could show up in any of the most of these bills. We've seen even President Obama, politicians decided to put in clauses and amendments to defund Planned Parenthood. Thankfully, we had a president at the time who would use his pen to veto any bill that would limit access to care at Planned Parenthood. But it's a very real threat that healthcare in regards to seeing folks at Planned Parenthood health centers will come up again in any way that the extreme politicians would like to see fit. And let's be very clear, Mr. Defund Planned Parenthood himself is our current vice president. And so he's not going to let people forget that that is his agenda, and that's many areas as well. The other thing that is really concerning is the appointment to Judge Gorsuch to the Supreme Court. And not only in terms of his record on access to reproductive health care, but just in terms of his record overall, he's shown a real consistency in ruling for corporations and against individual people. So that could also potentially have some real repercussions when it comes to the fighting that's going on legislatively around people deserve access to affordable health care, whether it's through the ACA or and any of the provisions that the ACA lays out. Secretary of Health and Human Services, Tom Price. He is adamantly against the Affordable Care Act, adamantly against women's health care, against birth control, against every type of care people need the most. And as we saw under the Obama administration, there are a lot of therapies coming out of HHS. And on the other end, there can be some chipping away at the Affordable Care Act until there is a how does that chipping away happen? Legislatively. Are things tacked onto bills? What should we be looking out for? Legislatively, right, as Lindsay said, there are things, whether it's attachments to the continuing resolution, which happens in the spring and the fall, which is basically passing the federal government continues to run. There are also, under HHS, as Lindsay said, there are provisions that the Obama administration laid out to strengthen and reinforce, right, what the Affordable Care Act means for coverage of preventive services, sex discrimination, which includes discrimination against pregnant women, against women overall in terms of being charged more for healthcare, right? So the Affordable Care Act was supposed to take care of all that, and the Obama administration was continuously clarifying, this is what this means. These are the protections that people have for preventive care. And under a new HHS head, then those enforcements and clarifications can be rolled back. Much like the birth control for no copay. That is something that, and we have heard some extreme male politicians say, well, every woman can afford birth control. And people actually believe this, right? And that could be one of those provisions that is rolled back.
Let's talk about the scope of what Planned Parenthood does and where federal money goes to, because I know that people have a lot of misconceptions. They have a lot of ideas about money from the government, somehow paying for abortions. Tell us, how this works. Title X, Medicaid, Planned Parenthood, what does that ecosystem look like?
This podcast is supported by Progressive. To improve your life 1 week at a time. I'm Melissa Kirsch, Editor-in-Chief of Lifehacker.
And I'm Andy Orn, an editor at Lifehacker.
And April is Stress Awareness Month. So today we're talking about stress and anxiety with scientist Daniel Keating. Dan is a professor of psychology at the University of Michigan, where he focuses on developmental differences, whether they be cognitive, social, or emotional, in physical and mental health.
His new book is called Born Anxious, The Lifelong Impact of Early Life Adversity and How to Break the Cycle. We're very happy to have Daniel Keating with us today.
Hi, Dan.
Hi, Dan. Thanks for having me.
We're so glad to have you. So, in Born Anxious, you talk about a stress epidemic. What evidence is there for a stress epidemic in society today?
Well, there are three main lines of evidence that we have. One is that in a series of annual surveys that the American Psychological Association does, we've seen an increase in what people say about their levels of stress. The other thing we can look at is the rate of stress-related disorders and diseases, and the Center for Disease Control has been tracking this for quite a long time. And when we look at those things, and that includes things like metabolic disorders, obesity, diabetes, those sorts of things, sleep disorders that are associated with that, we see a very substantial increase over the last 10 decades or so. And then the final one is some very recent work that some researchers have done. You can, in fact, measure the sorts of things that chemicals that are in your body that you can measure as indicators of a kind of a stress load index on your body. And these are things that are associated with heart function, things that are associated with kidney function, things that are associated with liver function that are known to be indicators of something that will, if it continues long enough, likely result in some sort of disease. And over the last 40 years, we've been seeing a pretty sharp increase in that as well.
And the title of the book is obviously Born Anxious. So the thesis here is that some of these problems may actually start as early as when we're in the womb, right? So what's the main idea behind the book?
The starting point really for the story in the book is that excess stress that is experienced by the expectant mother, or excess stress that's experienced in the kind of nurturing that happens in roughly the first year of life for a baby, has the potential to make a change that we now understand about. It's called an epigenetic change. The specific kind of epigenetic change here is known as methylation. And the simple version of this is that a particular gene that's fairly central to how that stress system works, whose job it is to, in a sense, tell that stress response system to stand down, that things are cool, you can relax now, calm down, come back to a baseline, is hampered. And it's, think of it as kind of like a faucet that's quite turned off, but a faucet that's also highly reactive to getting flashback going pretty quickly. That means that for the same kinds of experiences that different individuals have, one who has one of these problematic stress systems, we call stress dysregulated system, is much more likely to react, to turn that system on, and then to have difficulty coming back to baseline. That excess cortisol has two big things. One is that it affects how we behave, more likely to become reactive, particularly angry, flashing kinds of anger on the one hand, or because we feel too stressed. In addition to the behavior, it is that excess cortisol through the system has a lot of those negative effects on the body that we've identified in CDC records of stress-related disorders.
So cortisol is the stress hormone, right?
That's right.
So we think about like the way that we are as a result of either our genetics, nature, or how we're raised, nurture. And you say that epigenetics is sort of this new science that points to a third factor. Can you explain a little bit about like how epigenetics works?
The simplest way to think about it is that epigenetics is a way that the genes can listen to the environment. The genes, in fact, are programmed to do a whole bunch of things that get carried out, things that are coded in our DNA that is unique to each of us. In addition, however, there with the epigenetics, and particularly this relatively newer area of social epigenetics, how our social experiences affect this, the genes are in a sense listening to that environment. And in this case that we're talking about now, the specific pattern is that they're picking up on the fact that you're probably being born into, or have just been born into, a highly dangerous environment. That there is, if the mom is experiencing a very high level of stress, enough for the cortisol in her system to get through the placental barrier and raise the cortisol in the womb so that the fetus picks up on that, the genes of the fetus pick up on that information, or in the first year of life that there's dangerous things that are happening that are minimizing your nurturing. That those kinds of signals tell the genes, in a sense, that this is a very dangerous environment. And for survival purposes, your best bet is to stay alert, on edge, wired up, amped up, if you will, on a kind of a 24/7 basis, that you really should not relax. It's a very dangerous environment, and you should be prepared to react very quickly with fight or flight to anything that seems threatening. Now, in an environment where those threats are not huge, you wind up, of course, in a situation where that's driving you to do those sorts of things. If you're in a very dangerous environment, let's say a war zone, it may very well help to keep you alive, but it's still going to take a long-term toll on your body if you do survive.
So in terms of like normal, day-to-day life, what kind of social stresses would actually have these kinds of effects? And I mean, like in a first world country, not necessarily like a war zone or anything.
A big source of stress, particularly in the U.S., which is suffering this kind of stress epidemic more than other places, there's a big issue around the notion of inequality that is stressing us out. So that if you're at a low end of economic difficulty, you have stresses that certainly feel like survival stresses, things like food insecurity, homing insecurity, homelessness potentially, a whole host of things that we can readily understand would very much raise the stress level of an expectant mom, of whether or not she's going to be able to take care of the baby that she's about to have, or the other kids that she already has, or the father for that matter as well, in terms of being able to do that, so whatever parents are involved. And then you might say, oh, well, then it's a poverty problem. But in fact, it isn't. So if we go up the scale from, say, lower SES to middle SES, upper middle SES, and beyond, we see evidence of this at a somewhat decreasing rate. We see evidence of this throughout. Why might, say, a middle-class individual have those sorts of feelings? Well, even if you feel like you're adequately provisioned, at the moment, when you have a high inequality society, the risks that you're going to slide down that scale if something goes wrong, like the 2008 financial crisis, as a good recent example, if you fear that you're going to slide down, or that you're not going to be able to see your kids maintain that level, or even be socially mobile in a more positive direction, then that creates a major feelings of stress and sources of stress. Now, there are other reasons, of course, why nurturing might not be other than those particular kinds of stress that might be active in a situation, so that if there are life events that create major stress, divorces, unemployment, and other sorts of things, at any level of society, those can create the level of stress we're talking about.
So can we just sort of define terms? You're a scientist. We use the terms that you're referring to colloquially, like stress, anxiety, panic, worry. What are the differences between these things and sort of what you're talking about?
Right. So stress is a perfectly good scientific term. We can use that. Stress basically means, on the one hand, it's the kind of things that we think of as stressors. That is, the things that create stress for us. And I should add that stress dysregulated people may perceive more stressors that are actually in the environment. That is, it's your perception of stress, not the necessarily actual stress that you're under that can create the issues. The stress that we're talking about here is the stress response system. Now, I'm focusing on cortisol because we've got a lot of other data from other fields like epidemiology that tell us what are the consequences of having excess cortisol for a lifetime. The stress response system is more complicated than that. Of course, there's an adrenaline response that typically precedes the cortisol response. Epinephrine and norepinephrine systems are the ones that are responsible for that. But as a whole, what we're talking about in terms of the internal experience of stress physiologically is what's known as a hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, which in effect is the thing that generates cortisol and creates those sorts of things. Anxiety, in the book, I'm using that both colloquially as well as kind of a symptomology indicator. Typically, when we talk about anxiety clinically, we're talking about a higher level of this. It's kind of a constant fearfulness, either in general, which we talk about as generalized anxiety disorder, or specific situations, we often refer to those as phobias, that really need to be dealt with clinically. So anxiety, in that sense, has a clinical definition in the diagnostic lingo in both everyday life and in the sort of things we're talking about here, is that it's the internal feelings of not being able to control, feeling overwhelmed, agitate, or not in control of certain things that are going on. So there's obviously some overlap between the notion of anxiety and anxiety, but they all focus around this notion of a perception of difficulties or threats or things that we're fearful of that we can't quite handle that we then need to react to.
So what is the period why so crucial?
Well, primarily it's because that's the period during which the fundamental structure of that HDMI axis is being set. So once it's set, the evidence is that it's pretty hard to change. Now, there are things that we can do to alter how that HDMI axis functions, but it's basic physiology of when it gets triggered, how long it stays activated, what is necessary to bring it down to a baseline state. The evidence that we have at this point suggests that that period from sort of the infancy period is pretty much set how that system will react. Now, what will trigger it is something that we can later deal with or try to come to terms with, counteract the effects of that. Now, that period of time, we're talking here about sort of human instance, obviously, but there's a very similar pattern, different age spans, but very similar pattern that we see in a number of different primate species and studied monkeys, most particularly in rodents as well. So the timeline differs across species, but the basic structure that gets set quite early on is consistent.
And you talk about stress dysregulation and stress methylation. Can you explain to us what those things are?
So stress methylation is the epigenetic process whereby, in the specific gene I focus on in the book, is the stress system that's part of its own glucocorticoid feedback loop. Basically, what that means is it's part of the system where once you begin to have this response, there's a feedback loop that comes back to the brain and says, okay, we're cool, stand down, everything's all right, you can shut it down. When that gene is methylated, it doesn't take that instruction very well. Either it doesn't shut down, or shuts down only partially. What you have then is this influx of cortisol beyond what the immediate situation would seem to call it. So stress dysregulation essentially is the term that we use to describe that. The disaster and more frequent activation of the stress response system, the maintaining of that stress response at a very high level, and the difficulty of bringing it back to a calm stable baseline.
Is there any way one can kind of react to this and learn to deal with stress? If it's like, if someone has this issue all their life, is there a biological level through which we deal with this?
There are several. So there's actually research on how to counteract the effects of this individual. It has to start with coming to understand that this might describe you, right? So that you're highly reactive to situations, you tend to go overboard in your reactive situations, you have difficulty calming down situations. So in a sense, becoming aware of it is a first step. One of the ways that's kind of the most straightforward, and doesn't require a huge amount of psychological effort, if you will, and it takes willpower, but physical exercise is a great way to try to bring that stress under control. We talk about it as the fight or flight response. Well, that's because it activates a lot of energy in your body to get things done. If you're exercising, if you're physically active on a regular basis, you're burning up a lot of that excess cortisol. You're using what it's supposed to be used for back in the day, right? In the evolutionary sense, you're using up the energy that it's providing you, and that helps to burn off cortisol. Another one that we're beginning to understand much better the biological basis of it. We've known for a long time in terms of at a psychological and social level that good social connections with other individuals, a good social support network, a few good close friends, family, romantic partner, that kind of thing, has a very beneficial effect on a lot of these systems. As humans, we have this extra advantage. We do have the potential for consciousness. We do have the potential for thinking clearly about the sorts of things that are going on. And one of the best stress reducers that we know of that draws on that system is what's known as mindfulness-based stress reduction, MBSR. And the mindfulness-based stress reduction does show some changes in the brain over time. The evidence for that is increasing. One of the things it does is allow us to stay in the present and to see situations more as they are without dipping too badly into the past in terms of regrets or recriminations or resentments and rumination on the one hand, and prevents us from worrying too much about unarticulated fears about the future or catastrophic fears about the future. That mindfulness-based stress reduction, it doesn't necessarily change how the HDMI axis functions, but it can create a variety of circumstances in which we sufficiently create a habit whereby we don't kind of allow it to kick in. And then a final one I'll mention, which is kind of similar in some ways because it relies on our ability to do conscious planning and so forth, is the notion of control. When we most feel stress is when we have demands that are being placed on us or that we feel are being placed on us or threats that we are experiencing over which we believe we have no control and that we feel that we have no control. So active planning to try to understand those and deal with them as much as we can problem solve in the real world about them is one important thing, and that does in fact reduce HDMI activity, as does beginning to execute some kind of a plan. Now, I should be clear that we can't control everything in our environment. If one's in a workplace situation where there's high toxic stress because the manager is, has stress dysregulation and is constantly flying off the handle, you can't, unless you change jobs, you can't necessarily control that, but you can look for ways in which you can exercise control in a somewhat more limited way, or maybe you do plan to in fact move on to something else if the opportunity arises or seek such opportunities. So there are multiple ways that we can in fact deal with this system. It will be particularly helpful for individuals who are stress dysregulated, but maybe particularly difficult for them to enact. Their social connections are hard to develop and maintain, for example, because of their tendency to either lash out or withdraw, which creates obvious difficulties for developing and maintaining social connections.
Hi, I'm Madeline Davies, host of Jezebel's Dirtcast. Dirtcast digs deep on the shallow industry of celebrity gossip, giving you an inside look at how famous people, publicists, tabloids, and even Scientology come together to create the celebrity news you love to hate.
I saw criminal activity and even one death that were covered up in order to protect the church.
You can find the show on Apple Podcasts, NPR One, and wherever else you get your podcasts.
What does stress dysregulation look like at different phases of development? What does it look like in an infant?
Parents who have had newborns and have gone through that period of infancy will know that there's that infants are pretty volatile in their mood, right? I mean, they can get pretty upset pretty quickly, and part of our job as parents is to help them calm down, to help regulate that sort of fussiness or upset or however it's getting expressed. And there are a bunch of things that we know that we can try, right? So we can figure out, oh gosh, do they need to change their diaper? Are they hungry? Do they need to eat something? Do they need a cuddle and some moving around? And we know that touch is a great soother and a great opportunity to do that. those are the things, and infants, do that a lot, and parents spend a lot of time doing that. The stress dysregulated infant, you can run through that whole gamut several times, and you still don't get the desired effect. That is, the baby's still being upset. They're still not settling down into a calm state. They're not getting their kind of either their physiology or their behavior regulated. So, you have a fussy face or crying or the inability to settle down. You can see the same thing coming up at sleep time. They often will have difficulty falling asleep. If they're asleep, they get more easily awakened by any kind of change in their environment. And when that happens, it's much harder to get back to sleep. So for an infant, we understand they don't have much of the way of an internal system that helps them to regulate. We have to provide externally the things that create the soothing and the ability to regulate. But for a stress dysregulated infant, it's very hard even with that external input to help them get back to that calm state.
And what about kids and adolescents? I mean, obviously kids can express themselves, but what would a typical child with stress dysregulation look like or act like?
It typically takes one of two forms. One form would be, and they roughly correspond to the fight or flight response. So one response is that the overreaction goes in the direction of lashing out at others, to this kind of unpredictable to others, unpredictable or random aggression or hostile speech and that sort of thing, so that they're being, you never know what's going to set them off from other kids' point of view. You never know what's going to trigger a response. Or the opposite is to kind of flee, and flee in this case means into kind of a social withdrawal, that you feel so overwhelmed and difficult and social and unable to do anything about it that you stop interacting with others. And that's a kind of a pattern that we see in kids and adolescents, and in fact carries over into adulthood. It gets particularly troublesome for adolescents, because a big part of adolescence is figuring out how to deal with peer situations with peers. And we know that areas that are sort of trying to develop a kind of attention and real salience. And of course, these things that we've been talking about get in the way of that. They make it very difficult to create those kinds of social connections. Other kids are not happy about being randomly aggressed on. And if you're just withdrawing and going away, kids are not necessarily going to go and seek you out to try to create some kind of social connection. So that's just the general pattern of what we see both in children and adolescents. It has particularly additional problematic consequences during the adolescent years.
What can parents do as an intervention for this? I mean, people listening may recognize themselves in this, but they certainly may recognize some traits of stress dysregulation in their children.
It differs obviously a bit by developmental period. For infants, Reagan talked a little about this notion that we talked about in our group about super nurturing, which essentially is sticking with that soothing routine what those people can kind of deal with or tolerate, right? Because doing that process, you typically are expecting to get something back. But when you are successful at getting the baby to calm down, make fall asleep in your arms, it's a very big rush of oxytocin for you too. Not that. So if you're missing that, it's hard to the fact that they're not soothing. Not only are they not soothing, but you're not getting much in the way of kind of a positive feedback from that whole situation. For infants, one of the important things, of course, is that we need to have, ideally what we would have is additional caregivers rather than just falling only on one caregiver, which in our society is typically still the mom. The spouse has to be able to step up and help out in those situations. Extended family need to step up. So a lot of that has to do with it's much harder to create for the newborn who has stress dysregulation, to create a sense of trust, a sense of calm, that things are taken care of, but it is even more essential that happens. Now for kids and adolescents, it again differs a little between them. For kids, trying to create circumstances in which they can make positive social connections is very important, and being aware of trying to provide a very structured environment for them, a very non-chaotic. Chaotic environments are the worst thing for stress dysregulated kids. Well, they're the worst situations for all kids, but it's particularly problematic for them. So creating routines, structures, boundaries, but also very much on the direction of being warm and responsive and contingent, again, building up a sense of trust that things can happen. Helping to, in a sense, smooth the way to develop social connections. Trying to arrange, let's say, play dates for your kids with kids who appear to be more tolerant of whatever their particular issues are can be helpful. And at some level, helping them to become aware of, you're feeling these reactions, but here are other ways, here are other options to behave. So if you look at the kinds of things that say kids who act out, who are the lashers out, we call externalizing, giving them some very simple things to prevent creating a big problem with their peers is very helpful. With the, there are a variety of programs out there, but a lot of the things they have in common is to, stop what you're doing, don't actually physically lash out, maybe hug yourself, which has the advantage of giving yourself touch, which helps. It prevents you from hitting out at somebody else if you're hugging yourself. Taking very deep breaths and counting to 10, right? These are all pretty standard things, but they help enormously, because what that's doing is it's not just preventing your behavior from getting in the way of connecting with other kids. You're actually regulating your own internal physiology by doing it. We regulate our physiology in these ways, lots of different ways. Deep breathing has a huge impact on our stress response system, right? The deep breathing in meditation, for example, is not just discipline, it is a discipline, a mental discipline, but it also helps our body just to calm down and to soothe itself. Now, adolescents, a lot of it would be the same kinds of things. For teens, you can't really do the making arrangements for their social connections with peers anymore. They have to navigate that on their own. But helping them to understand the ways in which their behavior may be getting in their own way, and helping them at some point, because their level of conscious awareness, their level of, in the brain, the prefrontal cortex is developing during this period of time, they can become more aware of what their own responses are and how to help mitigate those responses and navigate their system better.
Is SDR, stress dysregulation itself, a clinical diagnosis? If I were to go to a psychologist and describe these symptoms, would they diagnose me with this, or would it be like a factor in other diagnoses?
It's not a clinical condition, and in fact, part of the point that I would be arguing about here is to say, this affects lots of people. You don't have to, to get to the level of a clinical diagnosis for, let's say, anxiety or for externalizing disorders of several different kinds that would be clinically diagnosable. There has to be quite a substantial level of impact on everyday life in a way that's really very impactful. And if you look up the definitions of those disorders, you'll see that in the DSM-5 where these definitions are used or drawn from. What we're talking about here is more like kind of everyday stress, but to a very high level. Right? So in fact, what we've got is a situation that affects more individuals than would be clinically diagnosable, and but nevertheless, over time, has a negative impact on developmental outcomes, learning outcomes, behavioral outcomes, emotional outcomes, as well as over a longer time, it has a negative effects on these stress-related disorders and diseases emerging in adulthood. Having said that, stress dysregulation is also associated with many of those clinical diagnoses. We would, in fact, see for kids who have anxiety diagnoses or one of the several kinds of externalizing diagnoses, we would typically see stress dysregulation in them, but it's not only in them that we would see it.
Hi, I'm Cleo Stiller, the host of Sex Right Now, a new television series on Fusion that explores very intimate stories about our bodies.
So when it comes to trying to recreate a human, we can do certain things.
Health. So we're going to try and
Surprise, motherfucker!
And sexuality.
Yeah,
No stigma, no judgment, and just a little bit cheeky. Airs Thursday at 10 p.m. Check your cable listings or download the Fusion app on Apple TV or Roku.
We've fixed the track. Get going. They killed our driver.
Let's say you make it into adulthood without having to stress dysregulation. What does that look like? And what can adults do to help themselves? You know, I think that the first thing we can do is to go to see a specialist and get some sort of diagnosis to get medication. What does stress regulation look like for adults?
Many of the symptoms are the sort of things that sort of the hair trigger temper or an overreaction to small events that lead us to lash out at others and to become sort of distancing to others or to disrespect others and those sorts of things. Road rage, you can think of as a kind of everyday example of these sorts of things, or things that kind of lead us to have these overreactions to everyday situations that many of us would find that would make us ticked off or annoyed or whatever, but we don't kind of fly off the handle, so to speak. So that would be one direction. Another direction is that we're fearful and unwilling to engage in social interactions, even when it's important or to our advantage to do that. And I want to make a distinction here because the other, in some ways, people might think, oh, well, that sounds like introversion, but it is not. Introversion, Susan Cain has written about in Quiet and in other places, and other folks have been taking up the cause. Introversion is a kind of a preference for having alone time and so forth, but it is not, it needs not become impactful in the way that we withdraw from social situations, even ones that are important to us in terms of a variety of things. So this kind of, sort of the fight response being overreaction, or the flight response in a social sense being an overreaction. Now, it is the case that adults can take action on their own behalf, or their friends and family, their loved ones can perhaps help guide them towards these sorts of things. There are things that one can do. I think one of the things is as a first step for any of these things, is this kind of awareness, the recognition that, hey, wait a second, not everybody behaves this way. Not everybody has these tremendous physiological responses to relatively what other people just kind of are able to just kind of wave off and say, yeah, well, that's just the way it is, but I'm not going to get myself in a twist because of it. You come to an awareness that, wait a second, I'm having these palpitations and heart racing and maybe breathing difficulties or whatever because I'm getting so upset and agitated and overwhelmed and anxious with behaviors or circumstances that other people can deal with. So coming to an awareness that says, hey, this would be something that would be worth thinking about. I don't have to behave this way. I don't have to feel this way, right? And then the things that we mentioned before, one can try to pick up those things that will work. The exercise model is one that's very helpful. Making the most of social connections, and we know that social connections are a strong path to resilience, to overcoming early adversity, and that can happen into adulthood as well, that we develop a strong connection with one or more other people, and they help us to regulate ourselves so that we can in fact get to that point. The notion of a kind of a mindfulness-based stress reduction, none of these are easy necessarily, but they are highly effective in thinking about how we can do our best to take control of the situations that are most problematic for us, coming up with a plan to try to maximize what control we do have, or change the context that we're in, and begin to execute the plan. Beginning an execution of a plan is also important. So there are multiple ways, and they obviously, the more of them you do, the more odds you have of being able to bring this kind of a stress dysregulation under control. I think, we don't have any way now that we know of to change that basic HPA axis function. You're probably stuck with that if you've got it activated into adulthood, but you can mitigate and work around it in lots of very effective ways.
What about resilience? Can people kind of grow to be accustomed to these stress dysregulation levels? Is there an aspect of resilience?
So I think accustomed, there are two ways to become accustomed. One is that you just stay in that pattern and you say, oh, well, this is just how I am. Right? Even if I come across this work with other people, I'm okay with that, right? I don't mind that. That's not typically the response that people have because they feel pretty upset when these things are going on for them, and they're feeling upset way more of the time than they would like or than other people are experiencing. The other is this pathway to resilience. In a sense, the younger that you are, the more that pathway can be highly successful for overcoming early adversity. In infancy, this kind of super nurturing is a very potent path towards that. But certainly through childhood and adolescence, we know that particularly one of the best things we know about is making good, strong social connections. My friend and colleague Ann Maslin had a book years ago called Ordinary Magic in terms of what are the things that lead to resilience. That's one of the best ones. In late adolescence and early adulthood, a romantic partner who we can make a connection with has the ability to create this kind of soothing function and move us toward not just soothing and calming us down, but helping us to find our more calm self inside is one of the best things that we know of for moving those things along. So resilience, the original meaning of the term, of course, is bouncing back, and it means that we've got this tough start, but that we find ways to overcome that, we find ways to in fact turn out to be successful in many of the areas that many of us want to be successful in, and that we develop a pattern of behavior that allows us to cope with the inevitable challenges and threats and difficulties that everybody faces in life in a more modulated, well-regulated, and problem-solving way.
What are some specific programs that exist that are aimed at combating this stress epidemic?
There are a number of them out there, and they differ sort of by age group, and in the book again, we chat about a long list of resources that people can turn to. I think that one can, the mindfulness literature is growing very rapidly, and there are a lot of books out there that sort of mindfulness or meditation. I mentioned before the work of John Kabat-Zinn and his colleagues, and others that have taken up that pattern of work on this. Those are some of the most useful ways because in a sense you can access them as an individual, you can try to make use of them as an individual. They're often fairly well laid out as a series of steps that you can take. So I would certainly, if one's going to try to undertake this oneself, I would say, that's definitely a different route, a valuable route. A different one would be the notion of how you can help to develop or try to develop these kinds of social connections, right? How can you go about doing that? There aren't so many, kind of self-help things around those kinds of areas. Sometimes working with a psychologist or psychiatrist or someone who deals with these things can be very helpful. And I should say that if one worries that one has a sufficiently elevated level of these reactions, that they might be a clinically diagnosable thing, that one should always consult a health professional. So if one has high enough anxiety that it really should be diagnosed as anxiety, there are a variety of approaches combining some of the behavioral things that I mentioned, along with potential pharmaceutical intervention that can be a big help. So if it's sufficiently impactful and if you're worried that it may be that's certainly a way to go. Counseling, of course, is even short of those sorts of clinical diagnoses, can be very helpful as well.
And what about like cognitive behavioral therapy or dialectical behavioral therapy, or those specific types of treatment that aim at changing thought patterns and changing behavior? Would those be something for people to look into?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think much of the world in sort of how psychologists and clinical psychologists approach this, or counseling psychologists approach this, and deal with these issues, the ones that you've mentioned are definitely the directions to go in, and are the ones that are most frequently employed these days. I mean, if it's social problems, certainly family systems therapy is another approach that one can take in terms of trying to get a more successful and satisfying set of relationships in terms of family dynamics. So those things that you mentioned are very helpful. You don't have to be diagnosed to benefit from those. Those can be sort of a variety of things that can be helpful to individuals. And I think what we see with a variety of those is that they're the pathway that they're using to try to be helpful is, in a sense, along this general dimension of getting control and understanding our situation, a higher level of awareness, and creating a kind of if not explicitly a mindful based stress reduction, something very similar to that, where we're becoming aware of the dynamics that are driving us and trying to get conscious control over those dynamics, so that we're, in a sense, taking the lead rather than being driven by those underlying dynamics.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Dan.
Oh, you're welcome.
And now it's time for the upgrade of the week. Every week we like to share a little life hack that we made in our own lives. Myself, this weekend, it was a very nice warm spring day in New York, and I made the decision, because it was actually a little too warm, that I'd finally buy an AC unit for my apartment.
Oh my god, this is huge.
This is huge. I've always tried to just endure the heat.
Oh.
I don't know why I take pride in that.
Yeah, you're city masochism.
Yeah, but I've decided that before it gets too warm again, I'm going to get the AC. I have to do it.
So you made the decision, or you actually got it?
I didn't actually get it. I just made the decision.
That's the first step. I can recommend somebody if you need help with installation. I have a guy.
You have a guy?
Yeah.
I think I might try to do it myself. I might be foolish.
Oh wow, okay.
Dangerous,
Yeah, you don't need a guy. You are the guy.
I am the guy. Melissa, have you upgraded this week?
Yes. So one of the things that I've been doing, I've spoken about this before, is I try to exercise in the mornings. And one of the things that I've started doing, or to give myself the best chance of actually completing my goal of exercising before work, is to arrange the apartment the night before, so that I have as little to do as possible in order to get my exercise studio up and running, which means like moving the coffee table and like getting everything out of the way, laying out the yoga mat, like queuing up the DVD player, because yes, I use a DVD, and laying out my clothes, basically like creating an environment in which I can sort of automatically just sort of step into my exercise self. So that has been very helpful for me. And I also actually have an update on my upgrade from last week, where I talked about how I was very excited to have acquired a real carry-on bag that I thought was going to transform my life. And I said that I got my bag carry-on with a zipper on top. I'm sad to report that the bag is gigantic and way too big to put under the seat in front of me. So for everybody who was waiting on tenterhooks, wondering if that bag was going to be amazing, it's not an amazing bag for me, but I have a couple other things that I'm considering, and I will update you as the saga continues. And that's our show. You can find me on Twitter at Melissa Kirsch. You can find Andy at Andy Boren. The upgrade is produced by Levi Sharp. Our executive director of audio is motherboard. Brad Fisher mixed the episode.
Do you have a suggestion for future episodes of the upgrade? Shoot us an email at upgrade@lifehacker.com. Tweet us at lifehacker with the hashtag, or go old school and leave us a voice message at 347-687-8109. And if you love the upgrade, go to Apple Podcasts and leave us a review. You can also find us on Twitter, or wherever else you get your podcasts.
Follow Lifehacker on Twitter at Lifehacker, and on Facebook at facebook.com/Lifehacker. And you can find show notes for this and every episode of the upgrade at lifehacker.com/the-show.
Permission to engage. Let's locate another target. Target acquired. Target unlocked. Target acquired. Enemy armor is damaged. Target unlocked. Stay low. This vehicle has had it. Surprise, motherfucker. Surprise, motherfucker. Surprise, motherfucker. Enemy is hit. Frag hit. We didn't even scratch them. That one didn't go through. Enemy armor is hit. Surprise, motherfucker. Ammo rack hit. The engine's damaged. We've slowed down. We're done for. Everyone, get out. Surprise, motherfucker. Surprise, motherfucker. Surprise, motherfucker.
Karte verloren. Wir sind bewegungsunfähig. Benzintank getroffen.
Surprise, motherfucker. Surprise, motherfucker.